Alright, you and I are about to watch the ultimate demon lord get so bored of conquering everything that he actually celebrates when a squad of shiny angels shows up to pick a fight. Who knew the big boss in heaven would send his top guy? Michael the Seraphim steps up, declaring that the demon reign ends today. And just like that, the ultimate clash begins. For 3 days and nights, he fights the angelic host completely solo. He's the last one standing battered and bruised, but still breathing. That's when his own captain, Ishtar, suddenly appears. She casually kicks an angel in the face while the main character demands to know why she's betraying him now. Turns out, she was waiting until he was weak to seize both realms. He just laughs at her sheer audacity. Stunned by his confidence, the traitor orders her entire army to strike. A second massive battle erupts, but the exhausted demon lord simply doesn't have the strength left to win. Despite unleashing insane damage, his defeat is inevitable. But this guy has a cheat code casting a secret reincarnation spell. He wakes up in Tokyo, where dangerous dungeons are suddenly appearing everywhere. A massive cyclops is tearing the city apart, crushing tanks like toys. Right before it squashes a kid, our hero drops in. With a single, brutal punch, he literally breaks the monster. He keeps his cool, revealing himself as a legendary S-rank hunter. Skipping the basic lore because we all know how dungeons work, we see a young kid staring at a TV screen, dreaming. He's miserable because becoming a hunter is entirely genetic. If your parents have great genes, you're golden. But if they're useless, you're doomed. Worse off, his own deadbeat dad comes home just to beat him. After a brutal night of abuse, the boy's phone begins to glow with a strange light. Meanwhile, outside, we see another kid shielding his friend from bullies near their orphanage, which trains young prospects. Soon, a girl takes her evaluation. This is Yuzuki, a certified genius who constantly protects our main kid, Hiroto, making him feel totally useless. She gets recruited into elite hunter school way ahead of schedule. Before leaving, she tells him she can't fight his battles anymore. She advises him to survive by being smart, because the weak have their own path. Her departure leaves Hiroto feeling utterly crushed, despite her good intentions. Her words leave a deep scar. Fast forward a bit, and a party enters a basic training dungeon, a mandatory step for any aspiring student. Hiroto is in this raid with a healer and a support mage. Two toxic veterans immediately corner the newbies, demanding unfair reward splits. Hiroto realizes these guys are total trash. Now, pay attention here, this is where the dynamic gets super toxic. A brave kid speaks up about fair rewards, but these thugs hit him right in the gut. They start beating him down just for standing up. Hiroto yells for them to stop, but suddenly freezes. Yuzuki's warning about surviving wisely echoes in his head, making him feel incredibly pathetic for staying back. The veteran keeps stomping the kid until his partner steps in, pointing out they need the boy's skills to disarm the treasure chest. They agree to deal with the kid once they escape. They press deeper into the damp cave, completely unaware of the eyes in the dark. Suddenly, a swarm of goblins lunges forward. The veterans instantly draw their weapons to clear the threat. One of the fighters starts screaming at their mage to cast faster. Clutched with fear, the mage raises his staff to provide support. Meanwhile, the front line is busy hacking away at the monsters. The rest of the group joins the fray, leaving only Hiroto and his beaten friend sidelined since they would just get in the way. Because of massive level gaps, the combatants easily wipe out the remaining beasts. The veterans immediately blame the mage, threatening to slash his pay for being too slow. Hiroto walks over to his injured companion, offering quiet praise for having the guts to speak up. The kid sighs, explaining he couldn't just stay quiet when everyone is risking their lives. Even in a low-level dungeon, survival is hard, making the unfair pay split totally unacceptable. Plus, he desperately needs the money. Hiroto asks why, and the boy reveals his dream of launching a non-profit guild. Since the major corporate associations completely ignore impoverished people, he asks if Hiroto knows how many lives could be saved by high-grade dungeon potions. They possess miraculous healing abilities capable of curing terminal illnesses, but their market price is astronomical. He explains that a potion could have saved his sister, but he was far too poor to afford it. Hiroto is deeply moved, realizing how noble this kid actually is, and asks for his name. The boy smiles and introduces himself as Akira Tachibana. After exchanging names, the moment is cut short as a veteran spots a chest hidden in the goblin nests and demands Akira open it. Akira gets excited, ready to prove his worth as a support class. When the older hunters try to rush him, he warns them to back off, since a single mistake could trigger a lethal trap. The veterans turn back with annoyed grunts. Nearby, the mage whispers that lethal traps shouldn't even exist in a beginner's area. As Akira focuses on the lock, everyone else relaxes. Our main character thinks they're safe since it's a newbie zone. But watch closely. A sudden, blood-curdling scream rings out. Akira triggers a hidden trap and gets brutally skewered right in front of us. Suddenly, the ground ruptures, and a giant chasm swallows the entire group. Hiroto wakes up at the bottom, gasping in complete shock. He looks down and sees Akira's lifeless corpse in front of him. Shaking, he realizes this is the first dead body he's ever laid eyes on. The horror of his weakness paralyzes him as the others slowly begin to stir. The healer loses her mind at the sight of the body and runs away screaming. Furious at her panic, the veteran backhands the young mage. His partner snarls, telling everyone to cut the useless drama. He cold-heartedly dismisses Akira as just some dumb thief who died alone, asking if anyone has a problem. Terrified, the rookies stay silent while the veteran claims their fighting strength remains completely intact. They resolve to double back to safety. One of them snaps at Hiroto to grab the climbing rope. Hiroto obeys instantly, but his mind is completely shattered, unable to look away from his dead companion. As they flee, the mage breaks down, weeping that this was supposed to be a beginner's safe zone. The healer quietly suggests a terrifying theory, a dungeon paradox. The veteran asks if she means those rare cases where difficulty spikes out of nowhere. She nods, saying rumors claim it happens every couple of years. The mercenary laughs, glad that the weak kid was the only casualty since he didn't contribute to battles anyway. Hiroto is disgusted by their cruelty, but the growing threat of a dungeon paradox terrifies him even more. As the group presses onward, the healer suddenly freezes in her tracks. Hiroto asks what's wrong, and she whispers that the ground beneath them is shifting. The earth rumbles violently as massive claws burst through the soil, unleashing a pack of bloodthirsty beasts. The veterans completely lose their cool, instantly recognizing them as D-rank silver wolves, far beyond their pay grade. One hunter yells that these monsters shouldn't even exist in this zone. The trembling mage adds that a trap shouldn't summon high-level beasts in a starter raid. Panic sets in as they realize escaping these predators is impossible. It's a full-scale dungeon paradox, meaning a relentless, unpredictable wave of monster attacks is heading their way. The fighter desperately asks what their play is, but his partner just stares at Hiroto with a sinister, cold look. They know silver wolves always hunt down the weakest prey first. It's a brutal reality. The veterans begin laughing maniacally, planning to sacrifice the weakest link. The heavyset hunter points a finger and orders Hiroto to start running as bait. Absolutely terrified, Hiroto asks if they are actually being serious. The brutal veteran orders the mage to blast the boy with magic so he cannot follow, forcing him to act as live bait. The sweating mage trembles, aiming his staff. With tears in his eyes, the mage mutters an apology. Hiroto begs the healer for backup, but she sides with the cowards. And that's where we're left trapped in a nightmare with no way out. You and I are diving into a story where teammates instantly turn toxic. They cry and apologize while planning to ditch poor Hiroto in this dungeon. They sprint right past him, leaving him completely defenseless. Left behind, Hiroto realizes an apology means absolutely nothing in a cruel world like this. As ravenous wolves close in, he runs for his life, knowing the weak only get devoured. And that heartless rule applies to Yuzuki too. Suddenly, the pack catches him, sinking their teeth deep as he screams in agonizing pain. Is this really where his journey ends? He desperately wishes he could be the protector instead of the victim. Consumed by frustration at his own weakness, his desire to become strong burns brighter than ever. Suddenly, his discarded phone begins to glow with an eerie light. Sensing danger, the wolves retreat, leaving Hiroto bleeding out. A strange notification appears, stating a powerful desire was detected and connection to his soul is complete. A blinding light erupts from the screen, enveloping his broken body. Suddenly, a status window appears, and his completely depleted health bar miraculously charges back to full. He even unlocks a brand new skill. When Hiroto opens his eyes, his wounds are completely gone, though his clothes are shredded. He stands up in utter shock, wondering how he survived such a fatal attack without a single scratch. Reaching for his phone, the only item he has left, his eyes widen. A bizarre application called Demon Lord has installed itself. He has no memory of downloading this app, but looking down at the fresh blood staining his clothes brings back the horrific nightmare of the wolf attack. Feeling sick to his stomach, he struggles to process the madness. Finding his lost boot nearby proves his betrayal was absolutely real. Left entirely on his own, Hiroto decides his immediate goal is simple: survive at all costs and escape this dungeon. He cautiously makes his way through the dark cavern, using stone pillars for cover. Soon, he stumbles upon a pile of defeated goblins. He figures his former teammates cleared them out, but one surviving goblin leaps from the shadows, biting his neck. They crash to the ground as the creature glares down with pure malice, pinning him by the throat and viciously beating him. Even though goblins are considered low-tier trash, Hiroto is struggling against a single, one-armed monster. Just as the creature claws at his eye, making him realize how weak he still is, his mysterious cheat ability activates. With temporary invincibility granted for a short window, the goblin prepares for another strike. But before it can connect, Hiroto's eyes flash with intense light, and his body instantly regenerates right before the monster's eyes. Now, watch this carefully. The stunned monster charges again, but this time Hiroto is ready, countering with a heavy punch straight to its face. The goblin stumbles back, shrieking in agonizing pain. Seizing his chance, the boy grabs a heavy rock nearby and smashes it directly into the monster's face. A new screen pops up to confirm the kill, explaining the defeated goblin was absorbed into the Demon Lord system. Right away, his entire status screen updates, leveling up his skills and maximizing his overall health. Hiroto gasps in absolute shock at this sudden power-up. Meanwhile, far ahead in the dungeon, his betrayers are running for their lives, unaware that the system is analyzing their levels too. He is stunned by the massive gap in their status values, leaving him thoroughly confused about this system. Suddenly, he senses a dangerous presence hiding in the dark, wondering how his perception got so sharp. Closing his eyes, Hiroto locks onto the exact location of the hidden beast, remembering rumors that top-tier thief classes possess an innate danger sense. Rising to his feet, he hurls a stone to distract the monster. As the beast turns toward the sound, Hiroto rushes from behind, delivering a brutal strike with another heavy rock that sends the wild pig squealing. Hiroto doesn't stop, landing blow after blow on the beast. He celebrates his successful ambush, but the fight is far from over. He knows F-rank goblins are weak, but E-rank orcs and D-rank wolves are on another level. Even with a perfect surprise attack, taking down a higher-tier monster is still a massive gamble. Hiroto realizes a head-on strike with his stone won't pierce its tough hide, forcing him to target its weak points. After a tense struggle, he finally manages to bring the beast down. The glowing window appears again, granting a special bonus to his attributes. His level jumps from 2 to 3, raising his stats to 7, though he is still completely baffled by this bizarre system. Reviewing his stats, he notices his physical strength has surged past the rest. Curious, he picks up a solid stone. His hands tremble with raw force, and he effortlessly crushes it to dust. I know what you are thinking. Is this really the incredible power of a low-aptitude student? Hiroto stares at his hands, wondering if this game-like screen is actually altering reality. He begins targeting the bats clinging to the ceiling, systematically wiping them out. Through trial and error, he deciphers the hidden mechanics of the floating status window. He learns that slaying monsters triggers the Demon Lord ability. Defeating beefy orcs grants him strength bonuses, while hunting fast-moving cave bats rewards him with massive boosts to his agility stat. Skeletons boost his mana, while golems raise his physical defense. Opening his menu again, he sees he has reached level 4, with his core attributes sitting around 9 and 10. While this progression is fast, skipping multiple levels at once is unprecedented. Eager to test his limits, he tries to head deeper into the dungeon, only to find the path is locked. Disappointed he cannot hunt the boss, a sudden alert flashes. A brand new quest will generate exactly 10 seconds after this beginner dungeon has been officially cleared. Before he can react, the system window vanishes. A low growl echoes through the cavern, and turning around, Hiroto finds himself cornered by the wolf pack as they charge directly at him. The boy grins, realizing this is no longer a simple training exercise. Checking his newly boosted speed, he confidently prepares to face the oncoming threat. The wolves encircle him, but Hiroto relies on his sharpened instincts. As the lead beast lunges, he effortlessly sidesteps the attack, growing incredibly hyped as he realizes just how powerful he has become. Thanks to his rapid stat growth, he can now easily track the movements of these deadly beasts. Darting forward, he delivers a heavy kick straight to one of the wolves. However, the monster barely registers the impact, acting like it was just a tickle. Realizing bare-fisted strikes are useless, he desperately needs a real weapon as the hungry pack quickly surrounds him once again. He swings wildly, but the agile beast dodges before tackling him hard to the cold floor. Sensing his vulnerability, the remaining wolves pile on top of him, and just like that, our hero is torn apart. Yet, his unique cheat skill triggers once more, instantly restoring his health bar as the immense vitality of the Demon Lord transfers directly into his body. The very arm the wolves were chewing on begins to glow, healing his entire body in seconds. Hiroto opens his eyes to find himself floating momentarily, before gravity kicks in and drops him back to Earth. He lands roughly, completely ignoring the snarling pack around him. As they launch another assault, his passive skills block the pain, and his glowing wounds instantly begin to knit themselves back together once more. He is back on his feet, but still utterly trapped by the relentless pack. As they tear into him again, he realizes that possessing an immortal body is actually a massive curse. For someone constantly suffering, death would be a merciful escape. But for an immortal, that peace never arrives, turning eternal life into a horrific, endless nightmare. He is repeatedly torn apart and resurrected, locked in an endless loop of agony. He finally understands that while he cannot die, the excruciating pain is painfully real. Hitting the ground, he punches a wolf but knows it is pointless without a weapon. Remembering Akira's body is nearby, you and I are about to watch his desperate play for survival. Let's dive into this wild action. Our boy bolts forward, yanks out a stuck sword, and spins around to slice a sneaking wolf. Hiroto grins, seeing his quick reflex worked. One down, a whole pack to go. He decides to clear them all out to end this messy fight. Meanwhile, in an interview, a hunter explains that solo hunting is the only real way to level up. He asks his partner if a rookie taking down 100 silver fangs sounds legendary. Back in the cave, Hiroto wipes out the entire pack and lets out a massive victory scream. His special ability triggers, boosting his level and granting him the exclusive Giant Slayer title. Just like that, his overall stats shoot straight through the roof. The kid is left scratching his head in confusion. He checks out his new title, which grants a 5% health boost per level. It is a sweet reward, but he gets thoughtful, wondering if he can even trust this weird screen. He notices a bell icon on his screen and taps it. A notification pops up, asking if he wants to enter a high-rank dungeon packed with terrifying dimensional beasts. He is totally shocked since he hasn't even reached the final boss room yet. He remembers that the beginner dungeon's deep zone was linked to a hidden gate. Staring at the dead wolves, he is amazed at his new power and that legendary Demon Lord effect. Still, a higher-ranked dungeon means facing monsters on a completely different level. And even if he cannot die, the pain is still real, making him want to avoid that agony. Hiroto turns to leave, but suddenly hears a voice calling out his name. Checking his status screen, he sees he only has 32 days left with this cheat skill. Hiroto calls himself a complete idiot for wasting his life as a slacker. Frustrated, he punches a wall, wondering if he can keep living like this. Suddenly, that golden glow surrounds him, instantly healing his wounds. Taking a deep breath, our main guy realizes that if he doesn't step up, he has no future. Now pay attention, because he screams that he is ready for that high-level dungeon. The magical light wraps around him and zaps him away, while elsewhere, two old-timers are having a blast. One of them talks about all the dungeon accidents he has witnessed, but his friend laughs, saying a death in a rookie dungeon is just crazy. Right then, the whole room cracks up. Someone points out it has not happened in 10 years. The chubby guy stops laughing, calling it a real bummer, while his pal hands him a drink, saying even veterans get shook seeing someone die. The man grabs the glass, telling him to stop being stupid. He then reveals that an official hunter school inspector is watching their mock battle next week. The kid suggests he should join their team, and the chubby guy promises to make him a rival soon. They share a laugh as the man complains about his rank, completely ignoring an active app on a nearby phone. With his clothes torn to shreds, Hiroto has completely lost count of how many times he has died. A wolf leaps out, biting his arm, but seconds later, the beast is dead and he is fully healed. That kill levels up his skills, and before long, he reaches the deepest room to face a massive giant bug. Naturally, he dies and revives over and over again, but he finally slays the monstrous boss. A notification screen appears, stating it has found the ultimate path to power up its player. He is now level 15, with all of his stats boosted past 20. The boy teleports back to the real world, realizing he has easily surpassed a normal student hunter's level. Meanwhile, the chubby guy asks his friend if he heard the news, and he replies he already knows about Hiroto. They laugh in relief that he survived that nightmare. They assume their upcoming public mock battle is safe since the kid is not joining their squad, but then someone walks in with some breaking news. The duo is confused, but the young messenger reveals a brand new rule. Players can only participate in the mock battle once, leaving them absolutely devastated. Hiroto sits on his bedroom floor, trying to piece together his missing memories after that high-ranked dungeon and how he was found unconscious outside the orphanage. He decides convincing himself it was all a dream is the easiest option. Okay, I know what you're thinking. And yeah, it gets even crazier as he opens the app, staring at his insane stats and wondering if he has lost his mind or if this is actually real. A sudden knock on the door interrupts his thoughts, and he opens it to find that skinny senior waiting to talk. They meet inside an empty warehouse, where the senior demands an invitation to be his rival in the mock battle. The boy shakes his hand out of habit. The senior warns him that his mock battle days are over, suddenly tightening his grip with a dark, threatening glare. He vows to make him remember the feeling of absolute pain. But Hiroto does not flinch at all, leaving the senior baffled since he is squeezing with everything he has got. Our hero realizes his pain tolerance skill is working. He casually pulls his hand away, remembering how terrified he used to be of this bully. But compared to those dungeon wolves, this guy is nothing. Hiroto lets out a smirk, which completely triggers the senior into charging at him. But before the punch lands, his high-level reflexes kick in, slowing down time around him. Hiroto easily dodges the attack and delivers a clean counter-punch. After getting smacked, the bully is completely stunned, while Hiroto is just as surprised by his own speed. While the bully wonders who this kid really is, Hiroto realizes the senior is not weak. It is just that he has become incredibly strong. Now, he wants to see his true limits. The senior gets up completely furious, grabbing Hiroto and demanding to know what just happened because there is no way a loser like him could ever land a hit. He claims he will let it slide if Hiroto tells him his secret move, adding that a weakling has no business being this strong. This gets under Hiroto's skin, and he could easily make this jerk pay for all this past bullying, but he decides to stay calm, refusing to sink to his pathetic level. Hiroto tells him to stop the drama, but the bully gets defensive, accusing him of attacking first. Hiroto simply grabs his arm, applying a tiny bit of actual power, warning him to walk away. The senior quickly lets go, and as Hiroto turns to leave, the guy yells for him to wait. Hiroto cold shoulders him, stating he won't cause trouble as long as the senior backs off. Hiroto walks out of the warehouse, leaving the senior behind to throw a childish tantrum. Back home, our hero prepares to draw his own blood, which is mandatory to check his health and hunter rating. Later, he submits his sample to the doctor, apologizing for the delay. But as he walks away, a terrifying thought hits him. If they analyze his blood, they might discover his massive power boost. Hiroto begins to feel deeply anxious. Meanwhile, the humiliated senior is venting to his crew, insisting that Hiroto must have used some cheap trick because a real fight would be impossible. His friend tells him to calm down, while another guy wonders if Hiroto obtained rare dungeon loot. But the senior reminds them it was a basic beginner dungeon, so there's nothing fancy inside. This makes the group even more curious about how Hiroto survived. Another member suggests they teach a harsh lesson to anyone who underestimates their crew, but the smacked senior snaps, accusing him of stealing his revenge. The annoyed chubby guy grabs his friend's shirt, saying they are only arguing because he wants to handle this alone. He reminds them a physical exam happens before the mock battle, so Hiroto cannot cheat. He claims the kid is not a threat, but his buddy is still sulking. The chubby guy chuckles and tells him not to worry, because they can easily jump Hiroto after the event is over. With sinister grins, the squad agrees the real fun is about to begin. Meanwhile, inside a high-tech lab, a researcher is carefully analyzing the hunter blood samples. Suddenly, a notification on his monitor completely shocks him, and it is Hiroto's medical profile. Another researcher notices his panic and walks over. The man shows her that Hiroto has a massive level despite not starting hunter school. She is amazed, and the researcher wonders if this is a dungeon paradox. Trust me, you and I will definitely want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into this wild story where the evaluators are panicking because our main character jumped from level 1 to 15 in a flash. But the lead investigator shrugs it off, saying since it happened before school hours, the government doesn't need to know a thing. Her partner is still super skeptical, but she just laughs it off, blaming the weirdness on a dungeon paradox. Besides, Hiroto only has an F-rank aptitude, meaning his growth potential is basically garbage, so she walks away to skip the boring paperwork. Even though the researcher is completely baffled, she reminds him that since monsters appeared, this world makes absolutely zero sense anyway. And honestly, dungeons and hunters are just as unpredictable. Cut to the school cafeteria, where everyone is staring at Hiroto devouring a mountain of food. When he asks the lunch lady for seconds, she jokes he should just take the entire pot. As onlookers whisper about his insane appetite, a stunning woman suddenly approaches and asks to sit with him. A bit confused, Hiroto admits he has never seen her around before. He asks who she is, and she casually introduces herself as a top instructor at the hunter school. She asks if any talented kids stood out in today's battle, joking that her own face is pretty forgettable. But the older sister recognizes her instantly, and then it clicks for Hiroto. This is the woman who was talking to his friend during the chaos. She explains that with so many academies competing, she has to scout the best talents before they get snatched up. She admits she has watched him every single year, but today, something feels different about him. Hiroto stays completely silent, closing his eyes and brushing it off like it is nothing. She brings up the dungeon incident, mentioning how some lucky survivors awaken incredible powers. She asks to chat in private, confident that her instincts about him are never wrong. Figuring she is from his friend's academy, Hiroto agrees to talk, warning her not to expect much. When she checks and sees his low level, she awkwardly apologizes, but he just smiles, saying it is totally normal. Still, she sympathizes with how tough it is being low-ranked, handing him her card and offering to help whenever he is in trouble. Our main character realizes there are really only two kinds of people, those who exploit you and those who actually care, and she reminds him of his friend, Yuzuki. Later at the Hunter Arena, Hiroto recalls rumors of the military testing top-secret weapons here. With walls reinforced by high-grade dungeon materials, this place is built for intense combat. Walking toward the crowd, Hiroto spots those annoying veteran hunters again, along with the female instructor watching from the stands. Down in the arena, a massive opponent steps up to Hiroto with a malicious smirk. He warns the kid that he is going all out and does not plan on letting him leave alive, mocking him because Yuzuki is not here to save his skin anymore. He sneers, telling Hiroto that if he dies, he will be the second casualty in their group, wishing him a quick meeting with Akira. Needless to say, Hiroto is incredibly pissed. Furious that this jerk is insulting his friends, Hiroto asks the referee if he is allowed to fight without holding back. The match begins, and the big guy boasts about putting on a show to boost his career. But then, he suddenly tosses his weapon aside. Our main character is confused, but the bully just grins, claiming a sword makes this too easy. He brags about using magic, hyping himself up as a rare magic swordsman. Hiroto realizes this coward was hiding his magic in the dungeon while everyone else struggled. Spurred by anger, the kid decides to unleash his own magic, making the giant laugh and mock his low-tier status. But as Hiroto powers up, his mana surges to create an absolutely massive, glowing energy sphere. The crowd goes completely wild with shock, while his opponent freezes in terror, trying to convince himself it is just a bluff. He hurls a fireball in desperation, but Hiroto unleashes his blast, completely swallowing the enemy's attack. The bully barely ducks in time as the giant explosion obliterates the wall behind him. The arena erupts after that insane display of raw power. Watching from above, the female instructor stands up in shock, wondering how an F rank can use such high-level magic, instantly comparing him to Yuzuki. Excitedly, she leaves to make some calls about this new prodigy. Later, we see Hiroto relaxing in bed, completely blanking out on the details of what happened after he released that crazy energy. Right then, he resolves to enter the same elite hunter academy as Yuzuki. After checking his bank account to confirm his massive advance payment arrived, our exhausted hero drifts off to sleep, slipping deep into his subconscious. In his dream, he encounters a mysterious figure bound in heavy chains, leaving him completely bewildered. Suddenly, he jolts awake in a cold sweat, staring at his phone, which shows a 36-hour countdown until some terrifying demon event. Pay attention here, because the system app starts glitching out, and shaking his phone only scrambles the weird text even more. Completely frustrated, Hiroto decides to just toss the broken device aside. He lies there wondering if it was all a bizarre illusion, but then he leaps out of bed. Convinced this mysterious system is making him stronger, he resolves to face any challenge to keep leveling up. Suddenly, a chilling warning flashes on his screen, advising him to cancel the demon's request immediately or risk a literal organ contract. Right after, a mini portal opens on the screen, revealing a sinister, grinning figure watching him. The portal snaps shut, replaced by another ominous message. Hiroto reads the warning about dungeon monsters, explaining that if they aren't cleared regularly, they will breach the gate and trigger a catastrophic city-destroying stampede. Yet, so much about these dungeons remains shrouded in mystery, especially why that specific city is constantly plagued by these dangerous beasts. Riding in a cab, Hiroto asks if this is the infamous site of the 10-year-old eclipse tragedy. The driver chuckles, explaining that while the past disaster was chaotic, the government has simply abandoned the entire zone now. Hiroto asks if that means only monsters inhabit the ruins. The driver clarifies that only the undead and hopeful Hunter Academy students roam there, prompting the boy to ask if those zombies were originally human before the apocalypse hit. You and I can probably guess what happened next. The intense mana flow literally raised the dead, which is proven when a random zombie steps onto the road and gets run over. Hiroto is utterly horrified by the casual brutality. He mutters that the government could have saved this place instead of abandoning it, warning that failing to clear these dungeons will only lead to an even bigger catastrophe. Arriving at the glowing dungeon portal, the driver lights a cigarette. He mocks Hiroto, saying that despite claiming veteran status, the massive level gap between him and real hunters is painfully obvious. He calls the kid a weakling with a useless F-rank aptitude, telling him to forget about the hunter school. Fed up, Hiroto steps out and aggressively grabs the driver through the open window, trying to keep his cool. Hiroto claims he is just a peaceful guy who hates conflict, yet he effortlessly yanks the heavy driver right out of the vehicle. Suddenly, an enormous beast crushes the car, but Hiroto manages to dive to safety with the driver. The monster is a terrifying B-rank Wendigo, forcing the two of them to run for their lives. Hiding behind a nearby wall, Hiroto peers out at the raging beast. Watching it destroy his car, the terrified driver suggests they wait it out, explaining that elite academy students are due back by 4 p.m., including a legendary powerhouse known as the Witch of the Burning Flame. Hiroto wonders if that could be Yuzuki, asking if students are actually strong enough to beat such a monster. The driver assures him that elite academies are packed with rookies stronger than veteran hunters. Though he has no idea why this beast is roaming outside the dungeon, he believes they will be safe if they stay put. Hiroto spots the gun on the driver's belt and asks if it is real, but the man warns him that standard firearms are completely useless against magical creatures. Hiroto brandishes his own dagger, demanding the gun if the driver is too scared to use it. The driver looks at him like he is crazy, wondering if this kid actually plans on fighting that giant beast alone. But before they can argue, the Wendigo starts sniffing around their hiding spot. Hiroto sighs, realizing they do not even have 5 minutes to rest as the terrifying catastrophe-level monster inches closer to their position. The driver insists normal weapons are useless, but the kid just grins and demands the gun anyway. The terrified man asks if he even knows how to handle a firearm. He warns that these beasts have protective barriers that only hunters with active skills can penetrate, but Hiroto demands the gun once more as they feel the creature's icy breath, and trust me, you and I are about to see if he can survive. Let's dive into a crazy world where a kid demands a weapon from a terrified driver, casually announcing that he is going to be the bait. When asked if he knows the monster's tricks, the driver admits he is just a clueless student caretaker. The kid explains these beasts are likely highly sensitive to loud weapon fire or massive explosions. He realizes hitting their glowing white spot might deal real damage, proving these creatures actually fear human weaponry. But before he can plan further, the monsters start closing in. The kid decides to open fire to draw their attention. While the driver respects his insane bravery, he heavily doubts an F-rank kid can actually handle two savage monsters at the exact same time. The driver grabs him, begging him to run and save himself. But Hiroto refuses to leave him behind to die, tired of watching other people sacrifice their lives just to keep him safe. He bolts forward, firing his gun to lure the beasts. The monsters lash out with lethal strikes, but he dodges them with insane agility. Rounding a corner, he leaves the howling Wendigos completely lost in his dust. Suddenly, Hiroto drops from above with his dagger drawn and a confident grin. First beast down. Meanwhile, inside a glowing crystal cave, teammates cheer for a prodigy named Yuzuki. Their jealous mage demands praise for her own skills, but the squad agrees that Yuzuki is just on another level. They even suggest they could conquer the deepest depths of this dungeon. She agrees with a confident smile, telling them to move fast. But the bitter mage reminds them that absolutely no one has ever conquered this dungeon completely solo. Yuzuki admits talent plays a part, but insists hard work bridges the gap. This only annoys the mage, who complains that an S-rank prodigy gets strong without ever breaking a sweat. The healer steps in, explaining that Yuzuki is the ultimate hard worker, famously dubbed the witch who never sleeps due to her brutal training schedule. The complaining mage is left totally speechless. When asked why she pushes herself so hard, Yuzuki opens up about her past in the orphanage, where she was constantly bullied until someone stood up for her. The healer is shocked. She explains that while she awakened high-tier skills, the brave boy who saved her was only an F rank. His selflessness inspired her to become strong enough to protect others. The mage finds the story sweet and asks why they do not team up. But Yuzuki sadly notes that while talent lets them achieve greatness through effort, an F rank like him simply faces an impossible wall. But pay attention here because as soon as she steps through the portal, she freezes in absolute shock. Her squad rushes out only to spot that same driver being hunted by Wendigos. Just a few feet away, our main character takes down one of those beasts with a clean headshot. When another monster charges, he uses his high-speed agility to dodge it with ease. He slides under the beast ninja style and climbs right onto its massive head. He fires point blank, but plot twist, it does nothing. The creature grabs him, leaving him completely annoyed. He is annoyed that his gun only left a minor scratch. Breaking free, he finally understands why hunters are so respected, swiftly taking down another monster before more begin to spawn. Meanwhile, Yuzuki is incinerating monsters with her fire magic. Sensing something is terribly wrong, she reaches the driver and asks where the bait went, with the man pointing down the path. She bolts to rescue him without hesitation. Meanwhile, the main character is resting on the ground surrounded by dead beasts, catching his breath after a surprisingly exhausting battle. The massive victory pushes his level straight to 17. But as he prepares to head back to the car, a strange mist starts oozing from the monster carcasses as they begin rising again. Immediately after, a mysterious portal pops open right in front of them. While walking away, Hiroto laments losing his belongings in the crushed car. Just as his phone warns he has only 12 hours left. Now let's pause and watch Yuzuki, who is still sprinting in search of the bait student. She activates an enemy detection tracker only S-rank hunters can see, remarking how this feels like a video game with pop-up messages. She grins at the absurdity of it all. Growing up, she dreamed of being a heroic savior, but the cruel reality of an unfair world taught her to trust absolutely nobody. She knows she cannot protect everyone, but the world's cruelty will not stop either. Armed with S-rank power, she vows to fight evil so the weak never have to cry again. Turning a corner, she suddenly spots the main character, who stands completely speechless at the sight of his childhood friend. Later, the group rides together in a replacement car. Hiroto feels incredibly awkward during the ride. Meanwhile, the driver admits he never expected the bait boy to have a past connection with an elite hunter who is already incredibly strong. The mage asks if they plan to recruit Hiroto, but the leader laughs it off. He claims the boy's only redeeming quality is his base stats, noting that an F rank can only reach level 25. The mage is disappointed since the main character is totally her type. The healer calls her out for judging potential boyfriends purely on combat ranks. The mage argues that while training helps, dating a guy weaker than her is just too difficult. Overhearing this, Hiroto quietly reflects on how easily people write him off as a useless F rank. The teammate asks Yuzuki about her relationship with the new student. She explains he is incredibly precious to her, like a brother who protected her from bullies, prompting the guy to mockingly joke that he is useless now. Yuzuki calmly replies that is exactly why she must protect him now. She tells Hiroto to contact her whenever he enters a dungeon so she can keep him safe. The main character remains silent, while her arrogant teammate complains she is mixing personal feelings with business. He reminds her she has a duty to the country and cannot waste time on weaklings. Yuzuki firmly replies that Hiroto is the only real family she has left. They arrive at a massive facility, where an officer immediately instructs them to head to the student council room. Meanwhile, brainless zombies wander aimlessly through the city. Suddenly, the asphalt cracks open with a loud boom as a massive magical seal appears, causing the creatures to shrink and violently explode. Floating droplets of blood merge in mid-air to form eerie dark spheres. Suddenly, a monstrous minotaur hatches from one of them, quickly joined by an entire squad of beasts. They leap through an opening portal. Back at the Academy Training Center, students gather for a mock battle. A senior grins, claiming beating down newcomers is essential to keep them alive. The healer senses this is deeply personal. The senior argues that even if the rookie is F rank, his combat skills are D class, which makes soloing a Wendigo absolutely insane. The mage declines to participate, calling the hazing ritual a complete nightmare. She then asks if the resident genius had to endure the same treatment. Yuzuki proudly responds that nobody was stronger than her back then. The annoyed mage leaves, while the senior grabs a baton, stating they should keep this duel private to avoid trouble. He tosses a training baton to the protagonist, warning him to prepare for a few painful bruises, claiming it is all for his own growth. Yuzuki steps in to block him, demanding to take the challenge herself. The senior argues that coddling the rookie will drag the team down, while a teacher searches for a peaceful compromise. But the senior insists he is just enforcing academy rules as the head of the disciplinary committee. Yuzuki snaps back, stating this completely exceeds his authority. She warns him that she will never tolerate anyone bullying the weak on her watch. The room goes silent as the senior backs down, while the teacher explains that raw talent dictates everything here. She wishes him luck, advising the weak to stick to their own path. Trust me, you and I will see if he survives. All right, you and I are about to watch a weak kid fix a chaotic world. While searching for his dorm, that annoying upperclassman stops him again, claiming the kid needs some serious guidance. Hiroto asks, "Do I just have to fight you?" The bully replies, "No, you just need my one-sided guidance." Our main character asks, "Can I start?" And the guy says, "Go ahead." In a flash, Hiroto slips behind him and knocks him out cold, catching him before he hits the ground. Leaving him there, he walks away. Next, we meet Kazuya, born to elite hunters and raised in a heavily protected bubble. Growing up, Kazuya believes he is destined for greatness. One day, he bumps into a massive man who lifts him off the ground. To defend himself, the boy slaps him right across the face. Kazuya hits the ground, gasping. But when he looks up and sees his slap sent the giant flying across the street, he grins like a madman. Armed with insane power, he enters the academy, remaining top dog and believing he is chosen. But then he crosses paths with someone even stronger, with absolute god-tier skills. Instantly, Kazuya decides that only Yuzuki is worthy of being his partner for his ultimate future. Smiling, he vows to make her his since they are both extraordinary, believing she is his divine match. Cut to the present, and Kazuya wakes up on the floor, completely dazed. Meanwhile, a school lecture is underway. The instructor announces warning signs of a monster stampede inside the school dungeon, leaving everyone stunned. He explains that while dungeons remain a mystery, their detectors show a massive spike in monster activity. He warns that if the surrounding mana remains this high, chaos will erupt and disaster could strike at any moment. To prevent it, they must clear out the beasts early to drop the mana back to safe levels. The students are highly skeptical, but they remember their contracts force them to assist in sudden emergencies. Now, pay attention here, because this is where the tension spikes. The speaker reassures them, revealing the staff were all active, elite hunters. He orders advanced students to the deepest zones, telling everyone to gear up immediately. Hiroto is incredibly stressed since things are turning chaotic on his very first day. Just then, Yuzuki approaches him, apologizing for his terrible luck. She says he belongs in the elite class with the top rookies and urges him to introduce himself. Nearby, students whisper about the F-rank freshman who only has a weird stat-boosting trait to his name. They find it hilarious that a guy who cannot level up is here. Hearing the whispers, Hiroto remembers his friend saying that skills are everything. Suddenly, Yuzuki pulls Hiroto aside to chat, leaving a jealous Kazuya fuming in the background. Once outside, she tells him that she can feel a major dungeon stampede brewing, calling it a sixth sense. She believes it is tied to her S-rank perception skills. Curious, Hiroto asks for details. Yuzuki explains that while senior students clear out the deep zones, Hiroto and his class will defend the entrance. Hiroto tells her he already knows this and is totally fine with it. Yuzuki admits it is easy to judge him based solely on raw stats, but adds that she is a special existence. She warns him that if things get out of hand, he must run straight to her. When a stampede erupts, mass panic is inevitable. Plus, the threat of the legendary Reaper Scythe is still out there. But she promises to keep him safe, so there is no need to worry. Meanwhile, other students discuss the mobilization, asking Urabi if they should run. Urabi tells them not to be so stupid. Bailing now means instant expulsion. A friend argues that hunters make crazy money, but Urabi points out there is no pay for this drill. Just then, Kazuya interrupts, saying he believes in their skills. They ask Kazuya if he has got another fun job lined up. Smirking, Kazuya admits he needs their help with a small problem, adding that there is someone he wants completely out of the picture. With everyone plotting, they team up. But pay close attention, we are about to see this drill turn into a complete disaster. 1 hour earlier, the students assemble at the portal entrance. The instructor explains that only elite combat teachers and selected students, led by Yuzuki, will enter the deep zone, while the remaining students are stationed in the safer outer dungeon. They will hunt low-level monsters safely by following strict orders. But suddenly, the speaker announces that all Year 1 to 3 Class A students must accompany the main attack force deep inside, since they are the Academy elite. The students are utterly shocked to learn they are entering the danger zone. Their official entry time is high noon, 12 sharp. A student speaks up, demanding to know why they are going so deep when the monsters down there are way too dangerous to face. The instructor clarifies that they are there to support the vanguard. Specifically, they will provide medical support, rescue the wounded, and finish off stray beasts. The organizer then assigns the outer layers to anyone below Class B. Hiroto realizes this matches exactly what Yuzuki predicted, and he begins to worry she is in serious danger. He starts thinking that knowing someone he cares about might die in there will absolutely ruin his sleep. He figures Yuzuki's team is incredibly unlucky, but the instructor announces that Hiroto and the redhead will not be fighting. Instead, they must accompany the vanguard to the middle layer and wait until the path is cleared. Their job is to prevent monsters from breaching the shallow layers, keeping them on guard duty. The redhead is furious, demanding to know why they cannot fight when they are in Class A2. The instructor retorts that the current force is more than enough for this emergency. He brutally adds that despite being Class A, they lack real strength, and the Academy must prioritize investing in top talents. She wonders what investing even means. In reality, the instructor knows they only possess E and F rank skills, rendering them totally incomplete in his eyes. Deep inside the dungeon, waves of monsters are incinerated by magical flames as the commander coordinates the defense. The students fight valiantly, slaying beast after beast until a massive, elite version of the monsters suddenly emerges. One fighter smirks, thinking the monsters have zero chance. In an instant, she drives kunai straight through their skulls, laughing maniacally as she tells the rest of the crew to join the slaughter. A gentleman watching from the sidelines smiles, noting that while they have the worst attitudes in school, their real strength is easily a rank level. He adds that major guilds should already be scouting them, making this school training a massive waste of their talents. The students approach, calling him sensei, but he quickly barks that it is instructor. The boy asks if they can ditch the vanguard duty and hunt independently, making the instructor snap and ask if they are going rogue again. The student claims he is just keeping it real, saying babysitting amateurs is a waste and asks if it matters as long as they kill monsters. The teacher warns them to watch their attitude, but they mock him, insisting on doing things their way. But the old man refuses, reminding them that he is in charge. Just then, Kazuya steps in, telling the instructor to relax and highlighting that these boys possess elite combat skills. He argues that treating them like average cadets is foolish and suggests letting him lead them as an independent squad. Surprisingly, the instructors decide to allow it. Grinning, Kazuya assures the teachers they can count on him. He quickly heads off with the squad toward the middle layer, planning their move. Suddenly, Yuri approaches, asking if Kazuya will truly introduce them to his powerful father. Since his father runs the top hunter guild in the country, Kazuya promises to fulfill his end of the deal, but only if they join the Black Dragon Fang Guild and take care of some dirty work. The other boys laugh it off, but Yuri gets serious, asking if their mission involves actual murder. He shrugs, saying that as long as the payout is good, he has no issues doing dirty jobs. Kazuya smirks, saying he has got excellent news for them because their target is currently isolated in the middle layer of the dungeon. With a wicked villainous grin, Kazuya mutters that dead men tell no tales. Now you and I are going to watch as he unleashes Urabi and his crew to go wild on Hiroto's friend. Alright, you and I are diving right back into the action where Yuzuki slices a Wendigo clean in half. No sweat, but wait, there is still one monster left standing. She unleashes her signature move, Arab, literally walking on thin air like it is nothing. In a flash, she cuts the second beast down too. Everyone is completely speechless over her insane skills, while our main guy just watches calmly from a distance. A red-haired girl approaches, praising the academy's top student. She is incredibly impressed that Yuzuki can effortlessly slaughter two elite Wendigos back-to-back without even breaking a sweat. She suggests Yuzuki should lead the Vanguard raid team. Hiroto silently nods along, though he secretly wonders if she is overestimating the girl just a little bit. Suddenly, she introduces herself as Murano and offers a friendly handshake. Hiroto is always wary of turning his back on strangers, but he decides to introduce himself anyway. He asks her about the guy in silver armor, and she reveals Kazuya is leading Class B nearby. Hiroto hesitates, asking if she is sure about shaking his hand. See, back at the orphanage, he was constantly mocked for his rank F status, and school is no different. But Murano is completely laid back about it, leaving Hiroto totally stunned by her easygoing attitude. She admits she is also low rank, so there is no point stressing over stupid labels. Hiroto decides she is actually pretty cool. Soon, they are left alone on night watch. Murano promises to run and report any danger immediately. But suddenly, a terrifying rumble echoes through the cavern, and a massive shadow looms behind them. A minotaur, which makes zero sense for this dungeon. She panics, realizing this beast is way out of their league. But Hiroto asks if she is still planning to run and report. Now pay attention here. Another minotaur steps out, completely blocking their escape. Hiroto draws his dagger, ready to fight, but Murano quickly yells at him to hold on. She tells him not to risk his life and begs him to let her take the lead. The giant beast swings at her, but she dodges like a pro, instantly counterattacking with a flurry of spear strikes. A massive axe flies right at her, but she slips past it effortlessly. Hiroto is seriously impressed by her fluid movements. In an instant, she slips behind the beast for another strike. She lunges at the horned monster, but it just grins. Hiroto realizes her normal attacks are useless, but suddenly, Murano lands a precise blow that actually draws blood. Seeing its partner wounded, the second monster panics and runs off. Hiroto is curious how she pierced it, and Murano explains the throat is their ultimate weak spot. Hiroto praises her incredible martial arts, and she proudly attributes it to her class of training. She then asks if he knows of Yeti, the legendary sword master. Apparently, legends say his spear techniques were just as godly, and she is still piecing together her own family legacy. Murano is incredibly proud of her samurai heritage, even though her hunter rating is only rank E. Hiroto is totally shocked the academy instructors ignore her combat skills, and she admits it bothers her deeply. Suddenly, she snaps, screaming curses at the biased instructors and venting about unfair talent systems. She demands equal rights for low-ranked students, leaving Hiroto absolutely jaw-dropped by her sudden outburst. She takes a deep breath, feeling relieved, and offers him a turn to scream, but he politely declines, thinking she is pretty awesome. I know what you were thinking, why train so hard? Murano bleeds for her ancestral style, even if she cannot raise her raw stats. Despite everything, she is determined to be the top first year. Suddenly, Urev's hostile crew corners them. Their leader mocks Murano's rank E status, asking if she finally understands the cruel limits of natural-born talent. He warns she will lose her top rank soon anyway. Annoyed, she demands to know why they are here, and the thugs reveal they are working under orders. Kazuya arrives, looking for a rematch with Hiroto. He sinisterly notes that fatal accidents happen in dungeons all the time. Hiroto realizes he is out for revenge. Grinning, Kazuya whispers that dead men tell no tales. Hiro orders his men to make sure their targets suffer a slow, agonizing end. Mirano knows this situation is bad, having heard rumors about this gang, while Hiroto calmly asks what they plan to do with his friend. Kazuya laughs, mockingly asking how Hiroto would feel watching his new friend get abused right in front of him. Enraged by the threat, Hiroto blitzes forward, landing a massive punch. Mirano had prepared to fight and shield Hiroto, but in a flash, he hits Kazuya. Within a split second, he teleports behind Urab, striking his neck. Hiroto easily handles the remaining thugs, taking them down with single blows. Mirano is left completely spellbound by his godlike speed. He easily finishes off the rest of the gang, leaving her speechless. Meanwhile, deep in the abyss, a hooded figure chanting in a strange tongue begins an ominous ritual. Nearby corpses and wendigos melt into a grotesque mash. The cultist gleefully watches the chaos, until he is suddenly crushed himself, turning the chamber into blood. Eerie green lights rise from the blood, merging and zooming down a corridor toward a secret laboratory filled with capsules of trapped experimental monsters. One of those capsules holds the sixth celestial demon lord, Vasha Valtine. The green energy floods his chamber, waking the terrifying beast from his slumber. Up in the shallow layer, the energy manifests, forming the fully armored demon lord. This is an A-rank threat, causing local guilds to instantly abandon the dungeon raid. An entity of this caliber is way too dangerous for student trainees. Honestly, a massive disaster is about to unfold. Elsewhere, the students finish off their targets. One trainee admits he was terrified of the emergency broadcast, but now thinks it was no big deal. He boasts that their guard duty was super important even without fighting. Suddenly, a strange sound echoes, revealing an armored figure stepping from the darkness. Meanwhile, Hiroto and Mirano tie up the unconscious thugs. Mirano admits she knew he possessed the strength of an elite veteran, but his actual power level is far beyond any student. She eagerly asks him to finally reveal his secret identity, but he politely declines. She wonders if he is an undercover agent, but he just laughs it off. Suddenly, a mysterious armored knight appears, leaving them stunned. Mirano has never seen anything like it, but Hiroto remembers Yuzuki warning about an imminent monster stampede. Checking his status window, he notices his agility stat has surged like a danger warning. The knight draws its blade and charges, but Hiroto effortlessly vanishes behind him, ready to strike. But in an instant, the knight vanishes and teleports right behind him. Hiroto barely evades the strike, receiving a minor cut. Realizing this opponent is incredibly fast, he knows he must get serious to survive. Charging forward, he hurls a small specialized powder bag at the knight. It contains a highly volatile dungeon mixture that instantly ignites. Hiroto casts a flame spell to trigger a massive blast, but the armor emerges completely unscathed. Peering inside, he spots a glowing skeleton. It attacks, shattering Hiroto's dagger. With only his fists left, "Trust me, you and I are in for one wild battle next time. Alright, you and I are about to watch a weakling turn god tier." Starting right here as Hiroto tackles this monster, punches it down, crushes the skeleton, and finally catches his breath. Mirino is totally stunned seeing her friend throw down judo moves. Hiroto admits his hunter rank is only F, so he had to try literally everything to get stronger. Smiling, he promises he is giving this his absolute best. But elsewhere, a rogue knight is unleashing total chaos, leaving terrified students screaming and wondering what that monster even is. Suddenly, the beast slaughters the human defense, sending panic through the crowd. A scientist tells everyone to calm down and act like real hunters, guessing it is just a rare dungeon glitch. Skeptical, the boys ask if she is positive. She claims another guild is coming, and they just need to hold the line. Instantly, a few brave students step up to form a shield wall. She screams for everyone to fight for survival, reminding them that Instructor Godai is on their side. Hope flares up among the students, but it instantly dies when she gets brutally bashed in the head. Shock paralyzes the crowd. One kid desperately tries to stay positive, pointing out their elite instructor Godai is still standing. But they look over only to see him crushed under a single brutal stomp. Terror erupts as the students scream. Meanwhile, deeper in the dungeon, another knight wreaks havoc. Yuzuki steps up to fight, but a hand stops her. Her teammate warns that not even their instructor stood a chance, but she might. He places all his faith in her. Yuzuki hesitates, knowing her forbidden skill can double her stats and give them a fighting shot. The healer knows this forbidden power drains her actual lifespan, but she is their only hope. Desperate and terrified, he starts begging her to sacrifice her own life to save them all. Yuzuki secretly doubts the lifespan rumor, realizing they only believe it because of school gossip. As they thank her for stepping up, she looks at their relieved faces, realizing how incredibly selfish they are. With a deep breath, she unleashes her power, wrapping her body in roaring flames. She takes the lead, demanding backup, drawing her blade while pondering her tragic role in this hopeless fight. Now pay attention to this detail. Mirino points out the school runs this dungeon, so why on earth is a rogue armored skeleton chilling here? Hiroto suddenly remembers a grim warning, admitting he is deeply worried about Kazuya. He decides to head to the deepest floor alone. Mirino laughs, finding it hilarious that an F rank is worried about the strongest kid in school. She insists on helping, but realizes she would just get in his way. So, she decides to step aside and let him handle the show. With tears welling up, she admits how silly it feels to have tried so hard since childhood. Suddenly, her phone buzzes with a bizarre alert, confirming her desperate desire for power has unlocked access. Confused, she wonders if it is a virus. She quickly laughs it off, nervously, adding that she definitely has not been visiting any sketchy websites. Before he departs for the deepest floor, Mirino stops him, begging for a promise that he will return safely. She even offers to buy him coffee at the campus cafeteria when he gets back. Hiroto smiles and agrees, already looking forward to that coffee date. But his system panel flashes, recognizing a sudden spike in his agility. He senses 10 hostile knights approaching and quickly hides her for safety. She asks if there are really 10 knights. He confirms but has zero time to explain, insisting it is far too dangerous and begging her to wait behind. Praying for his safety, she watches as the knights ambush him. Hiroto barely dodges the first rushing blade. Facing 10 knights at once is pure stress, and while dodging, he misses an enemy sneaking up behind him. A heavy blow connects, leaving him battered and bruised. The knights ruthlessly gang up on him, dragging him down. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he keeps talking even as they prepare to finish him. A knight mocks him, wondering why a local is crashing their party. Suddenly, a system window flashes, declaring the Demon Lord event has begun and the player is being transported. Instantly, Hiroto wakes up completely healed. Standing before him is a colossal shadow of a giant beast. A notification pops up, stating this is the official tutorial, and that monster is his opponent. The creature roars and charges, obliterating the city around them, but a glowing barrier shields Hiroto. As he stands there confused, the system explains that dying simply revives him here, but he must slay the beast for the skill. The interface reveals a 10.5-meter safe zone where he can rest indefinitely. Suddenly, a special sword spawns in his hands, capable of cutting anything except the dragon's scales. The screen warns him to use his time wisely before vanishing. Hiroto inspects the blade, wondering if his foe is the very monster that carved this crater. A sword that cannot even pierce dragon's scales seems completely useless, right? But then he connects the dots, an immortal body plus an incredibly sharp sword. Immediately, a crazy plan forms. He eyes the dragon circling outside the barrier, wondering if he can actually do this. But get ready, because you and I are about to watch this story go completely off the rails. He realizes that failing here and getting sent back to his real-world death scene would be a disaster. Slapping his own cheeks, he wonders if he has officially lost his mind. He remembers that the app granted him insane skills and level-ups, but plot twist, he does not feel any stronger. Bummer, right? Still, he grips his sword, ready to face the beast. Sprinting out of the safe zone, he charges like an absolute boss. The dragon snaps at him, but Hiroto dodges, scrambles up its massive arm, and leaps toward its head like an action movie star. But with a swift snap, the dragon swallows him whole. Talk about a setback. Yet inside the beast, he is still alive, armed with an immortal body and a sword that cuts anything but scales. His only option is to carve his way out from the inside. But being bathed in stomach acid is absolute torture, melting his flesh until his rapid healing factor kicks in to rebuild him. He is caught in an endless loop of melting and regenerating like a broken game glitch. Screaming for help into the void, minutes feel like hours as his sanity slowly begins to fracture. He regrets his reckless choices, wondering if his desire for raw power drove him mad. Or maybe he just wanted to impress Yuzuki, who always saw him as weak. But he refuses to yield. He is not giving up yet. Meanwhile, as the dragon glides through the air, it suddenly feels a terrible spasm in its belly. A glowing blade erupts outward, tearing the beast wide open. The giant beast crashes down, and Hiroto crawls out, his wounds knitting back together. A system alert warns that he has hit his growth cap, meaning this massive kill won't grant him any level ups. Instead, he receives raw stat bonuses, including a 10-point strength boost. Then the game transports him back to the starting point. We flash back to Yuzuki Gaming, where she talks about epic heroes. He tells her she should play the healer. When she complains, he nervously blushes, admitting he hates seeing her get hurt, even in a video game. She smiles, leaving him completely flustered. He promises to always protect her whenever she is in trouble. Years later, Yuzuki is a top-tier hunter, living her dream. Yet she silently admits that being a healer was much easier than carrying this heavy burden. Fighting off waves of armored knights, she struggles to catch her breath. Defeating just one monster drained her, and more are closing in. She begins to doubt if she was ever meant to be a hero. Terrified and alone, she realizes no backup is coming. Her hands tremble as she admits she only took this path to please others. Dropping her sword, she collapses to her knees as enemies swarm her. Desperate, she cries out for help, screaming Hiroto's name. A blade swings down to execute her, but boom! A mysterious figure crashes in, shattering the monster and leaving her completely speechless. She is stunned by his sudden power. As he shreds these knights, you and I can finally see the true hero has arrived. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the action, where she asks why a powerhouse like him took so long to arrive. Hiroto just laughs it off, unleashes his dragon, slaying skill, and easily stops a knight's blade with his bare fingers. Just like that. Next, our main character draws his dagger, carving through his enemy like a piece of cake. The young student is completely speechless, realizing how incredibly easy that was. Hiroto's mind is racing. He knows he needs this mysterious app to defeat these villains, but he still cannot figure it out. Meanwhile, the girl notes that the entire enemy squad has been totally wiped out. Hiroto nods, agreeing that everyone on this floor is finished. However, he is incredibly anxious to find out what happened to the rest of the academy students in the upper levels. She pulls out a special communication device meant for deep dungeons, but there is only radio silence, meaning everyone was wiped out. But then, the boy spots one remaining survivor on the radar. He rushes back to the spot where he left his friend, but she is completely gone. Hiroto immediately realizes she was taken. Knowing these vicious monsters are notorious for kidnapping girls, he tells Yuzuki they must locate her before it is too late. The girl insists on coming along, wanting to rescue any survivors and admitting she feels much safer by his side. She pats his shoulder, putting all her trust in him. Moments later, they are both completely horrified to find Mirino lying motionless right in front of them. Staring at her body, memories of Akira, another friend he failed to save, flash through Hiroto's mind. He remembers her promise to grab coffee after the mission, but now she's gone. Instantly, his eyes burn with pure rage. As Yuzuki screams in absolute heartbreak, the boy snaps. He goes completely berserk, slicing through the armored knights like paper, while wondering how his first day of school became a bloodbath. 271 lives were lost, with only 2 survivors. Now watch closely as Hiroto tears down the remaining Dark Knights, leaving only a single enemy standing. Yuzuki screams for him to stop as tears stream down his face. In the aftermath, the academy is shut down. The authorities offer them transfers, but they choose to become active hunters instead, granting them total freedom. A few days later, the 2 teens walk through a park, and Yuzuki asks about his future plans. Hiroto admits dungeons disgust him, not just because of the beasts, but because of how rotten humans can be. Even so, he still wants to connect with the people who actually made him feel alive. Nodding sadly, she asks him to explain how he became so overpowered, and why he insisted on letting her take all the credit for clearing that dungeon. Yuzuki wonders if it is too big of a secret to share. Hiroto knows it is not about trust, he just cannot explain a power he does not fully understand. Besides, if people knew he surpassed the academy's top student, he would be labeled a mystery ranker. Ultimately, he just wants to keep himself and those close to him safe. She reminds him of her offer to team up, but he politely declines, stating he is not looking for a squad. He asks her to keep his secret, and she agrees, jokingly demanding he rescue her faster next time. He smiles, promising he ran as fast as possible. Later that night, while sleeping peacefully in his room, his phone suddenly alerts him that a brand new mission has begun. Instantly, the young man is teleported away. A glowing screen appears, declaring that one player must die for the trial to end. Suddenly, Hiroto senses someone standing across from him. Unbelievably, it is Mirino. The system confirms both participants are ready, authorizing immediate combat. An intense awkwardness fills the air as they realize they must fight to the death to survive. 7 days ago, Hiroto was completely devastated after finding her lifeless body. But the moment he departed, she was resurrected and teleported to this massive coliseum. Confused and disoriented, she questions where she is. Suddenly, a screen announces a successful link with Lucifer, granting her the Morning Star power and leaving her utterly shocked. The system tells her to eliminate her opponent, leaving her baffled. Suddenly, a bright light flashes across the arena, and Hiroto materializes before her eyes. Both stand frozen in complete disbelief. Mirino explains the Dark Knights killed her, and she woke up inside this trial. When Hiroto asks if she knows about the Demon Lord application, she asks if he means that weird mobile virus. Hiroto is stunned that someone else is trapped in this nightmare. Now, you might be wondering what is actually going on, and he explains everything while shady scientists watch them from a laboratory. An observer notes that Hiroto is their prime candidate, but they are only talking. Feeling the audience will find this boring, they decide to interfere to force a battle. Inside the stadium, Mirino struggles to process his explanation. Hiroto admits his own power has been growing rapidly, leaving them both conflicted since one of them must die. She wonders if her friend also survived a fatal encounter. Hiroto notices her resurrection and power-up are different from his, suspecting they might be using different versions of the app. Knowing speculation is useless, he points out that surviving 3,600 seconds will result in a draw. However, a sudden system warning states the match will not end until one player is dead. Suddenly, an invisible force strikes their heads. The system announces a tie penalty has begun, and as blood trickles down, Hiroto realizes this is their punishment. A strange sensation overcomes him, and Mirino begins to suffer as well. Her eyes shift color as an external force takes control of her body, forcing her to attack him. Hiroto desperately tries to snap her out of it, but soon his own mind begins to warp. Under the system's influence, he agrees they must fight and both brace for impact. Mirino strikes first with her newly acquired Morning Star power, but Hiroto dodges effortlessly. He knows one clean hit could end him, but his superior reaction speed is off the charts. He recognizes her combat techniques, but his raw stats are simply on another level. Smirking, he urges her to stand down, but she suddenly lands a solid blow to his face. Brushing it off easily, memories of his friend snap him right back to reality. Fully understanding this is a true battle to the death, he fights off the system's control. But the brief distraction allows Mirino to land another hit. Regaining his senses, Hiroto begs her to stop, but she continues her relentless assault. He delivers a defensive kick, knocking her back and snapping her out of the trance. As the system demands their deaths, both defiantly refuse. Their defiance earns them a unique title. Hiroto wonders whose divine will they just rejected, but realizes only their new powers matter right now. He asks if she received a matching title, and she confirms it. Quietly realizing their situations are identical, he proposes a shocking plan to escape together. Hiroto explains he refuses to kill her, and since waiting around means death, he will take the charge. Mirino agrees, while Hiroto contemplates the unsettling nature of their new godlike abilities. By defying the mission parameters, he questions if they even need these abilities if they are prepared to die. To him, these applications are starting to feel like a twisted game. It reminds him of his battle against the Demon Lord, where he chose a path no sane person would dare walk. Hiroto suspects there is a hidden mechanism to this duel, controlled by an unseen spectator. He wouldn't be surprised if people are wagering on their lives through the application. When Mirino asks for their strategy, he points out that their titles and powers are the key. Suggesting they hold a clue, he hands her a spear and asks if they can break out of the arena. He admits there is not enough proof yet, but it is worth a shot. Suddenly, the arena door swings open, proving his theory correct. As they sprint down the corridor together, you and I are left wondering if they can survive what lies ahead. Let's dive in, because right now, penalties are chipping away at their health points. Hiroto and his partner keep sprinting straight forward, tanking hit after hit. Both of them are stressed as their health bars plummet. Mirino gasps that they have under 10 health points left, and Hiroto agrees they are in deep trouble. Their wounds do not look fatal, but the blood loss is insane. Mirino asks if they should turn back. A notification promises 0 penalties if they retreat, but Hiroto points out it is useless since they would just end up fighting each other anyway. Mirino knows that, but argues they are doomed if they keep going. Suddenly, Hiroto spots a distant light. They sprint toward it, but Mirino trips and falls. Fearing the worst, he tells her to hold on, scoops her up, and carries her, refusing to let them die here. Even as he runs, more penalty strikes hit him, dropping his health to a single point. Hiroto realizes this insane app and those mysterious voters are forcing them into desperate choices. It is a living nightmare. Another penalty strike lands, completely wiping out his remaining life. But somehow, he survives on 1 health point. Letting out a wild roar, he pushes forward, carrying her toward the light. Crossing the threshold, a notification confirms their survival, awarding them the title Those Who Rebel Against the World. Meanwhile, the app creator notes that almost everyone voted for their escape, making it a massive landslide victory. When an observer asks if that clutch survival was fair, the admin tells him to relax. After all, the duo did not exactly start this trial with full health anyway. He claims the arena match was their own fault, and he was just playing fair. Later, Hiroto relaxes in his room, scrolling through his phone while Mirino takes a bath, still questioning what this app really is. Marino steps out, thanking him for the warm shower. Hiroto immediately asks about her injuries, but she reveals they completely vanished upon waking up. This makes him realize their earned titles might actually be connected. Surprisingly, Marino admits she does not think the app creators are completely evil. When Hiroto asks why, she points out that at the end of the corridor, someone deliberately gave them a path to avoid fighting. She mentions reading a manga where a powerful master hates humanity and goes wild, yet still secretly wants to believe in them. She believes that if players just stay calm, nobody has to die. But in reality, everyone just acts selfishly, and the body count keeps rising while Hiroto remains completely glued to his screen. Now pay attention here, Yuzuki is staring at a game-like hologram in her room, wondering why only S-rank hunters are able to see this secret interface. Suddenly, another window flashes with a chilling order: eliminate Hiroto and Mirino. Completely shocked, she stares at the screen as it asks if she accepts this assassination mission. Back in the room, Hiroto warns Mirino that this app is far darker than she thinks. Before she can ask why, a system alert appears, warning her of 10 days remaining until the death pursuer arrives. Mirino asks what a death pursuer even is. Hiroto explains that while they avoided killing each other, they are still under the system's control. Soon, we see him on a phone call. On the line is Yuzuki, asking why they are being targeted. Hiroto does not know, but reveals they must survive 24 hours once the 10-day countdown ends, since she abandoned the quest. He figures she was assigned a different task. When he asks if only S-rank hunters can see these system screens, she confirms it from a guide, making him realize app users can also view them. Hiroto asks if she knows who took over the hunt after she backed out. Sparing her the danger, he says it is safer if she stays out of it, but she insists he spill the details. Yuzuki explains that the bounty likely went to another S-rank hunter. She brings up an elite organization of S-rank powerhouses known simply as the Demon Lord Hunters. Since she is still a student, she has not joined yet, but a member mentioned their name because S-ranks can defeat the in-game Demon Lord. Hiroto realizes both the app and group share that name. Hiroto bombards her with questions about monsters, systems, and the app, suspecting they are all deeply connected. Noticing his sudden silence, Yuzuki asks why he stopped talking. He knows their targeter is an S-rank hunter, the Death Pursuer. For now, he and Marino must keep their powers hidden, especially from high-ranking elites. You might be wondering the exact same thing Yuzuki is: how did Marino survive that deadly dungeon? Hiroto keeps that a secret, so she offers to look up the hunter who vanished with her traits. Yuzuki explains that while the government sets rules, dungeons are essentially lawless zones. As long as trouble does not spill into the streets, the authorities do not care what happens inside. She says handling missing hunters is their responsibility. When she asks if he was recently spotted at the train station, Hiroto admits they are constantly moving to avoid being ambushed by unknown enemies. She asks for his address to deliver the files tomorrow, hanging up with a sigh. Yuzuki wonders if he finds her untrustworthy, or if telling her the truth is just too much trouble. Later, the duo strolls through a mall, and Marino notes they cannot live in hotels forever. She is worried about their finances, especially since Hiroto just bought her a brand new phone. Hiroto casually tells her not to worry, since his payout from that dungeon accident left him loaded. He adds that they are hitting up another dungeon tomorrow to start making serious money. Suddenly, he remembers her incredible combat skills. But looking around, he realizes she wandered off and is completely mesmerized by a bunny plushie. Hiroto walks over, telling her it is time to go. He explains their shopping route, but she is still totally focused on the toy. Hiroto soon notices these pink bunnies are featured everywhere, wondering if they are some massive new trend. Meanwhile, Marino remains completely transfixed by the toy. Seeing her starry eyes, he asks if she actually wants it, and she just beams at him with a heart-melting smile. He initially thought she was cool, then fascinating, but now he is starting to think she is just incredibly quirky. After buying the plushie, his buzzing phone makes him wonder if Yuzuki is calling. Instead, it is an alert from the app, presenting a gift and message from the Demon Lord Alphagard. The reward is a double S-rank sword that drinks human blood to become a god-slaying weapon. Additionally, he unlocks a dimensional inventory to store his gear, but his focus remains entirely on that bloodthirsty sword. Noticing him staring intensely at his screen, Marino asks what is wrong. Hiroto shrugs, muttering about the app having bizarre taste. Meanwhile, inside a training dungeon, a student squad battles a heavily armored knight with a swordswoman successfully knocking off its helmet with a precise strike. The entire team gasps to see a hideous undead skeleton underneath. A mage unleashes a holy light spell, but the monster completely ignores it, forcing a student to yell that purification is useless. Another student shouts that fire is its weakness, unleashing a massive blaze that completely incinerates the monster. The team laughs, joking that it took 5B rank hunters just to bring down one mob. A girl asks if their leader could solo that night, but he admits he would fail in a duel. Suddenly, someone warns that there are many more inside, questioning if they can even survive. A student suggests requesting an A-rank hunter, but they know the association would never deploy one for a simple training run. They scoff, joking that the association only cares about their tight budget. The leader hesitates, knowing how easily rookies die here. Suddenly, a new enemy emerges clad in pure white armor instead of black. Moving at blinding speed, it brutally impales a teammate, causing pure panic. A defender raises his shield, but the white knight easily slices right through it. Terrorized, the leader screams to call an S rank, but before the words can escape his mouth, he is instantly decapitated. Just then, a casual voice chuckles, asking if this is what S rank difficulty feels like. Clad in zero armor or gear, he effortlessly tanks a massive axe swing without receiving a single scratch. He strikes back, leaving the survivors stunned. Wrapping his arms around the monster, he crushes its steel plate armor with raw muscle. Trust me, you and I just witnessed a beast. Alright, you and I are about to see a complete monster of a rookie who is technically rank B, but possesses godlike rank S skills. Even the top rank A hunters can't touch him, and soon he'll officially reach the peak. Yet, even with that insane power, one-shotting this beast is impossible. He has to open the exclusive rank S credit shop to buy a cheat item for this fight. Suddenly, a quest notification pops up offering a massive credit reward to assassinate Hiroto and Miyano. He recognizes Hiroto as a survivor from that infamous dungeon incident, but grins anyway. Taking down a mere kid for 5,000 credits is too easy, so he accepts immediately. With visions of epic loot dancing in his head, he heads straight to the shop to browse the merchandise. But here is the shocker, the legendary God Slayer weapon is already sold out. He wonders what kind of rank S high roller had the insane points to buy it. When his crew asks if something is wrong, he shrugs it off as nothing. He asks his team if the target really possesses rank S strength. When they confirm it with respect, a sinister grin spreads across his face. Everything is going exactly according to plan. The young survivor reveals that his entire rank B squad was wiped out by a massive beast. While his crew recoils in shock, our villain immediately tells them to salvage and cash in all their high-tier rank B gear. The kid warns him that trying to sell stolen loot will get them caught instantly. But before he can finish, the man shushes him, explaining that his special inventory skill lets him hide stolen gear in a secret pocket dimension. He boasts about using cheap trash items to mask his criminal activities. Then, without a second thought, he brutally executes the boy right in front of his female companion, leaving her utterly paralyzed with horror. Now watch this psycho. With a horrific grin, he tells the girl she is his next big payday. He grabs her, confessing his twisted love for causing chaos and lawless zones, before ruthlessly ending her life and declaring that Hiroto and Morano are next on his hit list. A bit later, our main character and his partner run into a real estate agent who mentions hearing they are house hunting. Hiroto blushes, confirming they are looking for a nice two-bedroom place. She notes that pooling their 30,000 credit budgets could score them a 60,000 mansion, but she teases that if they want a cozy love nest instead, she can easily arrange it, leaving them both red-faced. Suddenly, an icy voice interrupts their blushing moment. Miyano turns to see Yuzuki standing there, coolly remarking that she understood wanting a safe house, but did not expect them to be sharing a room. Our main character tries to clear the air, but she cuts him off, handing over a bag of requested supplies and handmade essentials for Morano. She warns him that while secrets are fine, lies are not, and she refuses to play the third wheel in their little romance. With that, she storms off, leaving behind a heavy silence. Later, inside the guild building, Hiroto and Murano examine a quest board, with Hiroto hoping he managed to convince Yuzuki it was all a big misunderstanding. There is no need for unnecessary drama. Murano quietly wonders if Yuzuki was upset over a simple misunderstanding, or if she secretly harbors the same feelings for Hiroto that she does. Sensing her intense gaze, Hiroto asks what is wrong. She quickly claims it is nothing. Hiroto knows they must avoid the Death Stalker, which means grinding levels fast. Sadly, his rank F status means he is technically maxed out. But by hunting entirely new monsters, he can bypass that limit using his gluttony skill. Murano lacks this ability, but her level cap is still high, and her martial arts combat skills are absolutely top tier. He recalls how her brilliant tactics easily outmaneuvered the Minotaur, even if her raw strength fell short. With her incredible technique, they can challenge high-tier beasts and power up rapidly, though Murano admits finding an open dungeon is tough. Our main character is determined to level her up, meaning they need a mob-heavy monster dungeon. Unfortunately, rank F dungeons have incredibly annoying restrictions. Murano sighs, noting that ranking up normally takes forever. First on the list is sneaking into a restricted Hunter Association dungeon, but they have to scratch that idea since it is completely illegal. Luckily, there is a solid backup plan. But meanwhile, a dangerous figure appears on their very floor, the psycho who has been hunting rookie players. You might be wondering what this backup plan is, and it is actually a mining gig where they act as porters. Murano is completely stunned, realizing they would basically be glorified pack mules carrying heavy loot. Hiroto explains that inside this cleared dungeon, they will be divided into combat guards and resource porters, tasking them with mining valuable magic stones. Murano points out that cleared dungeons have no remaining treasure, and since guards handle all the combat, they will not get any action. But with a smirk, Hiroto notes there is absolutely no rule forbidding a porter from slaying monsters. Hiroto realizes that if he does not clear more dungeons, his ranking will remain stagnant forever. Little do they know, both the Predator and our main characters are about to cross paths. But right before they collide, an unexpected shout interrupts the killer. A young scout approaches, loudly praising the man for soloing an entire dungeon and officially rising up the hunter ranks. The killer asks if he needs to visit the front desk to finalize his registration, but the young man shakes his head. He has already contacted the Hunters Association vice president, who is fast-tracking him as a national treasure. It is obvious that this psycho is going to receive massive special treatment now. He is absolutely thrilled by the prestigious title, silently gloating that his true power has been rank a level for years. Later on, our heroes arrive at the highly secure guild checkpoint where some loud drama is already brewing. A thuggish hunter aggressively demands to know why the recruiter failed to hire a female porter as requested. The terrified recruiter apologizes, stammering that hiring only girls would look incredibly suspicious. The thug approaches Murano, mocking her as a useless rank F weakling while sleazily complimenting her appearance. He tells her she should at least serve as eye candy for them, before pointing at Hiroto and threatening to cut his reward in half. The recruiter protests that cheating their workers will ruin their guild reputation, but the thug dismisses them as trash. Out of nowhere, he suddenly slaps Murano, demanding to know if she's willing to offer some special services. Murano quickly grabs Hiroto's hand, begging him not to start a fight. She loudly warns the brute that she will report him to the Hunters Association, but the thug just laughs it off, claiming he was only joking. He sneers at them one last time, reminding everyone that once they cross into the dungeon, normal laws cease to exist. His companion mutters that mysterious accidents are rising fast, advising them to stay quiet and behave. The team leader barks at them to cut the chatter and focus on making money. Soon, they enter the dungeon and engage a fierce monster in battle. Hiroto figures that with these combatants being rank C hunters, they should easily avoid any real danger, even if their attitude is terrible. But suddenly, a series of terrifying, echoing tremors shake the entire cavern. Massive boulders begin raining down from the ceiling. Hiroto quickly checks to make sure Murano is unhurt. Suddenly, a massive roar shakes the chamber, and they come face to face with Cerberus, a legendary rank S threat. The entire group panics, wondering why a rank S calamity is lurking inside a basic rank B dungeon. The cowardly leader immediately plans to sacrifice someone as bait so he can make a run for it alone. Hiroto unsheathes the sinister sword he obtained earlier, remembering its unique ability to grow stronger by drinking blood. He smiles, realizing this is the perfect trial ground to test its lethality. The recruiter wonders if the kid can actually fight with that weapon, but Hiroto knows exposing his true hidden power right now is too risky. Hiroto volunteers as bait, ordering everyone to run, though Murano fiercely protests. The selfish hunters eagerly praise his sacrifice and drag her away while she screams at the top of her lungs, desperate to stay and fight by his side. He silently apologizes to his partner. They came here to level her up, but he knows this legendary boss is simply too overpowered for her current state. With everyone finally gone, he can unleash his hidden potential. The massive hound leaps at his blind spot with snapping jaws, but he evades the strike with ninja-like reflexes. He grits his teeth in pure frustration. Despite all his level-ups, the beast does not even flinch. Alright, you and I are about to watch this kid fight a Cerberus that is way tougher than those knights. The beast charges, our main character yells, "Bring it on," and with one epic slash, splits it in half. With the battle over, Hiroto stares at his blade. He knew system weapons were strong, but he never expected them to be this overpowered. He scores 5 strength points thanks to his gluttony skill, hyping himself up that no one can beat him now. But deep down, he knows something is off. That sketchy app always drags him into some insane life or death drama. The timing of getting this weapon is too perfect, especially with the death pursuer hunting him. He begins to wonder if his only survival option is to let this demonic sword drink some actual human blood. Just then, a strange noise echoes through the cave. Our main character spins around and spots a random guy, immediately panicking that his secret might already be exposed. The stranger asks if the kid was the one who wiped out the monster. Sweating bullets, Hiroto tries to play it cool, introducing himself before asking for the stranger's name. The man introduces himself as Murakami Shingo, an S-rank hunter ranked 4th in the entire world. Hearing that insane rank, Hiroto freezes, instantly thinking this guy is his deadly stalker. When Murakami reaches into his suit, Hiroto tenses up, expecting a weapon. Instead, the man just pulls out a card. He asks if our hero is a rookie, explaining that it is standard protocol to show your guild license when crossing paths inside a dungeon. Hiroto checks the card and sees the guy's real aptitude is rank A. He suddenly recalls Yuzuki mentioning that only actual S-rank players can view the hidden window, which means this powerful hunter is not their stalker. Murakami sneaks a peek at Hiroto's card, laughing that a rank F had such a rough time, before curiously asking who really cleared the area. Desperate, Hiroto lies on the spot, claiming a mysterious hero swooped in to save him from the Cerberus. He is sweating bullets, praying this top-tier hunter actually buys his ridiculous story. Surprisingly, Murakami totally buys it, muttering that this must be the work of someone named X. Hiroto is completely baffled by the name, but the older man quickly brushes it off as rambling. Now, watch closely here because this is where the mystery really gets interesting. Hiroto asks why a top-tier hunter is hanging around a basic dungeon. Murakami reveals he is investigating a string of suspicious accidents, searching for a hidden clue. Our main character tries to press for more details, but the man just shrugs it off again as mindless muttering. With that, Murakami decides it is time to head out. Before leaving, he mentions their meeting must be fate, dropping a chilling warning. The recent dungeon accident happened because a high-level monster that should not have been there suddenly spawned. He warns the boy to stay far away because things are getting extremely dangerous. Hiroto thanks him for the warning, but as he checks the man's stat panel, he realizes he did not even need a system alert to know this guy is an absolute monster. Looking at those terrifying stats makes him realize he still has a massive way to go. Meanwhile, Murakami walks away, analyzing the battlefield. The destruction suggests an unknown hunter with rank A or S power was here, convincing him it has to be the work of the mysterious X. He briefly suspects the kid, but instantly laughs it off, realizing a lowly rank F could never unleash such devastating power. Meanwhile, over in a massive high-rise building, an elite group of powerful individuals is gathering for a meeting. At the table sits the Hunter Association president, Oyamada, alongside Murakami and a guy named Takeshi. Suddenly, a knock sounds at the door, and a young superstar named Takedo from a massive entertainment agency casually strolls in. He apologizes for being late, claiming he was busy filming a drama. The president scowls, demanding to know what he thinks being a hunter actually means, to which Takado cheekily replies that it is just a way to stand out. The president is absolutely furious at his attitude, while Murakami tells him to chill out. But the old man keeps fuming, complaining about how cocky the younger generation has become. Takado just smirks, suggesting they all think the old man is crazy. Murakami has had enough and tells the president to stop lecturing so they can kick off the meeting about the Demon Lord issue. I know what you are thinking, does this kid know about the mysterious app too? When the president mentions the Demon Lord hunters, Takado grins, muttering something about the app, leaving the old man completely confused. Annoyed, the president asks if he created some chat app for them, but the kid brushes it off. Oyamada then announces the real agenda, focusing on the old National Diet building, known as the Nagatada Dungeon. This is one of the 7 legendary great dungeons that remains entirely undefeated, even after swallowing up the entire city of New York when it first appeared. The old president stresses that they cannot afford to fail, as national pride is on the line. He reminds everyone that despite the new generation doing their own thing, the association is still running the show. Takado promises to inform the others, but cheekily asks if the president is just jealous of the rank as hunters, since he is only ranked 2nd behind Ku Ayako. Murakami sighs, noting that the top-ranked leader never shows up, making the new generation a total headache. Suddenly, Takeshi, who had been completely silent, asks about the Artemis School incident. Takeshi is actually Kazuya's father, and he has just received the investigation report on his son. The man is furious, insisting his son could not possibly have failed because he raised him to be a rank S beast. Furthermore, his son carried a powerful artifact to sense dangerous demons, so there is no way he is dead. He insists a massive fight must have broken out, trapping his son inside. Takato points out there were two survivors, suggesting that whoever fought his son is likely dead as well. Tekshi warns that if the association does nothing, he will take matters into his own hands. Calling the association completely useless, he storms out to hunt down the two survivors. He suspects someone murdered his son to steal his precious artifact and high-tier gear, and he is absolutely determined to make them pay with their lives. Furious, he vows to track down the culprit. Meanwhile, our main team gathers back at the Artemis dungeon. Murano nervously begs Hiroto not to abandon her like last time. On the screen, the terrifying countdown for the Death Stalker shows only 6 days and 12 hours remaining. Stepping inside, the girl admits she never expected to return to this place. Hiroto agrees, but points out that this is the best spot to level up fast since tons of demons spawned after the incident. He plans to boost his stats by wiping out hordes of monsters, and once Murano levels up, they can hunt the Black Knights deeper inside. For now, they must pretend to be simple support recruits, but when the timing is right, they will make their escape. The girl asks how they will survive for 5 whole days without food, but Hiroto reassuringly reveals he has it completely covered with his item box. He explains that he did some research and found out his dimensional storage can hold up to 2,000 kilograms, keeping everything perfectly frozen so nothing ever goes bad. He admits he spent 500,000 on high-quality food so they can feast as long as they want. Laughing about blowing through his school funds, he vows not to let a single bite go to waste, knowing he must prepare for the fight of his life. Suddenly, a squad member approaches, apologizing deeply for running away during the Cerberus crisis. Hiroto graciously waves it off, saying the important thing is that they all made it out alive. Later, as the team takes a break, a sneaky spy from their old squad reports to his boss that the target's preparation looks solid, but he asks if the boss is absolutely sure about this plan, recalling how the kid summoned his sword out of nowhere. In the end, it was the S-rank hunter Murakami who took down the Cerberus, not the boy. The spy argues that the boy only pulled out that weapon to save the girl when he was about to die, which is highly unusual. The boss grins, admitting he is just guessing based on that storage trick. And trust me, you and I are about to see if his greedy plan actually works. If the weapon is a dud, they will just blame the dungeon like always, but if not, they will sell it for millions. Let's dive into a wild story where in F-rank nobody holds a legendary weapon, making him an instant target. Meanwhile, Hiroto tells our main character he never expected they would actually get hired twice in a row like this. The young guy mentions the cash is great for such an easy gig. Our hero notes they established a base camp right in the middle layer, which the kid says is absolutely essential for long journeys down into the deep, dangerous floors. But he adds that past those deep zones, things actually get pretty quiet. Hiroto wonders if it is way too early to call it safe, but the boy explains the real danger lies in areas explored by top-ranking hunter squads. After the last disaster, they raise the budget, meaning they get to chill in the safe zone. So even if they are just guarding, they basically get paid big bucks to beat up weak, low-level monsters. He adds that they are setting up a base camp to assist struggling hunters, so it should be quick. Still, our hero cannot help but think about how chaotic and unpredictable those deep layers really are. Hiroto starts remembering the last dungeon disaster involving the Cerberus and how the Artemis Hunter School got completely wiped out. The boy then realizes he actually received that strange app during a major dungeon crisis. He figures the smartest move for him and Marino is to level up inside this dungeon and gain more power. Just then, the kid notices our hero acting a bit strange and asks what is wrong. The hero shrugs it off as nothing. Soon, the break ends and they are moving again, suddenly facing giant dungeon worms. Individually, they are C rank, but as a squad, they are B rank. Suddenly, worms begin dropping from above. The shield warriors step up to block the onslaught, creating an opening for the mages to unleash magic while the melee fighters charge straight in. While these veteran C-rank hunters are fighting for their lives, a guy in a bright red jacket is just standing around like a neon sign. Meanwhile, our main character is safely watching all the madness unfold. Then, he suddenly whips out a dagger, leaving his ally completely shocked. A worm drops down to attack the red jacket guy, but before it can even touch him, a flying knife zips through the air and kills it instantly. The red jacket guy is curious about who threw it, while Marino is totally stunned. Hiroto warns that if a legendary Dark Knight suddenly shows up, they are going to be in some serious trouble. She laughs it off, saying those knights only spawn on the deepest floors, but the boy points out they are heading to the intermediate floors soon anyway. That is when our main guy jokingly suggests they get lost on purpose. Marino cracks up, making him ask what is so funny. She teases him for actually trying to do his job right, while Hiroto grins, saying they should at least work to earn their advance payment. Suddenly, the boy mentions that some hunters fell into a crevice and might be injured, urging the squad to help. Meanwhile, from the shadows, two suspicious guys chuckle as they watch their targets drift away from the main group. Over at the association, Tommy is now officially a high-ranking hunter. He reflects on how lucky he was to pull off his trick right before the system exposed the exact coordinates of his target. Now pay attention, because once a hunter reaches rank A, they get full access to the database to spy on anyone. Knowing his target is a massive win, and he wants this over as fast as possible. Digging into our main character's file, he discovers the guy is currently working as a porter inside the old Artemis School dungeon. Tommy jumps up, absolutely thrilled that he has finally tracked down his prey. A bald guy approaches the young group, claiming one of his teammates went missing during the clash. The kid agrees that he is nowhere to be seen, and the man warns his friend might die if they do not find him. Hearing this, the boy suggests splitting up to cover more ground. He tells Hiroto to come with him, while Marino can head out with the other hunter to search a different area. He promises that once they pull their teammate from the crevice, they will locate the missing hunter. Our main guy bids farewell to his friend and follows the kid, only to be suddenly surrounded by hostile men. A blonde guy steps out of the shadows, immediately recognizing the powerful sword the boy drew back in the dungeon. He points out that it is the exact same high-tier weapon. The weapon that Ku Ayako wielded during her early B-rank days, which also features that amazing storage capability. He claims a single swing could level entire buildings, recalling how terrified he was when he first saw it. Hiroto wonders if this girl truly possesses S-rank power. The guy confirms she reached the absolute peak when she was just 20, leaving only a few old men as the remaining S-rank hunters in the association. Listening to this, our main character realizes that high-ranking hunters are tied to the very same application. If that blade can destroy buildings with ease, it must have been fed with a massive amount of human blood. Our main guy asks what this has to do with them. The man coldly states he wants that weapon, even if he has to kill the kid to get it. Furious, Hiroto demands to know how many lives he has taken for his own greed. The villain smirks, claiming he lost count after 20, prompting the protagonist to ask about Marino's status. The man explains his bald partner wanted her all to himself. Hearing this makes the young guy boil with rage, knowing that despite her martial arts training, her current levels and stats are still way too low. He thinks of his friend and draws his sword, muttering that the creators of the app really want him to act like a hitman. The thug is left completely confused by what he means. He explains that taking out trash is exactly how he charges his weapon. He warns them that while he is no god, if trash gets in his way, he won't hold back. The gang just laughs, calling him a total joke and promising to crush him. Boom! The protagonist vanishes, instantly reappearing to strike a thug with his blade. I know what you were thinking, and yes, these guys are absolutely losing their minds right now. They cannot comprehend how an F-rank loser possesses such terrifying strength. Hiroto mockingly asks if they knew about the legendary sword but suspected absolutely nothing, before charging ahead and completely shattering an enemy's weapon with a single blow. The young warrior seizes the opportunity to finish him off. Glaring at the survivors, he asks if it ever crossed their minds that he might actually be highly dangerous. He strikes at another target who barely manages to dodge, yelling to his crew that the kid is still just a weak F-rank with a good weapon. But before he can finish his sentence, he gets absolutely smacked. Hiroto cold-heartedly tells him he is still in his strike zone. The remaining thugs are completely panicking. Our protagonist calmly explains they lost the moment they underestimated his F-rank status, slowly walking toward them as they break out into a cold, terrified sweat. This entire crew made a living out of terrorizing the weak, stealing gear, and trapping stronger hunters. But now, they are finally getting a taste of their own medicine as the young swordsman suddenly appears right behind them. The desperate man screams for help, but Hiroto merely thinks about how many times his victims must have begged for the same thing. Now, only the bait who lured them here remains standing. Our protagonist demands to know what his master plan was. The terrified kid stammers that he only meant to threaten him. Fading belief, the young man turns away to quickly go search for Marino instead. The kid tries to sneak attack him with a handful of poison, but Hiroto effortlessly dodges without even turning around. Drawing his blade, he admits it is his shame, since he actually hoped the guy was decent. He delivers a swift blow but deliberately spares his life, watching as the injured enemies scramble to their feet and desperately try to flee deeper into the cavern. Before they can escape, a massive cave serpent appears and swallows one whole. As the survivors panic over this sudden monster spawn, our hero remembers the Cerberus incident and wonders why these dungeon disasters keep happening. Oddly enough, they are all occurring in this exact dungeon. Suddenly, the serpent lashes its tail, crushing the remaining hunters, while strange system notifications pop up in front of Hiroto, claiming their deaths as his own kills. Realizing the system credited him with those kills, the boy grips his sword, deciding to end this quickly. Without breaking a sweat, he effortlessly slices the massive serpent into tiny pieces. Next, he rushes to locate Marino, praying she is safe. Fortunately, he finds her standing over her defeated attacker, completely unharmed, which brings a massive wave of relief to our protagonist. He asks what happened, and she explains the guy ambushed her. When she asks about his side, he casually replies he drove his attackers away, but they got eaten by a giant snake. Trust me, you and I both know this is just the beginning of their wild journey. All right, let's jump into this mystery. Murano is terrified after that Cerberus attack, wondering why dungeons are breaking down, while Hiroto recalls Murakami warning him that something is seriously off inside. He suggests this might all be connected to that creepy Demon Lord app. Murano freaks out, knowing reporting this would cause absolute chaos, but Hiroto tells her they have to trigger their master plan way sooner than expected. She's completely stunned by his words. Hiroto casually explains that after such a massive battle, nobody would find it strange if two of those portal gates simply vanished. He extends his hand, offering a pact to survive this hell together, and she accepts without hesitation. Outside, heavily armed guards stand on high alert, but their tense silence is suddenly shattered by a loud, arrogant voice. It's the notorious rank a hunter, Manhwa, pushing his way past the perimeter. The guards try to stop him, but Manhwa just flashes his license, reminding them exactly who they're dealing with. But the guards hold their ground, insisting that rules apply to everyone. Manhwa scoffed, completely insulted that mere gatekeepers would dare stand in his path. One of them, sweating buckets, begs him to understand. But with a lazy flick of his hand, Manhwa unleashes a devastating windstorm, knocking the guard out cold instantly. He remarks that breaking rules is bad, but letting his targets escape is worse. Then, smiling, he comes up with a perfect cover story, planning to claim a rogue monster wiped out everyone inside and outside the dungeon. The remaining guard is terrified, calling him completely insane. Manhwa just shrugs, saying dungeon tragedies happen all the time, telling the shaking soldier to just accept his fate. When the guard calls him a monster, Manhwa smiles, taking it as a compliment. The guard warns another, rank a hunter is inside, but Manhwa couldn't care less. He claims his power is already rank S tier, clutching the glowing artifact around his neck. Grabbing the soldier's head with a savage grin, he boasts that no ordinary rank A can stop him. Now, pay attention to this next call. Out of nowhere, his phone rings, which makes zero sense. But wait, he's still outside the gate. It's Takedo calling, and Manhwa is seriously annoyed. He answers, and Takedo immediately brings up the two targets. Manhwa is hunting, shook. Manhwa asks how they found out, but Takedo just offers an alliance, making Manhwa boil with rage. Are you trying to steal my prey? Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, Hiroto feels something is deeply off. When Moreno asks why, he points out the suspicious words of that high-rank hunter. He remembers her blood-drinking sword growing stronger, meaning she must have slaughtered countless hunters inside these gates. Her name is Kujo Ayako, an elite rank and a deadly threat to everyone. They find their group resting, and Hiroto tosses down a heavy backpack. Marino asks if he actually finished the porter's job, and he nods, pointing at a strange glowing vial in his hand. She explains it was a tax collected from her attacker. Deciding to push forward to slay monsters and grind levels, Hiroto's thoughts drift back to his sick loved one. He wonders aloud why potions can cure both fatal wounds and deadly illnesses. She explains they boost chakra to repair internal damage, being common drops found in chests and monsters. But who's creating these potions? Meanwhile, green light rises from dead monsters, flowing into a secret laboratory and directly feeding the capsule of the sixth celestial demon lord, Vasha Valin. Awakened by the surge of energy, the demon's eyes snap open. In a luxurious room, Kujo Ayako plays her instrument, whispering that she can hear the beautiful melody of the sixth demon lord. They discuss targeting those two students from Artemis Academy, declaring that it is time for another sacrifice. The mysterious woman promises they won't let their prey escape this time. The Dungeon of Beginnings will keep the rhythm alive until all demon lords gather at the old National Assembly Hall. She then begs the entity to play its symphony for all worlds. Back on the line, Manhwa accuses Takato of trying to steal his targets. The young man denies it, but casually mentions he knows Manhwa murdered an employee of the Hunter Association. I know what you're thinking, can they really cover up murder? Takedo warns him not to push his luck. They'll bury the employee's death, but only if he stops this mindless rampage. He delivers this direct warning from Queen Kujo Suya herself. They won't interfere with his hunt, but he better not disrupt their designs unless he wants the entire association hunting him down. Tamua grittingly agrees to the terms. The young negotiator advises him to waste no time and eliminate his targets the very second he tracks them down. Tamua scoffs, saying they underestimate him over simple rank F and E targets. But the boy retorts that those low ranks are exactly why they have that dangerous artifact, then hangs up. Takado mutters to himself about how cold and irresponsible Kujo is. Even after learning her own brother was being targeted by Tamua, she didn't even blink or show a shred of concern. He wonders how someone could let her own blood die without feeling any guilt, marking Kujo Suya as a dangerous woman. Meanwhile, rank C demonic trees block Hiroto and Murano's path. Murano is completely stunned by their sheer numbers. It's an entire forest of monsters. Worse, a humanoid tree resting on a massive trunk is marked as a deadly rank B threat. Vines lash out to tear them apart, but Hiroto draws his blade and slices through the oncoming horde. Murano backs him up, weaving and dodging the deadly foliage like an absolute professional. Murano charges straight for the tree queen, but the boss summons levitating stones that launch toward her. She deftly dodges the onslaught, even though the attacks are wildly unpredictable. Leaping high, she unleashes her ultimate strike directly on the monster's head, destroying the surrounding trees and triggering a level up. Yet, endless wooden beasts still surround them completely. Hiroto appears, shouting for her to stay down. As she ducks, our protagonist unleashes a massive sword strike, shearing through the remaining forest beasts with a single swing. A violent tornado sweeps up the shattered wood, leaving Murano terrified of his insane power. He approaches her, praising her Morning Star skill as a deadly one-shot attack, but she wonders if that's a flaw. Hiroto warns her that her level is still way too low. Going head-on against psychic enemies with her current stats is suicide, prompting Murano to check her status screen in frustration. He knows her close quarters martial arts are top tier, but they aren't meant for massive crowds. Even her multi-target techniques are fundamentally designed for fighting single opponents in sequence. To make matters worse, her armor is basically paper thin. Hiroto realizes he can't let his partner risk her life in every single skirmish. Suddenly, a notification alerts him that he's copied a new skill, leaving him stunned at Gluttony's power. Recalling his first major hunt, he tests out his brand new ability to control weaponized vine tentacles. Hiroto tells his partner they should backtrack to that psychic assassin's nest. When she asks why, he explains these current monsters offer terrible experience points, so they are skipping them. Murano points out they were already doing that, but with a sly smirk. Hiroto tells her that leveling up isn't his main goal, he has a much better plan. He activates his powerful search skill, mapping out every monster. Then, Hiroto uses a clone technique to multiply himself, leaving the tree queen swinging at thin air as her attacks fail miserably. The clone army surges forward, obliterating the entire swarm and the queen. Murano is left completely breathless, calling Hiroto an absolute beast, but he casually shrugs off the easy victory. System alerts flood his screen, confirming he acquired telekinesis from the psychic assassin. Smirking at his predicted success, Hiroto steps toward a nearby tree to test his newly stolen psychic powers. And that's where we leave things today. With the secret mission on hold and a big mystery waiting, Hiroto tells Murano to pause, leaving us dying to know what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild plan that sounds incredibly sketchy from the very start. While wandering the dungeon, an annoyed Tommy searches for his missing targets. Suddenly, a giant spider lunges at him from the darkness, but he effortlessly squashes the beast with a single devastating strike. Furious, the hunter vows to make his prey suffer slowly. Moments later, he casually strolls up to a nearby camp and greets the crew waiting there. Shocked by his sudden appearance, the crew listens as Tommy Wa requests their help with the deep dungeon. He proudly brags about reaching rank A, but they already knew. They joke about how awkward it was taking orders back when he was rank B. They ask if he is planning another secret massacre now that he is officially rank A. Grinning maliciously, the hunter admits he is targeting 2 kids. The leader agrees to help one last time since a girl is involved, calling his crew absolutely out of their minds. While plotting, Thomas secretly plans to eliminate them all later. Still, extra hands help the hunt. Meanwhile, our hero easily smashes giant spiders in a rank C zone. Suddenly, system windows reveal he acquired the spider skills. He instantly shoots webs from his wrist, completely thrilled, while Moreno looks totally grossed out by the display. Hiroto announces they have everything ready. Suddenly, Tommy appears, eager to meet the youngsters. Seeing him, our hero immediately wonders if this terrifying threat is their death stalker. Grinning, the hunter mocks the boy for looking so downcast. He asks if they really expected to escape before the event began, confirming he is indeed the death stalker. Now, pay attention here because this guy's aura is basically on par with a rank S hunter, and we can see Morano is completely frozen in fear. Knowing they stand zero chance, the hero looks for an exit. Tommy Wei demands they start the battle, prompting the boy to quickly pull up his hidden mission window. Marino catches on and copies him. Instantly accepting the advanced labyrinth challenge, both are teleported away, leaving the stunned hunters questioning if that was some legendary skill. Tomo roars in absolute fury. Safely transported elsewhere, Miyano praises her companion for his brilliant quick thinking, though he insists it was purely a stroke of luck. The hero explains he kept the quest open as an emergency escape. Hayato anticipated an encounter with the Death Stalker, though it was only a gut feeling. But the girl completely disagrees, deeply impressed by his incredible survival instincts. She knows you cannot just pull off an escape like that without serious tactical awareness and planning. She admits that whenever chaos strikes, she usually just screams. After a brief laugh, the boy gives her a solid pep talk, promising that her immense hidden potential is about to explode right here. Deep inside the cave, giant ants swarm everywhere. Standing before them is the monstrous queen, a rank S boss. Without hesitation, the hero leaps forward to initiate the battle. He summons powerful vines to bind the beast, but she instantly tears them apart with sharp claws. Herodoto is completely shocked by her incredible speed despite her massive size. He swiftly uses telekinesis to trap her in her own webs. Immobilized, he binds her with vines once more, defeating the queen. Mirana is stunned. He defeated a rank S monster. Using the webs to secure the hallway, Herodoto tells her to land the final blow. He jokes they would be finished if their skills did not scale with stats. The plan is simple. He captures the queen so she can level up, repeating the cycle as more monsters spawn. Soon, the girl completely maxes out her hunter stats. You and I both love a wholesome level up moment, but soon, she calls him over for some freshly cooked food, triggering a bit of friendly teasing from him. Miro proudly reveals she practiced cooking during her downtime. Herodoto is highly impressed by her skill, and they eagerly dig into the delicious meal together. Enjoying the food, he wonders why she suddenly cooked. She cryptically mentions studying and not wanting to lose. Confused by her logic, he simply drops the subject. Hiroto is grateful for the amazing food and companionship. Flustered, Morano excuses herself to fetch fresh water from a spring she discovered nearby. She kindly suggests he take a quick nap. Realizing how sleep-deprived he is from helping her level up, he knows potions cannot replace actual rest and instantly crashes hard. Gently patting his head, Mirino lets him rest. Later, Hiroto wakes to the aroma of coffee, gratefully accepting a cup while she suggests a relaxing mall trip. He agrees, but she awkwardly mentions others might think they are on a date. Hiroto bluntly replies he would only hesitate if it was an actual invitation. Annoyed, she calls him a tough opponent, but quickly brushes it off. Still, Hiroto is thrilled that both of them are rapidly growing stronger together. Meanwhile, T receives word that Kuju Yuzuki has arrived and grants her entry. He ponders the legendary family name, remembering his son's promise to marry a top-ranked hunter. Though not dating yet, it was clearly love at first sight. He recalls she survived the Artemis School tragedy and might hold crucial clues regarding Kazuya's mysterious death. When Yuzuki enters, the young man is completely mesmerized by her beauty. Noticing his strange behavior, she questions him, but he nervously brushes it off as nothing. Taxi fully understands his son's feelings and vows to win her over. Meanwhile, deep in the dark cave, a mysterious light suddenly appears before Tommy's crew. Just as predicted, things get serious. Our main duo suddenly teleports back, and Tommy is thrilled to greet them. However, Hiroto demands answers about the Demon King app. Flashback to right before their return, sitting by the campfire. The hero declared he did his best, leaving the rest up to sheer survival of the fittest. Shook by his intense survival skills, she realizes he operates on a completely different level. Suddenly, their time limit expires and they are instantly pulled back to reality. Roto demands to know about the Demon King app, but the hunter refuses to talk. The boy then presses for details on the Demon Lord hunters. Smirking, the villain stays silent. The boy asks one final question. Why are they targets? Tomiwa replies that eliminating them is simply beneficial to his plans. Realizing rank as hunters are dangerous enemies, Hiroto prepares for battle, telling his partner he will handle it. The hunter eagerly accepts the challenge with malicious excitement. Drawing his sword, the boy charges, but the hunter blocks with his bare arm and throws him far away, leaving him completely stunned. Tommy laughs, bragging that his skin is completely blade-proof. Herodoto is stunned by his insane durability, realizing this hunter is an absolute beast in combat. But rank S hunters are far scarier. The young hero hoists a massive boulder, showing off his own unreal strength, knowing a direct clash would be fatal. Meanwhile, Tomu's crew surrounds Mirano to taunt her. Challenged to a duel because of her rank E status, she charges instantly, nearly striking him with her spear. He tries to strike back, but she easily dodges like a ninja. Trust me, you and I are both wondering, is she really just rank E? Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild showdown. This cocky opponent thinks the girl's attacks are just putting him to sleep, but her flawless dodging leaves him completely baffled. That's when it clicks. She's moving with absolute, perfect precision. He's totally losing his mind because his overpowered stats should guarantee an easy win, yet she's reading every single move he makes. Miyano keeps pressing her advantage, leaving him completely frustrated as she counters everything. Cornered against the wall, she unleashes her special attack, but instead of targeting him, she slams it directly into the solid rock. Boom! A massive blast sends the guy flying as she coldly warns the others to surrender. Meanwhile, the clash between our main character and the elite hunter is still raging on. Tommy shatters the stone wall with a single heavy punch, showing off some terrifying raw strength. But when Hiroto attempts a swift ambush from behind, the hunter pulls a crazy move and catches the sword with his teeth. Hiroto is relieved he did all that intense dungeon grinding, or he would have been dead meat. Realizing standard attacks won't cut it, he decides it's time to get creative. Hiroto unleashes his telekinesis, firing sharp daggers straight at his opponent. But they can't pierce the hunter's skin. Tommy just laughs, bragging about his godlike defense and massive health pool. He gets even cockier as our hero realizes he's outmatched. To rub it in, the hunter shows off a broken system item, the legendary immortal hero's necklace. Hearing this, our main character decides it's time to unleash his ultimate weapon, the Godslayer's skill. Suddenly, he spots a tear in the hunter's clothing and smirks, immediately summoning a small army of clones. The clones immediately spray sticky webbing everywhere, combined with a vine trap to lock him down. Tommy just scoffs, mocking him for thinking some simple plants and strings could ever hold him. But before he can make a move, the webbing wraps around him even tighter. Tommy just laughs it off, bragging that his raw physical power is more than enough to tear right through it. Now pay attention, because here is the twist. Our main character steps up, knowing the hunter's godlike power has one major weakness, his heel. Just like the myth, the boy lands a clean strike. He gambled on the system using real mythology to design that overpowered item, and it actually paid off. Pointing his blade, he declares that even an immortal can't fight with a severed heel. Panicking, Tommy screams at his squad to throw him a healing potion or cast some recovery magic. But his heart sinks as he realizes his entire team was already wiped out by Miyano. The defeated hunter notices Hiroto is wielding Kujo's legendary sword, yet he didn't use a single sword skill to win. It is a bitter pill to swallow. His opponent held back and still won. Suddenly, the cave's ceiling begins to fracture and crumble, sending everyone into a panic. Hiroto wonders if it's a sudden earthquake, while Miyano warns him that the entire cavern is about to collapse. Deep inside the hidden laboratory, the sixth demon king, Vasha Vulcan, slowly opens his eyes. As a new monster quest triggers, his capsule begins to glow as his awakening sequence completes. Just as the battle winds down, a blinding flash illuminates the area, and the terrifying, humanoid form of the Demon King steps onto the battlefield. Everyone instantly senses the overwhelming, deadly threat before them. The beast moves like a blur, passing right by them while they stand frozen in shock. It walks straight to the terrified Tommy, grabbing him by the skull and lifting him off the ground. Then, the creature starts to liquefy, melting directly into the hunter's body. Tommy screams in absolute agony as a blinding explosion of pure energy forces everyone to shield their eyes from the glare. When the dust settles, our hero faces a hideous, multi-headed abomination. Miyano realizes with horror that the other fallen hunters have been corrupted too, transforming into terrifying knights clad in blood-red armor. With a simple snap of its fingers, the beast warps them to a ruined metropolis, mocking the concept of mortals trying to defy their tragic fate with cheap system toys. It unleashes a devastating energy blast that barely misses Hiroto, causing a massive explosion. The Demon King mutters in disappointment, complaining about how weak this world's system performance actually is. Looking at the ruined landscape, our main character tells himself this threat is much more manageable than his previous battles. Hiroto draws his blade with determination and charges directly at the beast. Can you believe this? Even our hero's overpowered God Slayer skill does absolutely nothing. The monster just laughs it off as a cheap toy, blowing him backward in a massive, terrifying shockwave. A warning prompt flashes, revealing he cannot reuse his ultimate skill so soon. Hiroto smiles grimly at his bad luck just as a red knight charges directly at Miyano. Our hero quickly summons a cluster of vines to bind the attacker. Miyano knows this monster is way out of her league, but hopes her single-hit execution skill can connect. But as she swings, she freezes upon hearing a desperate human voice begging for help from inside the armor. That brief hesitation costs her everything. She is stabbed, and the knight brutally kicks her off his blade. Horrified, Hiroto rushes to her side, desperately asking if she is all right. Tears streaming down her face, Miyano smiles weakly and explains her wound is fatal, urging him that survival is the only thing that matters now. With her final breaths, she begs him to take her life. Hiroto stares in complete shock, unable to comprehend what she is asking. She desperately reminds him that his legendary sword gains intense power by tasting blood. By ending her suffering, his weapon will level up and give him a fighting chance to survive. But Hiroto completely breaks down, screaming that he could never do something so horrific to his friend. He argues that sacrificing her won't change anything, but she counters that even a tiny sliver of hope is worth taking. Miyano then pulls his sword into her own chest. Hiroto freezes in absolute horror. Miyano whispers that it is okay because he possesses a stronger will to survive than anyone else, and he must keep fighting until the very end, even if he is alone. Smiling, she whispers how much she wished they could have just hung out like normal friends. Cherished memories flash through Hiroto's mind as her eyes go cold. He screams her name, but receives nothing but crushing silence. Slowly rising, the grieving boy gently drapes his coat over her body. A series of harsh system prompts suddenly flash, announcing his weapon has successfully leveled up. He realizes that trying to stay soft and avoid killing only cost him what mattered most, while the cruel system toys with his life. Fueled by pure rage, he charges at the monster, pointing his empowered blade at his enemies. One of the mind-controlled knights begs him to stop, claiming they are only helpless puppets. But Hiroto ignores them, summoning a massive level 3 tornado that shreds them to pieces, further empowering his blade. Standing in the aftermath, he silently apologizes to his fallen friend who sacrificed everything to clear this path. He vows to fight on, knowing he only has one final sword skill left, and if it fails, he is dead. He lunges forward for his final strike, triggering a cataclysmic explosion. Yet, the monster emerges completely unscathed, mocking the fragile mortal vessel it occupies. Despair washes over him as he realizes his best still was not enough. The beast raises its hand, blasting him backward. Hiroto bitterly regrets gaining power at the cost of his precious friend, only to remain useless. Lying battered on the ground, he knows continuing this battle is completely hopeless. Yet he screams at the top of his lungs, refusing to give up, even as the monster sneers that his resistance is utterly futile. Suddenly, his gluttony skill triggers, absorbing Miyano's signature Morning Star ability directly into his blade. Unimpressed, the multi-headed Demon King reaches out to crush him once and for all. But with his late friend's spirit guiding his strike, Hiroto charges forward one last time. Bright starlight erupts across the war zone, leaving only our battered hero standing alone in the quiet aftermath. Sobbing, he realizes the Morning Star skill was Miyano's final parting gift, begging him to stay alive. As he screams out in understanding, a cruel system notification awards him 10 bonus points to his mental stats. So, where do you and I go from here? As Hiroto screams in pure grief, completely ignoring the useless system screens, we are left wondering how he will ever survive this nightmare alone. Alright, you and I are jumping right in as our boy gets a crazy new title, World Avenger. Suddenly, a bright light flashes, a figure starts materializing, and a shocked Hiroto demands to know who is there. This mysterious guy claims he is part of the app, sent to be our main character's partner. Oh, and get this, he is actually a legendary demon lord from a place known as the Third Parallel World. He tells Hiroto that he obviously has tons of questions, but before he can explain, our furious hero draws his blade and charges. His friend is dead, and there is no way he is just going to sit quietly. But the powerful entity casually catches the sharp blade with his bare hand. He calmly explains that while he wants to respect the kid's feelings, they are seriously running out of time. Realizing the gap in power, Hiroto chills out and lowers his sword. The Demon Lord praises him for surviving the deadly Death Stalker mission, officially welcoming him to the exclusive app user squad. So, there are other players out there. Hiroto tries to ask about the nature of this twisted game, but his words get completely censored, leaving the Demon Lord struggling to explain. The Demon Lord tells him to view the world like a jar of fighting insects. Hiroto then reveals his massive quest rewards, which offer him two insane choices. First, he can completely remove his own level cap. The second option is boosting the level limit of his legendary God Hunter sword skill. This blows our hero's mind as his weapon could become incredibly overpowered. The Demon Lord points out that level caps can be broken through other methods, making the sword's skill a rare prize. But Hiroto knows himself he hates the idea of grinding levels by murdering humans, so removing his personal cap feels right. He tells the kid to claim the reward via the system interface whenever he's ready. But now, it's time to focus on the main event: how to actually beat this insane survival app. Now, Pay attention here because Hiroto gets a massive shock. Can they actually stop this game? He tries to ask how, but the system censors him again. The Demon Lord explains the ultimate goal is destroying the cores of the 7 Foundation dungeons. In Japan, that's the Nagatacho dungeon. Plus, he wants to take down a target named Ishtar. Hiroto is curious about this Ishtar person. The Demon Lord admits they have a bitter history, but since Ishtar achieved divine status, exact revenge has become practically impossible. With their time running out, the Demon Lord cuts to the chase. He reveals that clearing the app entirely grants 3 ultimate choice rewards. The first choice boosts divine status, while the second option is heavily censored. But the third option, the power to resurrect the dead, which instantly grabs our hero's attention. If Hiroto wants to destroy the app, they share the same goal. Hearing this, our main character lowers his sword, deciding to accept the alliance. He reaches out to shake hands, but the figure suddenly vanishes. The fading entity warns that their time is up, asking if the human has any final questions. Wasting no time, Hiroto demands to know what the app really is. Where do the monsters come from? Why must humans risk their lives? The entity places a heavy hand on Hiroto's shoulder, calling it a survival game for native species. Suddenly, Hiroto's broken armor magically repairs itself. The Demon Lord tries to reveal more secrets, but the system cuts him off, proving he still lacks the power to interfere. Confused, Hiroto demands an explanation. The Demon Lord simply smiles, telling him to get stronger and level up if he wants to save his dead friend, because right now, he is far too weak. Gritting bitterly, Hiroto calls it complete nonsense. He opens his reward window, realizing that his friend's tragic death happened simply because he was too weak, making a raw level cap boost feel useless. He hates that the Demon Lord saw right through him. Making his choice, he decides to upgrade his lethal sword skill, vowing to hunt down the criminals lurking inside the dungeons. Deep in a dark forest, an innocent party gets totally slaughtered. Criminals surround a terrified girl, mocking her. One thug laughs, telling her that if she behaves, he will grant her a quick, painless death. You and I both know how brutal dungeons are. But watch this, a purple flash slices that thug clean in half, leaving everyone frozen in terror. Hiroto steps out of the shadows, cold and merciless. He tells them that choosing a life of murder means accepting the risk of being hunted. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Yuzuki suspects something sketchy is going down. The number of missing hunters is rising, but bizarrely, only the worst criminals are vanishing. She wonders if they are dungeon accidents, though the sudden drop in monster populations feels incredibly weird. Just then, Taishi walks in, apologizing for interrupting her work. Yuzuki tells him it is fine. Even though he feels bad, she keeps taking on low-paying police-style investigations anyway. She happily shrugs it off, saying she feels proud to help. She even jokes that this feels just like her old days acting as the responsible class representative back in Hunter School. Taishi smiles, admitting she totally fits the responsible class rep vibe. She laughs, saying that keeping the peace suits her way better than slicing up terrifying monsters in dungeons. With no heavy dungeon raids scheduled, she is happy to help out. Taishi jokes that since it is unpaid volunteer work, she can quit anytime, but she insists she is not driven by money. She praises him, leaving him curious. Yuzuki explains that despite being the top guild around, they still dedicate resources to policing dungeons. Smiling, Taishi asks if she knows the term noblesse oblige. She knows it means those with power must step up. Taishi agrees, saying hunters with incredible skills have a duty to protect others and make the world a safer place. Yuzuki admits she's thrilled to be here, calling him her absolute dream boss. He laughs, saying flattery won't earn her perks, but reveals he actually has some great news. He assigns her to the massive Tachikawa dungeon raid alongside the elite black dragons. Later, Taishi sneaks into a dark room, looking incredibly creepy. The entire space is covered in secret photos of Yuzuki. He whispers that they will finally be together once Tachikawa is cleared. Meanwhile, in another office, Murakami makes a secretive phone call regarding the powerful Kujo family. He learns they are simply observing. The caller explains the Tachikawa dungeon plans are controlled by President Oyama's old guard, sidelining rookies. Murakami wonders if the elite Kujo family is pulling the strings. The elite Kujo clan controls both national politics and the economy, and serious tension is brewing between them and the veteran hunters. Murakami puffs his cigarette, knowing Tachikawa is just a warm-up for the Nagatacho dungeon. The results will reshape everything, which is exactly why Oyama is desperately trying to exclude the younger generation. 3 months later in Kyoto, Suyako attends a secret meeting. When asked if they can connect the Tachikawa abyss to another world, she confidently credits the founder's dungeon trick. With the Kujo clan's massive influence, failure is practically impossible. In a quiet tent, a female assassin mutters that her boss ordered the elimination of the old sorcerers, wondering if rookies can survive Nagatacho. She notes that supernatural powers have secretly ruled the nation forever under the Kujo banner. The mysterious man agrees, saying that is the true purpose of their incredible power. He asks about the other Kujo relative. Suyako admits she still doesn't understand her family's legacy, but is training hard in Tokyo. He nods, satisfied as long as she progresses. The ancient man finally steps into the light, shocking everyone present. Looking at him, the girl realizes this is what a cultivator looks like after living for over 1,000 years. She kneels in deep respect as the entity commands her to execute the Nagatacho plan. Stick with me, because this story is getting crazy. A brutal survival battle is looming in Nagatacho, and if they fail, the Kujo family's entire empire could crumble. There is absolutely zero room for error, and the girl understands her mission perfectly. All right, you and I are diving into a world where the big bad is an app demon king. At Hunter HQ, an official congratulates Yuzuki, leaving her totally stunned. Turns out, she is up for the next S-rank hunter slot. Yuzuki thinks it is way too early, but the official tells her not to be so humble. While other hunters play it safe, Yuzuki has been diving into high-tier danger zones, rendering normal dungeons a total snooze fest. Yuzuki realizes she has become a pretty big deal, but deep down, she still feels like she has not mastered her powers yet. When asked about Kyoto, Yuzuki wonders if the Kujo family is planning something. The receptionist reveals Tishi joined the old-school Black Dragons Guild, which might stir up some serious trouble with the local factions. The family head allowed her temporary freedom, which confuses her. She expected to be the Kujo family's puppet after graduation, but now that they are taking over everything, she wonders why they are letting her run free. Suddenly, she is called over with urgent news. Fu Prison is in deep trouble. On live television, a group of armed rebels is demanding the immediate release of their political allies. An official explains that rogue hunters have allied with rebels to overthrow the government, already executing 100 prisoners. If their demands are not met, they will execute a hostage every 10 minutes. Yuzuki points out that most guilds are currently deployed at the Takawa dungeon base camps, making this a perfectly timed ambush. Reviewing the enemy profile, Yuzuki realizes even the military would struggle. When she asks if they expect her to play the hero, they reveal 7 high-ranking government ministers are among the hostages. He insists she is the only one who can pull this off. Yuzuki hesitates to risk her life, until they drop the bomb that 3 children were also kidnapped, and the execution list alternates between politicians and kids. That seals the deal. Soon, Yuzuki arrives at Fu Prison, knowing she is not an official S-rank yet. Scaling the prison wall, she avoids direct combat and sneaks inside to locate the kids, knowing a head-on fight with an S-rank hunter would be suicide. And trust me, if she runs into an S-rank hunter, it is game over. Crawling through the vents, she wishes her partner was there to make this easy, but even with his wild skills, he has his limits. Reflecting on how much she has leveled up recently, Yuzuki peeks through a grate and freezes. Inside, she sees exhausted hostages guarded by a lone fighter casually resting his hand on a sword. She wonders what is happening. Just 10 minutes earlier, a sudden gunshot had sent the hostages into a panic, leaving the health minister pale after a bullet narrowly missed his head. The shooter laughs, admitting he always wanted to try that, before mocking the police for believing ordinary weapons could harm superpowered hunters like them. He admits it was a childhood dream to fire a gun, prompting his partner to ask why he did not just travel abroad. He dismisses it, saying it was just a hobby. Besides, shooting people in the countryside is off limits. His partner reminds him they were ordered not to kill anyone yet, but the shooter shrugs, claiming he just wanted to make a point. Spotting an open door, a crying girl decides to make a break for it. The gunman spots her immediately, coldly stating they are authorized to eliminate anyone who tries to escape. His partner suspects he let her run on purpose, and the shooter grins, confessing he always wanted to target a moving human. Meanwhile, the terrified girl runs for her life. Looking back, she sees her pursuers closing in. The gunman fires but misses completely, causing his partner to ask in disbelief if he had missed the minister on purpose too. He fires again, but the bullet just chips the wall, making him realize shooting is harder than it looks. The young girl continues to sprint in terror while shots keep missing. A stray bullet grazes her shoulder, sending her crashing down. But she desperately forces herself back up to keep running. Seeing this, the gunman laughs and begins to gloat. His partner warns him to finish her off quickly before she escapes and ruins everything. He raises his gun to fire, but clicks on an empty chamber. Finally, she reaches the exit door. Frustrated, he draws a dagger and charges, claiming close combat is more his style anyway. The terrified child freezes, but just as he closes in, the exit door swings wide open. Out of nowhere, our main guy Hiroto appears, telling her to duck. She dives as he slices the enemy clean in half. Now pay attention here, he is already planning to take out 7 more to hit 100. He smiles confidently, leaving the traumatized child completely speechless. Hiroto then cracks open a window and tosses her a healing potion, instructing her to drink it so she can recover immediately. Leaving the girl safe, Hiroto heads straight for the main holding area, catching the captors completely off guard as they scramble in confusion. Raising his hand, Hiroto unleashes sticky webs to bind the remaining guards. When they demand to know his identity, he proudly calls himself a hunter assassin who hunts bad guys, though one rebel still tries to threaten a child. Before he can finish his threat, a sharp blade pierces his skull. Hiroto notes they cannot complain once they are dead. Back in the present, a stunned Yuzuki watches this whole scene unfold. Spotting the webs, Yuzuki wonders if a monster is lurking nearby. She realizes the mysterious savior has already vanished, leaving her anxious about his identity despite recognizing his incredible combat prowess. Deciding to crawl out of the air duct, she turns around only to find herself nose to nose with an S-rank hunter named Hanazui, who is radiating pure hostility. This is a worst-case scenario. She never expected to encounter an S-rank opponent so early, but she quickly reasons that in a direct duel, she might actually stand a chance. He flashes a friendly grin and asks how she is doing. When he mentions hearing about an S-rank hunter joining the rebellion, she mockingly asks if he suddenly cares about political prison releases. Hanazui laughs it off, claiming nobody cares about politics anymore, which only makes her more curious about what his real motives are. He explains that because hunters normally only kill inside dungeons, he wanted to try doing it out in the open. She reminds him that murder is illegal anywhere, but he just mocks her strict morals. Hanazui wonders aloud if he will get in trouble for slaughtering a Kujo family member. He then revs up his signature weapon, a massive chainsaw, calling it an absolute classic. Yuzuki warns him she is not the same weakling she was a month ago. She is an S-rank candidate now. But suddenly, the boy lunges forward with blinding speed, catching her off guard. Hanazui lands a brutal kick that sends her crashing through the air. Revving his chainsaw, he declares the dismantling party has begun, while outside, soldiers wait helplessly in the darkness. A rebel climbs onto the roof, screaming demands for their allies to be freed. Another guard steps up with a megaphone to take over, relieving his partner whose throat is completely shot. His friend remarks that reaching a noble goal requires serious dedication before shouting into the microphone, demanding the immediate release of their captured comrades. Suddenly, a sticky web snags his back, dragging him backward. He screams as he is yanked down the stairwell like a cartoon character, waking up bruised and wondering what just hit him. He looks around and gasps, realizing his entire squad has been knocked out. In complete shock, he stammers, wondering how simple S-rank hunters could be defeated so easily. A voice tells him that they can fight for political freedom all they want, but dragging innocent people into their chaotic mess is completely unacceptable. Meanwhile, a grinning Hanazui asks a fleeing Yuzuki why she is getting dominated so easily. He calls her a weapon made by the system, but since she refused all assassination missions, she missed her chance to get stronger. And that is where we leave it. She really is the pickiest hunter around. Is she not? Alright, stick with me because this kid proudly admits to kidnapping 10 children, but Yuzuki would rather die than do that. Hearing that, the psycho cracks up, calling her interesting for throwing away her S-rank privilege, but she is losing a massive amount of blood right now. Hanazui just sneers, waiting for her to stop moving, noting she'd rather die than kill. Then he asks if she has ever heard of the dentist. He pulls out a surgical toolkit with absolutely no anesthesia. But right then, she spins around, activating her sword's power. She thinks this skill will boost her stats to epic levels, letting her end things before her body completely gives out. But the guy blocks it easily, mocking her weak attempt. With a wicked smile, he boasts he can handle it. Yuzuki feels a crushing pressure, wondering what this power even is until her sword suddenly shatters, leaving her completely defenseless. Things would be different if she accepted the system missions. Now she falls to her knees, completely stuck. Her twisted opponent laughs, searching his gear for a blood pack and stimulant. Hanazui mocks her, wondering if she will still look beautiful without her skin. But right as he finds his kit, a sudden blow strikes his neck, knocking him cold. Yuzuki is shocked. She asks who saved her. Hiroto thinks about how his system-made mask hides his identity. The recognition blocking is top-notch, but she still somehow recognizes her close friend. Hiroto is surprised, realizing he can't fool her. He removes his mask to reveal his face, while Murakami crosses the Tachikawa portal, commenting on the prison mutiny. He wonders if the Nejo family is behind this or if it is just a coincidence. Calling the Hunter Association, He says he will handle the prison incident alone, boasting that he is more than enough. Inside Fuchu Prison, Hiroto warns Yuzuki that the Demon King's hunters are incredibly dangerous. She understands his caution but wonders why he kept what happened with Moreno a complete secret. Hiroto explains a friend already got dragged down, and he refused to let her get hurt too. He just cannot carry this heavy burden alone anymore. Yuzuki asks if she should claim she handled the threat. Hiroto agrees it's best to keep a low profile, but she sighs, complaining that he is always thinking about himself. Suddenly, Murakami arrives, completely shocked to see Hanazui defeated, a top-tier hunter lying unconscious on the ground. Hiroto starts panicking, realizing this was definitely not part of his plan. Now watch closely because his brain is doing serious cartwheels here. He is desperately trying to figure out how he survived Cerberus, and now he is trapped in yet another mess. Yuzuki claims she stopped the mutiny solo. Murakami is surprised, asking if head office sent her. She nods, and Murakami grows deeply curious about how she managed it. Then he notices Hiroto. Yuzuki claims he is just an F-rank hunter she brought along for communications and helping hostages escape because of the absolute urgency. He admits her power, explains Hanazui's defeat, but warns that bringing a weakling is highly risky. She just grins, saying Hiroto volunteered with zero pressure. Murakami mentions hearing wild rumors about her dungeon runs. Hiroto breathes a sigh of relief, realizing the top hunter did not recognize him this time. But as Murakami suggests, leaving the scene to the police, Hiroto suddenly makes a move, which the speedster dodges instantly, warning that things are about to get physical. He demands to know if Hiroto defeated Cerberus and why he is hiding as an F rank. Yuzuki is baffled by the sudden clash, but Murakami claims he has his reasons. He points out Yuzuki could not have beaten Hanazui alone. He questions why Hiroto is hiding his power when everyone knows what happened back in the Tachikawa dungeon. Disappointed by the lies, Murakami demands a full checkup to uncover the truth. Hiroto whips out his sword, knowing he cannot let this slide or risk his cover being blown. Murakami is insistent, but Hiroto knows his power is far beyond S rank. An official association evaluation would completely destroy his secret identity. All his effort to avoid the Demon King's gaze would be wasted. When Hiroto asks what happens if he refuses, Murakami warns that he has no problem using force. You and I both saw his insane speed coming, right? Murakami completely vanishes, forcing Hiroto to dodge like crazy. Hiroto tries striking back, but Murakami blocks it effortlessly, genuinely surprised by the counter. Yuzuki stands completely frozen, mind-blown by the absurd speed. Hiroto shoots web silk to trap his opponent, but Murakami dodges like a seasoned pro, impressed by the moves. Slicing the silk away, Murakami calls his power strange but too slow. Suddenly, massive vines shoot from Hiroto's back in a desperate bid to stop him. Murakami prepares his ultimate strike to end this battle. Hiroto realizes the top ranker is not holding back anymore, but as Murakami charges with insane speed, the kid suddenly vanishes right before his eyes. Hiroto unleashes his epic stealth technique, creating multiple clones while completely masking his presence. Murakami quickly notes how dangerous this combination truly is. Unable to sense his opponent, Murakami relies on his god of speed skill. He unleashes a devastating wide-range attack, instantly slicing all the sneaky clones in half. Anything close gets completely shredded by this simple yet devastating power. Caught in the radius, the real Hiroto takes a hit, proving why Murakami is at the top. Yuzuki watches, completely unsurprised by the raw power of the nation's fourth-ranked hunter. Even without locating his target, Murakami's area attacks ensure a hit every single time. With no other option, Hiroto activates his green energy skill, Phoenix Return. The healing aura wraps around his body just as Murakami gears up to strike again. He senses something is off because Hiroto looks completely unharmed despite the previous clash. This S-rank beast is no joke, and Hiroto is sweating bullets, wondering what comes next. Murakami knows he cannot win while holding back, but fears overdoing it. Meanwhile, Hiroto prepares his Morning Star technique, both realizing they must go all out. They are ready to clash at full power, but Yuzuki suddenly screams for them to stop, successfully breaking the intense tension between them. Referencing the Tachikawa incident, she explains they must cooperate against the Demon King's hunters. She points out that despite his F-rank status, his unique window viewing ability makes him a vital ally. With rumors swirling about this new generation of hunters, Hiroto asks if this is finally enough of an explanation for him. Murakami admits the Hunter Association has records of similar E and F-rank cases. When Hiroto asks what happened to those individuals, Murakami grimly reveals that none of them survived. They fled despite association protection efforts, and even President Oyama could only confirm they had interface windows and strange powers before they vanished completely, leaving absolutely zero trace behind for anyone to find. Rumor has it the Kyoto Kujo family knows their names, while Yuzuki apologizes for not having more information. Murakami does not care about her Kujo connection since they are already rivals. He notes that Hiroto's involvement in Tachikawa would likely be framed as treason anyway. He admits he prefers working outside the restrictive rules of the association, believing their methods would only limit Hiroto's immense potential. So, what do you and I make of this? After witnessing Hiroto's power, Murakami straight up invites him to join the Scythe of Death, one of the top guilds around. The real action begins now. Alright, you and I are about to dive into one of the wildest hunter stories. To Hiroto, this proposal sounds sweet, but he rejects it anyway, leaving Murakami stunned. Either way, Hiroto confirms he is still joining the dungeon raid, while Murakami promises to keep everything quiet. Our main character just turns around and walks off, leaving his buddy standing there super curious. In the end, he realizes his strength is only at a top-tier hunter level. With his current gear, he cannot fully defend himself, but taking on these brutal challenges has been totally worth it. His old habit of running away ends tonight. Once he clears the next stage, it is time to strike back. Right now, over in the Nagata district of Tokyo, he is chilling on an abandoned rooftop. Hiroto senses what is coming. The behemoth, the guardian of this zone, is radiating pure monster energy, but he is not some kind of superhero or a pilot with a giant mech. So, running for his life is usually his style. Too bad that is not an option anymore because his mission is forcing him right into the Nagata district, which is a strictly quarantined dead zone. This place is incredibly dangerous, and Hiroto has absolutely zero backup. Still, his goal is to head straight for the entrance, bypass the massive boss, and slip inside to clear the mission. Up ahead lies the Tachikawa dungeon, known as the largest and most terrifying dungeon in the entire country. Right now, almost all the top-tier S-class hunters are preparing for a massive raid down below. But even though this zone is called the toughest, that ranking completely ignores the 7 legendary progenitors who rule from the shadows. Years ago, powerful S-class hunters from around the globe tried to conquer these progenitor dungeons, but not a single warrior could even scratch the guardians at the gates. The only success came when elite hunters pooled their strength, tempted by billions in rewards. Only the United States pulled off the coordination needed to defeat a guardian and explore the dungeon. But what happened to those survivors is a completely different nightmare. Back in Japan, even with multiple S-class fighters, their massive attempt to raid the guardian failed miserably. Meanwhile, over at the base camp, a frantic officer slams the table, screaming about some rogue intruder trying to solo the Nagata district. Back then, plenty of fools wanted cheap fame. But those days are gone. A young analyst asks the chief how to handle this, but knowing even the strongest fighters would die, they decide to leave the intruder behind. Pay attention here because the young guy cannot believe this boss cannot be soloed, but the president warns it would take at least 2 top 5 fighters plus 5 S-class hunters, with massive backup. Hearing this, the young recruit breaks out in a cold sweat. Honestly, that is exactly why nobody besides America has dared to attempt it. And now, this rogue intruder is making things 10 times worse. Even without a word, Murakami completely agrees with the chief. He remembers the brave warriors from the past, but realizes everyone now knows just how suicidal this mission really is. Finally, seeing his associate completely lost in thought, the president calls out to him, and a crazy idea suddenly flashes in his mind. When it comes to taking down this Nagata guardian, our hero has studied every single failed raid like a pro. Standing 50 meters tall, this massive beast is a nightmare to fight without 5 S-class elites. Yet, the one stepping onto the battlefield is just a single man. Hiroto has been preparing for months, ready to slay this monster. His combat stats are maxed, and his stance is flawless. He has cleared every dungeon in sight, absorbing insane stats with his Devourer ability. But he has hit the absolute limit, and unlocking his level cap is the only path left. He has done everything humanly possible, and his promise to keep moving forward reminds him that retreat is not an option. Eyes locked on the giant guardian, he is finally ready to spark this war. At first glance, the monster seems slow and brainless, but in a split second, the raw terror of its true power suddenly hits him like a truck. Hiroto sprints through the ruined concrete streets, searching for any opening. He casts a magic thread to bind the monster's arm, but it only gives away his exact position. Knowing he needs to regroup, Hiroto ducks inside a ruined building. But the giant stomps down, trying to bury him alive in a wave of concrete. Huge debris smashes through the ceiling as he curses. Our boy is running like crazy, but then, he unsheathes his blade to fight back, easily cutting down any falling rubble before it can crush him. The Guardian bursts through the building walls, wildly charging at the first sign of movement. But suddenly, it freezes as its massive legs are completely bound by the magical threads. I know what you were thinking, did he really trap him? Yes. Our hero literally spent 3 days wrapping the entire building in magical webs, so this beast is not going anywhere. But if he does not move fast, the monster will break loose and ruin everything. Activating his purgatory chains and binding ropes, he unleashes every sealing skill in his arsenal. All his locking skills hit peak efficiency, merging together into an ultimate domain prison. The massive beast is completely pinned down, its limbs absolutely locked in place. Historically, elite strike teams always prioritize binding the legs first. However, the crushing counterattacks they faced were so brutal that they always ended up retreating in pure terror. Determined to avoid their mistakes, our main character sprints forward to deliver the final blow. He drives his sword deep into the beast's thick armor. But against a giant, his blade looks like a mere toothpick. Even restricted, the boss thrashes around with terrifying rage. No wonder those S-class rating parties ran for their lives. To counter this, Hiroto triggers his phantom clones to confuse the beast. Next, he infuses toxic, corruptive curses into a deadly mixture, forming an ultimate poison. This lethal cocktail bypasses its outer defenses by attacking the beast directly from the inside. The venom condenses into a tiny orb that the monster swallows in its confusion. Once it is ingested, Hiroto leaps back. External poison barely scratched its hide, but forcing it inside, total game changer. The epic strategy works as the poison activates, making the beast roar in agonizing pain. Its screeching is deafening, and it crashes heavily to the floor after struggling wildly. He thinks he just has to wait for the poison to finish it off, but the giant neck starts to swell. Suddenly, the massive prison shatters to pieces along with his hope, as the monster rises again. But Hiroto does not just stand there, instantly firing a back attack spell. He leaps above the enemy, activating gravity magic to weigh the monster down. Crushing its legs under intense pressure was the right call, as its limbs struggle to support its massive weight. The monster's eyes glow with absolute fury. Our hero can tell it is completely baffled by how a tiny human is giving it such a brutal fight. But his main goal was always to defeat it. If this final plan fails, he is fully prepared to retreat. However, the monster is not done and begins gathering dense magical energy inside its gaping maw. It fires a devastating energy beam that completely vaporizes the surrounding streets. Hiroto knows that taking this hit directly means instant death. He counters by channeling his sword's divine skill, activating his breaking limits ability. If he loses this clash of power, he will be reduced to pure ash. Pouring every ounce of willpower into his sword, he overpowers the beast's laser with an even stronger force. The blade's slash slowly pushes forward, cleanly slicing the giant's neck and bringing it down. And that is where we leave it, with a victorious but exhausted hero. At least, that is what he thinks, until the monster's hand suddenly twitches and reaches out to crush him. Alright, you and I are diving right into the action, where even a headless monster is still thrashing around. In a flash, our hero dodges, but another massive hand gets way too close for comfort. Unfortunately, that brutal attack connects since he was caught off guard, sending him flying. The blood pouring out makes it instantly clear to Hiroto that this wound is absolutely deadly. Sharp debris has pierced right through him, forcing him to trigger his Phoenix Rebirth skill to extract the shrapnel and heal. Just one single blow almost put our hero down for good, but he had already exhausted his best moves, and Phoenix Rebirth can only be used once a day. With no energy left for divine annihilation, Hiroto was completely cornered. His heart is pounding like crazy as the monster gears up for another round. Hiroto braces for the absolute worst, but out of nowhere, the Guardian finally collapses for good, triggering his gluttony skill and granting him an incredible boost to his resistance stats. With his level cap officially broken, the beast's final desperate struggle was completely in vain. Still, the battle has left Hiroto absolutely exhausted. Suddenly, a flood of notification windows begins flashing before his eyes. The system is going wild with level ups and stat boosts raining down like confetti, celebrating his victory over the strongest S-class threats in the entire nation. After a while, the hype fades into pure confusion as the pop-ups just keep appearing. He realizes all those stored experience points are finally converting into massive levels. There is no telling how far this level up spree will go. Suddenly, he notices his base stats are nearly maxed out, soaring straight through the roof. It reminds him of an old game where a weak character became overpowered in seconds. He has witnessed some crazy power-ups before, but nothing quite like this. It is totally insane. He starts to wonder if this Demon King application is specifically tailored for underdogs. Over at the Tachikawa camp, rumors about the Guardian's sudden defeat spread like wildfire. Murakami is highly skeptical, and already has a primary suspect in mind. The president is curious, but a soldier claims only some mysterious hero could pull this off. The president is shocked and a bit annoyed that they prepared sacrifices only for some random person to breeze through. If the new gen is behind this, their reputation is toast. But pay attention here, because Murakami doubts this was a solo job. He reminds the president that breaking the association's non-interference rule would completely flip the script and put the new gen under their thumb. At that exact moment over at the Black Dragon Fang Guild, Yuzuki is walking around when breaking news flashes on screen. Reporters are frantically announcing the discovery of the dead guardian. This is a massive deal, unseen since the incident in the United States. It is a legendary victory, yet no guild is claiming credit and the association remains completely silent. Even the media analysts cannot crack this mystery. But for Yuzuki, there is zero doubt about who wrecked the Guardian, because her heart is screaming Hiroto's name. Back at the Hunter Association headquarters, a mysterious guy with a suspicious vibe walks right in. He hands his guild card to the receptionist, who gets totally thrown off by his rank C status and age of 26. Her gut tells her this guy does not fit the description at all. Assuming it is a fake identification card, she laments how the association is slumping while the new gen dominates the dungeons. Deciding not to call him out, she accepts the card and simply asks which raid he is joining. Hiroto casually replies that he is heading to Tachikawa, the absolute deadliest dungeon where only elite hunters dare to go. Even though low-rank porters are needed, nobody wants to risk it. Her conscience makes her worry about why a rank C hunter would go there, but our hero does not care at all. He promised Yuzuki and Murakami that he would join this raid. Besides, without conquering high-tier dungeons, Hiroto cannot level up anymore. Meanwhile, the camp near the Tachikawa dungeon seems totally quiet. However, Hiroto is busy sneaking around inside. He is actually stressing over his insane power boost, but since his dexterity rose alongside his off-the-charts strength, he manages just fine. Suddenly, a random hunter approaches, mocking him for being a mere rank C and roasting the weird mask he is wearing. He arrogantly claims he has seen plenty of weak posers try to hide their faces. With a sneer, the elite makes it clear that rookies are absolutely not welcome here, noting that even rank B hunters are treated like garbage. He warns that low-level players are just a massive nuisance. Pointing toward the front lines, he shows off the vanguard clearing the path ahead. Those are the real big shots of the guild, the legendary rank S hunters. The main squad boasts 2 rank S powerhouses and 1 rank A. With their epic abilities, they make a masked coward look like a complete joke. He proudly boasts that he is the elite rank A in that very group. But Murakami completely steals the spotlight, cutting off the conversation. He walks up to announce their strategy meeting, warning that the deep raid begins in just 2 hours. Now, you and I both know who Murakami is referring to, but the arrogant hunter is absolutely shocked to realize it is the masked rookie. Keeping a low profile, Hiroto just goes with the flow. The hunter is left wondering why Murakami chose this porter, assuming it must be blatant nepotism. But Yuzuki catches his jealous stare and shoots back a death glare that sends chills down his spine. Hiroto asks if Murakami was told to bring him along. It is no surprise since the leader admitted they desperately need his raw strength, making Hiroto wonder how the boss evaluated him during their past clash. Murakami simply viewed him as a monster. Since Hiroto's stats have literally doubled, he is not worried about losing anymore. Still, he must stay sharp since he might face an entire horde of enemies. Murakami confirms that President Owamata will be fighting on the front lines. For Hiroto, this dungeon run is the perfect chance to evaluate rank S powers and measure his own growth. Suddenly, a shadow beast emerges alongside a horde of vampire-like creatures. Murakami identifies them as liches and red-eyed vampires, all high-level monsters that spell serious trouble. That arrogant rank a rookie tags along anyway, desperate to prove his worth. He aims to take down at least 2 monsters, but something suddenly snags his ankle, and a vampire appears right before his eyes. A massive slash tears across his back with 0 time to dodge, leaving the others horrified. While some yell that reckless behavior gets you killed, Murakami quickly realizes there is a much bigger problem here. Even a surprise strike should not take out a hunter so easily. These creatures clearly possess power equivalent to rank S beasts, meaning our hero might have to adjust his strategy. This might be the perfect opportunity to test his newly boosted power. The active hunters step forward to clash, while Hiroto stays back to keep his true strength hidden from the crowd. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, a mysterious young man pulls a special card from his coat. The Kujo family has fully rigged this dungeon, ensuring Yuzuki will not die by forcing the monsters to pause if she gets close. He is terrified of crossing the powerful Kujo family since their ability to control dungeon beasts from afar is insane. To him, working with them feels like an absolute blessing. The real danger is the sudden spike in dungeon difficulty. Even an elite like Murakami is bound to be caught off guard as the vampires launch their coordinated assault on the raid team. A vampire lunges at Yuzuki with an incredibly powerful punch. Though clearly worried, she manages to kick the beast back with epic style, but physical exhaustion is quickly starting to take its toll. An elder vampire is normally a match for an elite rank B hunter, yet it is easily holding its own against rank S powers like Ishizuka and Yuzuki. Nearby, a rank A hunter tries a standard attack, only for the beast to vanish and reappear right behind him. Luckily, a shield tank swoops in to absorb the damage. Behind them, a mage raises his staff to cast a devastating fire spell, unleashing an explosion so massive it shakes the entire cavern. Yet, they only manage to sever a single arm. Shockingly, the limb regenerates instantly like a lizard tail. 11 elite rank, hunters are currently getting completely overwhelmed by just 2 monsters. And trust me, you and I are about to see their biggest mistake as they attempt a double sneak attack on the squad leader. Alright, you and I are about to watch Murakami prove his nickname is the real deal. He chops these vampires up like fruit salad. The hunters expected it, but the monsters never saw it coming. Even Yuzuki thought it would take more than one slice. With Murakami joining the fight, the tide completely turns, showing everyone why he is one of the nation's absolute best. Locking in, he roars that they cannot let another single person die here today. So, he orders all rank A hunters to retreat, sending everyone packing except for Yuzuki. Meanwhile, Hiroto wonders if Murakami has already picked up on the exact same danger he has, especially since his eyes, locked on the monster's stats, realize at least 20 more beasts are heading their way. It looks like a terrifying lich is the mastermind behind this entire monster parade. Wielding a massive scythe, the lich swings it like a horror movie villain, giving our hero major creeps. One swing unleashes a deadly blast of light, and Hiroto knows that taking a direct hit means instant death. The blast charges straight for a huntress, but Hiroto dives in to save her just in time. She thanks him quickly, but there is no time to talk. Soon, after escaping, healers patch up their wounds. Hiroto sits alone, lost in his thoughts. Murakami walks over to thank him for stopping another tragedy, admitting he never planned to leave him behind. Sensing a shift in the air, the hero asks him a serious question. During their clash, Murakami claimed he was holding back, so Hiroto asks if he is finally playing for keeps now. Sadly, Murakami nods and admits that is exactly the case. Overhearing this, Yuzuki asks her boss for their next move. The monster's power is completely off the charts, prompting Murakami to order a full retreat. They both agree, but they need Hiroto's input, who has suddenly gone missing. By this point, Hiroto has already bolted far from their hideout. Convinced the squad cannot handle these beasts, he heads straight to the nest alone. Skipping the small talk entirely, he charges directly at the lich. Blade in hand, he cuts down everything in his path, proving that going solo is the ultimate move. Vampires try to surround him, but he carves them up like paper. One monster tries the same sneak attack that previously took down a high-ranking hunter, but gets split in half. With his scythe ready, the lich unleashes an aerial slash, but Hiroto is prepared. Dodging effortlessly, he mocks the beast for recycling its moves. Next, he activates his spiderweb skill to snare the entire crowd since they have no idea what he can do. Meanwhile, far from the chaos of the Tachikawa dungeon, a woman calmly sips her tea. Suddenly, she is interrupted as a strange black crow lands right in front of her. She complains that a cafe in Daikanyama is a terrible place for spying, but the crow reminds her they are always watching. She tells her feathered stalker to find a better hobby. But to the crow, she is a massive threat, so her wishes do not matter one bit. Now pay attention to this. Even with an unfinished application, she has the power to surpass the master himself. She tells the crow to relax, promising she will not fight, before asking what is happening over in Tachikawa. The crow reveals that the dungeon is ground zero for their secret experiments, and a failure means years of work wasted. But looking at the crow, she clearly does not care if the project succeeds or fails. She casually asks if she will get in trouble for harboring rebellious thoughts. Besides, even if things go wrong, as long as they secure the next generation, Nagatacho will remain completely safe. The true purpose of these dangerous experiments was to control the abyss at will. But above all else, one goal remains paramount: gaining absolute mastery over the entire dungeon system. Meaning, they want to control the monsters inside, giving them a massive advantage over other nations. Eventually, this technology will become a power strong enough to rule the entire world. This is the ultimate play to elevate the Kuju family's massive influence. So, despite being held for this very purpose, the girl calmly tells the crow she will just play along. Back on the battlefield, a pile of monsters lie defeated, and the lone survivor begins shaking in its boots. Hiroto tells the beast it just had terrible luck, as he wants to test his limits. For this next round, he decides to fight using only his basic stats. He dares the vampire to bring its best, but his aura is so overwhelmingly intense that it freezes the beast. Naturally, the monster eventually snaps out of it and lunges at him. It unleashes its ultimate attack to crush our hero in a single strike. But as it speeds past, the damage instantly reflects back on itself, and it collapses. Hiroto wins without even swinging his sword. Okay, I know what you were thinking, he is clearly the strongest guy here, right? But then Murakami and Yuzuki show up, and neither can believe Hiroto wiped out all these high-level monsters completely solo. Hiroto casually admits to it without acting mysterious, leaving his allies completely stunned. Still, looking around, Murakami notes that these enemies do not seem as enhanced as the previous ones they fought. Even so, he finds it wild that Hiroto did not get overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Plus, examining the wounds, he notices most of them were cleanly sliced in a single strike. Murakami realizes the kid's incredible power was never just a fluke. He declares that Hiroto's abilities go way beyond rank A, reaching straight into rank S territory. But Yuzuki views the situation very differently. Her boss thinks the enemies were weaker. But what if they were just as strong? Even for a top-tier hunter like Murakami, taking down this many buff monsters solo would be an impossible task. Yuzuki gets literal chills just imagining how powerful Hiroto actually is. What they are seeing defies all logic, so she cannot blame her boss for jumping to such unbelievable conclusions. Snapping out of it, Murakami calls the boy a true prodigy and asks him once again to join his guild. Just like before, our hero declines, making the veteran hunter laugh at being rejected twice. Still, Murakami warns him that whether he is chasing girls or recruiting top talent, he never gives up. Hiroto smiles, knowing that if he ever does join a guild, it will definitely be this one. With that, they shake hands on the deal. Later, a glasses-wearing young man informs the president that Murakami survived. Furthermore, they both know the supposed rank C hunter was running around in a mask with a fake identity. To make matters worse, official testing registers his active skills at mere rank F. The higher-ups can barely believe Murakami would be sloppy enough to give such a massive liability a prime spot. The young assistant quickly notes that despite the large size of the raid group, S-rank hunters were scarce. However, regardless of the circumstances, it was still an incredibly reckless decision. The president points out that Murakami also brought Yuzuki along on this mission, but since her official rank is S-class, the assistant agrees that her inclusion is not a problem. Either way, Murakami's choices look like clear favoritism. Joining the Tachikawa strike team boosts a hunter's reputation instantly, especially if they have the looks to match. The assistant jokingly suggests that maybe Murakami just has a preference for handsome young boys. But Oyama immediately shuts her down, warning her not to make such inappropriate jokes. Still, the young man remains concerned that Murakami placed an apparent weakling on the front line. Now, all three elite squads must descend into the dungeon to fight alongside them. The assistant warns that weakening their main defense is like poking a hornet's nest, but Oyama remains silent, lost in thought. Despite pressure from the Kuju family and the government, Murakami only cares about true strength and results. Oyama has no issues with his old friend, but he is incredibly curious about the truth behind this weird recruitment. Flashback to camp, where our hero asks why he is on this elite squad. Naturally, everyone is completely stunned. It turns out a deal was already made. To level up quickly, our hero must clear these brutal dungeons and study S-rank skills to become truly unstoppable. Having the freedom to unleash his real power would make things much easier. But Hiroto has a different plan. He wants to keep things totally quiet and low-key. He straight up asks Murakami to keep his name out of the spotlight. But Murakami already knows too much. Seeing Hiroto's incredible talent, he is deeply curious about the kid's past, though he decides not to pry too deep. Murakami wants to unleash his potential. If he shines, he won't just get fame, and trust me, you and I are about to watch him become a total legend. You and I are diving into a world where power is everything, and joining Murakami's guild is a major win-win. But Herodoto is not buying the idea that Murakami is just a merciful leader. Ever since he got that mysterious app, he has lost a lot, but gained an instinct for sniffing out lies. He is still hesitant to join, wondering if he even belongs in this guild. While other squads only take official members, Murakami is completely open to newcomers. Since his guild is not top tier, finding elite S-rank hunters is incredibly rare. That is why Murakami wants our hero so badly. But during the big lineup reveal, his squad gets shoved right to the back. Furious, Murakami immediately calls out Dido for this disrespect. Turns out, they discover the kid on the team was using a fake ID. Dido defends his choice, claiming he cannot trust sketchy rookies on such a dangerous mission. Because of that, only Murakami and Oyama's squads are benched. Hiroto worriedly asks if he should just leave, but Murakami tells him to stay, wondering if Daido is just playing games. Daido just laughs, bringing up nasty rumors about why Murakami chose this kid. Of course, Daido does not believe them, joking that simply kicking the rookie out would end all the drama. Laughing, Daido teases Murakami for looking so soft. Before leaving, he mockingly tells our hero to do his best, since even weaklings should try not to drag the team down. Walking away, Daido smiles, realizing this drama is his perfect excuse. He successfully kept Oyama's squad separated from Murakami's. If they teamed up, Murakami would have absolutely crushed the monsters too early. Now, Daido has a sinister plan to trigger total chaos and wipe them out to please the Kujo family. And with that, the Tachikawa dungeon raid officially begins. Even though this is a highly dangerous zone, the country's elite hunters are keeping it organized. No elite monsters have spawned yet, and the healers are quickly patching up any minor injuries. Now here is where you and I need to pay close attention. Having cleared the path easily, they find the boss room ahead of schedule. As Daido's squad struts inside, Murakami is ordered to stay behind as backup. Their job is to keep watch and stop any monsters from entering. Murakami tries to stay positive, claiming backup duty is just as crucial. Not quite. While the dungeon boss is the lifeless king, his dangerous sidekick, Carmela, Queen of the Night, is reportedly lurking nearby. Our hero doubts she will show up, but he still feels a heavy sense of guilt for just standing around. Even though Hiroto only has an F rank rating, his allies completely look down on him. Murakami thinks that is their biggest mistake. Naturally, the guild is dying to see Hiroto in action. While the others assume the vanguard squads can handle the boss, Murakami notices Hiroto is quietly worried about Yuzuki. The hero reveals they are childhood friends, leaving everyone stunned by the connection. Hiroto asks again if they are safe, and Murakami reassures him, though he admits things will get messy if the boss is powerful. They had defeated a wave of undead, but none were actually strong. Since the hero feels no immediate danger, he tries to relax. Murakami apologizes for the stress, but Hiroto quickly brushes it off. Still, the hunter is disappointed. He really wanted to see everyone's jaw drop when the hero revealed his true strength. That kind of power would bring major fame to their guild. Suddenly, the hero's senses spike as a terrifying aura emerges from the gate. This is not some normal monster, it is a disaster-level threat. Terrified for his childhood friend, Hiroto begins to tremble. He turns to Murakami, begging to be led into the boss room, even if he has to go alone. Lacking proof, he can only blame his gut. Murakami figures he is just being emotional and rejects the request. Hiroto is actually tracking the boss's status, but since he cannot explain the system, he has to play dumb. Fortunately, Murakami is not a heartless leader. But before they can act, a dark figure blocks their path. Carmela appears, challenging them to a duel. Rumors say this Shadow Queen possesses strength equal to Murakami himself. Murakami apologizes to Hiroto, knowing they must work together to survive this threat. But instead of waiting, Hiroto draws his sword and charges directly at the queen, completely catching her off guard. You saw that too, right? In one single motion, he slices her in half like paper, clearing the path. Murakami is frozen in shock, and for the first time, pure fear sets in. Inside the boss room, chaos has already broken out as Hiroto and Murakami sprint toward the chamber. Murakami is desperately panting, completely unable to keep pace with the hero's unbelievable speed. The rest of the squad is left in the dust. Sensing immediate danger, the hero tells Murakami he is going on ahead alone. In a flash, he vanishes, proving he was still holding back. Feeling like a snail compared to Hiroto, Murakami recalls how effortlessly the boy destroyed Carmela. If the public ever finds out about this kid's strength, the entire hunter system will be turned upside down. Instead of fear, Murakami feels a sudden rush of hope for what is to come. But inside the boss chamber, a crushing weight falls over the squads as the king of the undead rises a triple S-rank nightmare. Imagine this, these elite, S-rank hunters are completely terrified and running for their lives from this absolute titan. But the boss is not about to let them escape that easily. It lunges forward to strike, but boom. Out of nowhere, a massive burst of flame slams directly into the beast's face like a meteor. As the fire dies down, it retreats back to its caster. That is the guild president's signature spell, and he is absolutely furious at the rookies for fleeing. He unleashes a raging fire tornado, engulfing the giant beast. But the monster is not done. It slowly steps out of the flames, firing a massive energy blast right at its own feet to clear the smoke. This undead king has insane regeneration abilities. Unfazed, the president charges forward to obliterate the boss once and for all. Their clash is incredibly violent, shaking the very cavern, but the president takes a heavy hit and begins to bleed. Just in time, reinforcements arrive to freeze the monster's legs. Even though Oyama hates Daido's attitude, their combined fire and ice powers are an absolute cheat code against this king. The president realizes that if they can shatter the monster and incinerate it completely, it will not regenerate. Meanwhile, Yuki is watching the two veterans with deep respect. Despite their constant bickering, these legends work flawlessly as a team. But right after they defeat the beast, Daido drops a dark threat, telling the president it is time to say goodbye. Daido acts remorseful, but the president is confused, asking if he is retiring. Daido just grins and says, "Pretty much." With a sudden snap, he unleashes thick, black smoke across the entire floor. He warns them that the boss was never the real danger, revealing that they have created an army of 50 highly enhanced vampire beasts. The vampires swarm Yuki, who remembers Murakami's warning about these buff monsters. Tatsuya screams a warning, but one of the beasts is already closing in from behind. Yuki is heavily injured but still breathing as the horde surrounds his allies. The situation turns desperate as the monsters lock onto Yuki to finish him. Oyama screams for his men while defending himself. Though overwhelmed, the president fights back with a heavy strike. Even his legendary strength is barely scratching them, but his rising rage only fuels his magical power further. Refusing to be looked down on, he obliterates a vampire in anger. Oyama calculates he can take 5 of these beasts, maybe 10 with a miracle, but there are just too many. Yuzuki panics. She realizes they will not survive this. Desperate, Oyama demands answers from Daido. Daido just smiles, asking if they have ever heard of a Shikami, an elite class of monster tamer. These tamers can control and buff monsters, a dark secret of the Kujo family. And that is where we leave things with a trap so massive, it will change everything. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a massive hunter conspiracy. Once Daido spills the beans, everything clicks. The old generation hunters were targeting the Kujo family. But does the girl know anything? She cannot believe Daido is doing this. Meanwhile, Daido claims the president is finished, but Oyama is not buying his threats. Either way, things are about to get absolutely chaotic. Daido rallies his vampire squad, ordering them to execute everyone except the president and the girl. It turns out he has held a grudge against Oyama for years, all because of that smug face. Things look grim, but then Yuzuki receives confirmation of her worst fears. Suddenly, there is a glimmer of hope as Yoda finally steps onto the battlefield, ready to rumble and turn the tide. The president spots Hiroto and asks if Murakami is with him, but Hiroto shakes his head, leaving them completely confused. Oyama immediately wonders if Carmela has arrived instead. Those cowards ran away fast. Daido just sneers, claiming even Murakami's arrival will change nothing. He ends his chat with the president and warns Yuzuki he has plans for her once the dust settles. The Kujo family gave him a free pass to do whatever he wanted. Yuzuki is reeling because the Daido she once knew was a heroic guy who fought monsters, not this villain. But Daido laughs and admits he only hired her because his crew thought she was cute. He was only being nice to get with her, and now he feels totally liberated. He is finally showing his true colors, thanks to the Kujo family backing him up. For a monster like him, this is pure fun. Yuzuki is frozen in shock by his words, but that shock quickly turns to hatred. Now pay attention here just as Daido starts boasting about his wicked plans. Hiroto steps in with a question that catches him off guard. Daido sneers, curious about what this weakling has to say. Hiroto calmly mentions the rule of the strongest. Then, before anyone can even blink, he obliterates the elite vampires in one single strike. He unleashes fully maxed out divine annihilation. As the dust clears, Hiroto asks if this is what Daido meant by strength. Daido is speechless after 50 S-rank vampires got completely crushed. They were not just defeated, they were shredded like paper. It is humiliating. Left with no choice, the mind-controlled monsters charge. Even though they are terrified, they march to their doom anyway. The weak, low-rank hunter is gone, replaced by a godlike figure. Oyama's mind is blown, questioning if such a monster even exists. He wonders if the world can even handle this level of power. Daido is losing his mind, screaming for answers. Meanwhile, Hiroto checks on Yuzuki, who is standing there completely stunned. When she snaps back, he quickly assesses the situation. All the S-rank allies are down, except Oyama, and she nods. Hiroto realizes he has no more reason to hide, so he finally discards his mask. Showing his real strength to the association is crucial now that he is powerful enough. He calmly introduces himself as Hiroto Ima, the F-rank hunter. Gripping his sword, he blitzes through the remaining monsters. Daido watches his forces get demolished, realizing he is next. Within seconds, Hiroto looms above him, bringing absolute dread. But Hiroto remembers that killing humans inside a dungeon is forbidden. Still, to prevent any future casualties, he must act. Daido hopes to survive, but Hiroto's blade strikes down without a shred of mercy. The strike leaves absolutely no trace behind, making it impossible to prove who actually did it. After all this madness settles, Oyama takes a deep, heavy breath, realizing he is caught in an insane plot twist. Suddenly, the president hears his name. Murakami finally arrives on the scene, panting like he just ran a full marathon. Seeing the empty battlefield, Murakami asks if Hiroto cleared all those monsters alone. The hero nods, but Murakami is left wondering what they do now, especially after Hiroto flexed such godlike power in front of them. Murakami warns Hiroto that keeping a low profile is no longer an option, but the hero just smiles and agrees. That is his plan, as long as he gets access to high-tier dungeons. Now, I know what you are thinking. Which guild is he joining? Oyama immediately asks, but Murakami keeps him guessing, leaving the president wanting Hiroto even more. So, Murakami suggests attempting to recruit him. Oyama admits he always viewed himself as a top-tier beast, but after witnessing Hiroto's terrifying power, he knows this guy cannot be ordered around by anyone. Yuzuki is shocked that the force-obsessed president is acting so calm. With just one incredible battle, the hero earned the guild leader's respect and forced everyone to admit he cannot be controlled. Still, due to his position, Oyama warns that a re-evaluation of Hiroto's rank is mandatory. The president believes keeping such an insane powerhouse hidden from the public is a massive loss for everyone. Japan needs Hiroto as a trump card to elevate their global standing. Yuzuki wonders if his power is truly that revolutionary, but after witnessing the fight, even doubting it feels ridiculous. Fortunately, Oyama trusts Murakami's judgment and senses zero bad intentions from Hiroto. After thinking it over, the president offers a deal to align against the new generation hunters and the Kujo family. He agrees to announce Hiroto's existence, but only by introducing him as the absolute strongest among all S-rank hunters. Everyone reacts differently to this wild announcement. Yuzuki knows the fight was legendary, but since she cannot even comprehend his true limits, she wonders if he is ready for such a massive title. Hiroto wonders if being called number one is a bit too much, but Oyama insists his true power cannot be contained by Japan alone. Based on his years of experience, Oyama knows he is right. While the official paperwork is being processed, the president uses his massive influence to formally recognize and praise the young hero. So with a single handshake, Hiroto officially becomes Japan's newest S-rank hunter, and it is not long before he faces a fresh battle inside the Nagatacho dungeon. Deep within a dark chamber, cultists gather to perform a sinister ritual. Everything goes according to plan as a young female sacrifice is placed right at the center of a mysterious magic circle. Meanwhile, a luxury hotel in the capital has a new guest. Hiroto wakes up in his massive room, trying to get used to an environment that feels way too fancy for his simple lifestyle. After getting ready, he puts on his suit to visit the association, marking his very first day as an official S-rank hunter. At the association lobby, a massive misunderstanding occurs when the receptionist realizes an F-rank hunter is requesting a private meeting with President Oyama. Done with hiding his true identity, Hiroto explains he is here for a rank promotion today. Since she was not notified, she asks what rank he expects. When he calmly says S-class, she is completely taken aback. But once it sinks in, she bursts out laughing. She tries to keep her composure, telling him to stop joking. He does not even need to argue because Murakami suddenly arrives and greets him. Seeing Japan's fourth-rank hunter chatting so casually with him, she wonders who this young guy actually is, realizing she made a massive mistake by treating him so disrespectfully. Murakami and Oyama approach, chatting with Hiroto like they are old friends. The receptionist completely panics, thinking she might lose her job. These powerhouses are incredibly friendly with our protagonist. Oyama calls her over, and she nearly jumps out of her skin. When they request the VIP room, the terrified girl stammers that the president has a meeting with the police chief. Oyama shrugs it off, admitting he rescheduled everything just to focus entirely on Hiroto today. To keep things professional, she guides them to the VIP room. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I will definitely want to see his next move. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a massive conspiracy in the VIP room, where Oyada is setting up Hiroto's new status check. The Tachikawa incident was wild, and it is linked to the Kujo family. Murakami asked Hiroto if he remembers their first meeting during that massive dungeon crisis. Sensing something suspicious about the recent chaos, Murakami did some digging and discovered that new generation hunters are constantly pulling the strings in the background. Even with Daido's input, the evidence is mostly circumstantial, but they suspect these new hunters can actually buff and control monsters. This insane power could revolutionize the global military balance, but they cannot make moves without concrete proof. Knowing they are using dungeons to farm power, Oyama needs to shut them down. To reclaim control, the old guard must flex some serious authority, and that is exactly where Hiroto's evaluation comes into play. Turns out they could not measure his skills properly. The stats were insane, but still not enough for S rank. Hiroto simply asks if Oyama has a real plan. Oyama explains that official decisions take time, so the National Committee decided to leverage public opinion. It is a powerful tool, capable of completely swaying political elections and turning public favor. Every hunter's popularity is crucial right now, yet nobody has claimed the Nagatacho Guardian defeat, let alone cleared the dungeon's interior. Oyama proposes sharing the credit, while Hiroto secures his official S-rank title. This is how they plan to win over the public, and Hiroto actually respects Oyama's blunt honesty. Things must change before this reckless new generation completely runs wild. We learn that the current number 2 hunter, Takado, is backed by an entertainment giant, while the rest of the top 3 are also new generation. Murakami bluntly points out that Oyama only holds his position thanks to government favor. Hiroto needs to understand this landscape. With the massive hype surrounding these new rookies, the government is forced to appease the public, weakening strict oversight while boosting their system support. As a direct side effect, dungeon crimes have surged. But if the veteran hunters can win back public trust, Murakami believes the top executives will fully back them again. This lets them revamp the system and monitor the rookies. Now, pay attention here. While they suspect a dark plot behind this monster control, Oyama highly praises Murakami's eye for talent, openly envying the guild Hiroto is joining. Even when scouted, the kid casually shuts them down, stating a promise is a promise. Murakami is seriously impressed, having never seen anyone stand up to the big boss like that. Suddenly, the phone rings. Murakami answers calmly, but his expression instantly hardens upon hearing the shocking news. He urgently yells at the chief to turn on the television immediately. Takado suddenly appears on a live broadcast that Oyata was pressured into airing. Murakami mentions an urgent email just arrived from the American squad, but before they can process it, an aide bursts in with breaking news. The United States government just released classified documents regarding one of the 9 legendary dungeons, announcing they successfully bypassed the 5th floor to reach the intermediate level. Naturally, the host asks Takado for his thoughts as the nation's number 2 hunter. Arriving late, however, he arrogantly asks to hold off on his commentary for a moment. Oyata yells in disbelief, knowing the Americans were just struggling with the 3rd floor. While Hiroto senses a massive power spike, Murakami recalls the nightmarish records of that dungeon. If the 3rd floor was a death trap for the Americans, the 5th should be flat out impossible and far more lethal. Suddenly, another urgent news flash hits the screen. The reporter announces that the Oversight Committee quietly approved an expedition into the Nagatacho dungeon, completely bypassing Murakami and Oyata. Following the Guardians' defeat, a squad of new generation rookies was greenlit to explore it. The reporter asks Takado if he was aware of this development. He smugly confirms it, revealing he is leading the 1st floor expedition team. Takado claims the mission was top secret until this very moment. He boldly lies, claiming his new generation crew defeated the Dungeon Guardian themselves, generating massive media hype and justifying their sudden, authorized raid. To justify their solo raid, Takado claims the Veteran Association is completely rotten. Unlike his glory-seeking squad, he boasts that the old guard simply abandoned the dungeon. With America's recent victories leaving Japan embarrassed, these rookies vow to storm Nagatacho and surpass them. They want to be the first in the world to fully conquer an active dungeon, proving their absolute supremacy. Takado makes it clear that the outdated veterans are their only obstacle. Once they conquer the 1st floor, they plan to completely strip the old elders of their association power. He even urges citizens to vote out any uncooperative politicians. Oyata realizes they were completely outmaneuvered before making a single move, leaving him absolutely furious. I know what you were thinking, this is incredibly dirty. But Murakami admits it is a brilliant strategy, using their own plan against them. When the president asks, Murakami confesses their clearing chances are extremely high. Clearly, they would have no shot if the dungeon was sealed. But at this tense moment, our main character speaks up, declaring he has an idea. He lays out his entire strategy to the 2 astonished guild leaders. What the hero is proposing is pure, unadulterated payback, a literal eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Determined to strike back, the hero plans to secure entry into one of the 8 legendary, untouched great dungeons of the world. It is the absolute hardest, most epic challenge, and he wants the 2 veteran hunters by his side. Top-tier hunters are treated like national treasures. Because of this, Japan only allows S-rank and A-rank teams to tackle these legendary zones. However, they must first get the green light from the Parliament's Hunter Oversight Committee. For the first time in Japan, Takedo and 5 S-rank rookies receive clearance to raid the first floor of Nagatacho. As they gear up before the massive portal, Takedo is highly annoyed to see the old-timers standing there as well. Oyama barks in annoyance, but the rookie completely ignores him. Murakami calmly reminds him that they announced their joint expedition 2 days ago. The veterans are here to share the glory, but Takedo mocks them for chasing leftovers. He absolutely roasts the seniors, claiming they will only get in his way. He even orders his crew to record everything for the archives, wanting solid proof to show the public just how useless the old generation is. Murakami laughs at the kid's massive ego, asking if he actually knows who defeated the Guardian. Confused, Takedo asks if they are accusing him of stealing credit, claiming only himself or the top-ranked Kujo Suya could have done it. As the rank 1 hunter, there is no other option. But Murakami notes that Suya is like a ghost, and the Kujo family backing her is insanely powerful. Following the brief exchange, Takedo and Murakami lock eyes. Hiroto knows that claiming credit right now would only look incredibly suspicious. In less than 24 hours, the world will know he was the one who defeated the Guardian. Murakami shifts focus, stating that losing elite talent here would be tragic, especially when they need to rival the United States. Takedo asks if that is just their excuse to tag along. Oyama clarifies they will only intervene if the rookies are in absolute danger, so Takedo reluctantly agrees as long as they do not slow him down. They enter the portal first, leaving the second squad to follow. Much like in America, these dungeons have strict entry rules. Once inside, the camera captures the exit, slamming shut. Boom! Suddenly, massive monsters surround them from all sides, prompting Takedo to yell for defensive barriers. Flying beasts spit synchronized fire beams as the rookies deploy their colored barriers. Crimson, blue, gold, and emerald shields quickly merge together, forming an absolutely epic, massive defensive dome. Takedo trusts his crew, but admits this is brutal as dragons blast magic from all sides. Trust me, you and I are about to see this fight get absolutely insane. Alright, you and I are diving right into a crazy dungeon, where purple energy is swirling and the elite Kyoto clan knew all about it. Takedo agrees they should not provoke the beast. Without their top fighter, taking stupid risks is pointless. He knows the veteran hunters will walk right into the trap, and he cannot wait to see their terrified faces when they find the dragons. Picturing old Yamada losing his mind is pure comedy gold to them. But regardless, the Vanguard squad keeps pushing forward. 3 days before the Nagatacho dungeon raid, the portal was already open, and an S-rank hunter named Morinaga was bracing for chaos. Sadly, he was the first victim of the dragon trap. Now, the crew debates telling the president, but Takedo does not care. Even with the Kujo family intelligence, this raid is no cakewalk. Morinaga was supposed to retreat immediately, but he failed. He either got completely ambushed or cornered by deadly monsters. They are facing bizarre beasts never before seen in normal dungeons. Takedo reminds everyone they chose this because they believed they could handle it. Still, their mage warns that a single blast of dragon breath will end them. Seriously, the power scale here is off the charts. Takedo just laughs, saying while a weak mage would vaporize, he can easily tank the hit. When a teammate asks if they are just cannon fodder, Takedo reassures them. The plan is to clear the floor and escape alive to rule the association. Yet, the mage still worries about the president dying inside. Then Takedo drops a truth bomb, giving the president a 99% chance of dying. With a crazy, psychotic grin, he asks if that is even a bad thing. Driven by pure selfishness, his companions agree it is actually perfect. This trap will wipe out the old guard in one shot, clearing the path for the new generation and the Kujo clan. Now, Takedo is focused entirely on finishing the mission and escaping quickly. Outside, the president realizes 6 hours have passed since Squad 1 entered. Oyamada wonders if they can even keep up with these young rookies. Honestly, he fears he and Murakami will only hold the team back. He asks if Hiroto is truly ready, but the young hero is completely locked in and prepared for anything. Now pay attention here, Murakami asks if Hiroto leveled up this week. The hero reveals he ran some brutal high-ranked dungeons, and hearing that, Oyamada has zero doubts. As Group 1's time limit expires, the 3 veteran hunters steel themselves and step through the portal, which slams shut. Instantly, Murakami senses they are definitely not alone. He reaches for his sword upon spotting the dragons, but the overwhelming pressure radiating from the beasts paralyzes him. Oyamada knows a single direct hit means instant death for them. But Hiroto does not even blink. He calmly activates every elemental resistance skill in his arsenal, stacking them together to prepare an absolute unbreakable defense. A massive shield called the Blessing of the 4 Element Kings wraps around them. The dragons unleash a devastating elemental blast, but Hiroto's barrier holds perfectly, leaving Oyamada completely speechless. Murakami is stunned too, realizing it was a combined attack of 4 different elements. Yet, Hiroto countered it perfectly with his own multi-elemental barrier. This kid is an absolute monster. The hero warns his companions to stay back, knowing another direct blast could shatter his defense. Fortunately, the onslaught stops. Murakami braces for a follow-up, but Oyamada realizes it was just a trap. The logical play is to avoid provoking them and slip away. Instead, Hiroto points his team toward a safe zone. Deep down, Murakami knew exactly what was next. Facing 4 high-level monsters, Hiroto will not miss this chance to grind. The guild leaders can only yell his name in pure shock. Sensing danger, the startled dragons prepare a terrifying counterattack, but Hiroto merely charges his blade with raw energy, and with one swift, blinding flash, he slices through all 4 beasts at once. The ridiculous power gap between the hero and his enemies has only grown. Even without a strategy, the veterans realize they can put all their faith in Hiroto. Wasting no time, they push deeper into the dungeon. Meanwhile, an icy monster begins to manifest nearby. One of the rookies spots the threat while defending, but a calm Takoto just orders his team to duck. Channeling high-tier fire magic through his blade, he unleashes a blazing wall of fire that melts the elemental monster like it was absolutely nothing. Suddenly, a blazing fire spirit ambushes him from behind. But Takoto is prepared, summoning an ice shield and infusing his blade with frost to destroy the fire beast using its exact counter-element. He easily wraps up the fight, flexing for the camera. As the cameraman shivers, Takoto explains that counter-elements make clearing this floor a total breeze. You and I both know that was close, but Takoto does not care about his frozen ally as long as they are still breathing. Despite his team's exhaustion, the arrogant rookie claims the enemies are barely a challenge. Even with element advantages, the others struggled, but Takoto easily carried them, proving why he is ranked number 2. Word on the street is that this young prodigy has completely eclipsed both the 3rd and 4th ranked veteran hunters. Once they clear the next hallway, floor 1 is finished, and they can upload their epic recording. Takoto admits if he knew it would be this tough, he would have dragged the veterans along as shields. When the mage asks why, Takoto admits the old-timers still have some useful tricks. He regrets not using them as frontline bait, but assumes they're already dead anyway, so it is too late. Suddenly, Takoto's dark thoughts are shattered by a shocking sight. Both veteran guild leaders and the rookie kid are standing right there waiting for them. Takoto cannot believe his eyes. Panicking, he demands to know how they survived. Hiroto calmly points out that it is already past noon. He adds that the rookie squad is actually running late. Embarrassed, Takoto demands to know how they bypassed the entrance traps to beat them here. As if it is completely obvious, Hiroto explains they are alive because they cleared the floor. In fact, the veterans are moving on to floor 2. The shocking news drops like a bomb, followed by dead silence. Suddenly, one of the rookies bursts into uncontrollable laughter, admitting he absolutely loves this hilarious reaction. The rookies mock the veterans, laughing because they barely survived floor 1 themselves, but Takoto does not join in. Deep down, he realizes his own squad are the ones behaving like complete clowns right now. What actually bothers him is the absolute confidence on the faces of the president and Murakami. Takoto knows something is deeply wrong here. Demanding answers, he questions their suspicious confidence. Murakami calmly replies that they simply prepared beforehand, clarifying that Hiroto was the one who did all the heavy lifting. Takoto remains completely baffled by this preparation, but he focuses on the mysterious unknown hunter they brought along with them. He recalls that Hiroto is just an S-class rookie. Piecing this together with the veteran's strange confidence, things still make absolutely no sense to him. He briefly wonders if the Kujo family secretly aided them, but quickly dismisses it. He then reminds them that S-rank hunters need official permission to enter high-level dungeons. Proceeding like this violates direct safety regulations. Of course, the arrogant rookie conveniently forgets that his own squad sneaked in here illegally first. Oyamada reminds him the president has special clearance. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this floor 2 challenge unfolds. Alright, you and I are about to jump into a wild showdown where the old generation is desperate. Takoto realizes these veterans are risking everything not out of confidence, but to keep their fading power. Their grim faces look like samurai preparing for their final stand. Suddenly, Group 2 pulls out a camera. Murakami brags that this is a direct feed to the television station, and the broadcast is already scheduled. Takoto calls him crazy since there shouldn't be any signal down here. But Murakami tells a kid to check his phone, and the kid freezes in shock. They actually have full Wi-Fi in a dungeon. Murakami jokes that maybe some electric dragon is boosting their signal, But Takoto isn't laughing. Still, the veteran remembers the golden rule from the United States Association: dungeons are completely unpredictable. To Takoto, it is insane that these old-timers are preparing a live stream when they should be running. He can't help but wonder if they possess some hidden trump card. Maybe the powerful Kujo family abandoned them to back this old generation instead. At the very least, Takoto suspects these veterans must have smuggled in some incredibly overpowered artifact or weapon. If their backing is gone, the young crew needs to step up. Takoto shrugs, saying if the old geezers are allowed to level up here, then the rookies deserve a shot at the action too. He declares they are not just tagging along, they are going to conquer the entire second floor. With their minds made up, the main character smiles and signals his squad to move in. Boom! They teleport in, but Takoto's cocky attitude vanishes instantly, because standing right in front of them is an enemy that is definitely not your everyday dungeon monster. Takoto wonders why this creature looks exactly like an ancient samurai. Suddenly, the dungeon system identifies it as a Miyamoto Musashi clone, and the nightmare is just beginning as more clones start spawning. Along with Musashi, an Abe no Seimei clone appears. Takoto is completely baffled. Is this some history documentary? Instead of standard beasts, they are facing legendary historical figures. But the main character knows dungeons always throw weird curveballs. Takoto argues that myths are fine, but fighting actual historical human beings is crazy. The main character just shrugs. Dungeons have always been bizarre like that. Now watch closely, because this is where the real tension starts building. With the cameras rolling, the team gets ready to live stream this epic showdown, even though Takoto has a bad feeling about going live. Murakami insists it is time to show off, cutting the chatter. Confident the rookies can handle this, Takoto steps up first, channeling his swordsman magic as wild energy crackles along his blade. But the samurai clone stays perfectly calm, unleashing a blinding counterattack that sends Takoto flying. He crashes hard, coughing up blood, his ribs completely shattered by the impact. He screams for a healer, but another enemy attacks with massive nature magic. The crushing pressure of this magic power is unreal. Meanwhile, back in the city, a girl calls her mom to watch the broadcast. The mom is a huge fan, believing Takoto is completely invincible. But the live stream shows a brutal reality. Takoto is getting absolutely destroyed, unable to even scratch the enemy spellcasters. Luckily, Hiroto isn't going to stand by and watch them die. He leaps into the fray, calmly asking the rookies if they finally realize just how outclassed they are. The bald rookie barks at him to stay in his lane, calling him a mere assistant. Takoto is just confused, wondering what the main character can possibly do. Fear and rage wash over Takoto's face, but Hiroto remains dead silent, unleashing his restriction magic. Boom! The legendary historical clones are instantly locked inside his supreme prison spell. The bald hunter's jaw drops as he realizes Hiroto has insane power. He and the mage realize Hiroto is the ultimate support hunter. If he coordinates with the veteran guild president and Murakami, they can actually win. But Takoto is furious because support players are never supposed to steal the spotlight. Yet, Hiroto just completely locked down the monsters that easily trash them. Takoto is left utterly speechless, wondering how a beast like this stayed hidden. Suddenly, the Abe no Seimei clone releases a wave of energy, shattering Hiroto's prison spell. But the main character just smirks, completely unfazed. You might think our main character is about to steal the spotlight here, but think again. Before he can throw down, the guild president jumps right in, eager to take the lead and show they can still fight. Oda jokes he wouldn't be so relaxed if victory wasn't guaranteed. Besides, all of Japan is watching this broadcast live. They need to put on a show and prove the old guard is still elite. Feeling the massive hype, the veterans step forward to take charge. Murakami launches himself directly at the powerful spellcaster clone. He slashes hard, landing a heavy blow that forces the clone backward. Seimei counters, unleashing nature magic from a distance, but the guild president instantly blocks it with a massive wall of raging fire. With the path clear, Murakami finishes the clone with a lightning-fast strike. Still clutching his broken ribs, Takoto is stunned to see the monster that crushed him get easily destroyed by the veterans. Seeing his shocked expression, the old hunters smile. Murakami explains it is actually very simple. Unless there is a massive level difference, spellcasting monsters cannot handle skilled fighters in close combat. Plus, the president's flame magic is elite, capable of completely neutralizing opposing elements. So while the clone had incredible destructive area attacks, it was still heavily limited by its elemental nature and raw mana. With the right strategy, defeating them is easy. Murakami adds that proper teamwork guarantees a flawless victory. Takoto might have high damage output, but he lacked the tactical experience of these battle-hardened veterans. He realizes that always fighting easy targets has made his combat instincts dull. Takoto accepts the lesson but wonders how they predicted the enemy's elemental weaknesses. The president reveals Hiroto warned them beforehand, matching what Takoto heard earlier from his teammate. Finally, Hiroto tells the group to get moving, declaring that fight was just a warm-up. The true challenge of this zone lies behind the massive gates slowly opening ahead. Behind the gates, an endless forest landscape leaves the rookies completely amazed. But their wonder is cut short as a massive horde of monsters suddenly spawns. Over 100 legendary clones appear, looking like a full-scale medieval army. For Takoto and his battered team, who barely survived 6, this looks like a direct ticket to the graveyard. The rookies panic, screaming that this is completely impossible, but Hiroto remains calm, noting that since these clones spawn from a single source, they are likely just mass-produced copies. Hearing his calm analysis, Takoto starts to realize how deep the main character's knowledge goes. Still, facing over 100 boss-level monsters should be terrifying. These are literally the strongest figures from Japanese history. Seeing the scale, the veteran hunters step back, leaving the entire army to Hiroto. To the terrified rookies, this looks like pure suicide. The main character steps up and activates his signature magic spell. To everyone's absolute shock, he unleashes the exact same fire spell used by the enemy. A blazing phoenix sweeps across the battlefield, obliterating dozens of clones. Takoto recognizes it as the exact spell Seimei used earlier, but our main character is far from finished. He suddenly summons sacred Buddhist lightning, then wraps himself in divine foxfire stolen from the nine-tailed beast. Next, he shifts elements entirely, freezing his enemies solid with an absolute zero blizzard. It is a jaw-dropping display of absolute power. Takoto finally pieces it together. Every single one of Hiroto's spells belongs to the 4 bosses they just fought. The rookie assumes Hiroto is just some copycat hunter. But Hiroto smiles, revealing it is actually permanent theft once you defeat the same rare monster 100 times. So what do you and I make of this crazy twist? Hiroto literally cleared the first 3 floors alone, stealing every single boss ability before the real quest even started. Absolute madness. Alright, you and I are diving right into this. Thinking it is total cap, Takoto warns the hero about going solo, but our boy claps back that rank S rules do not apply. After witnessing the boy's insane power firsthand, Takoto has no choice but to believe it. Sure, he admits he is strong, but after that massive attack, he is convinced Hiroto's mana tank is completely running on empty. Back home, a worried daughter asks her mother what is going on. Shaking with fear, the mother knows one thing is clear: the boy on screen just completely destroyed the enemy, outclassing Takoto entirely. To the hunter's question, our hero casually agrees. That is when Takoto spots a glimmer of hope, guessing that the boy's combat style relies entirely on short, explosive bursts of power. So he shouts out, claiming he has figured out the boy's strategy. To him, clearing the floors solo is just a massive bluff. Oida cannot understand why Takoto still doubts him, though Murakami knows some things are just crazy. Even though it is frustrating, Takoto secretly admits the kid's skills are off the charts. Desperate to save face, he decides to suppress his ego and take action. If he really cleared up to the 3rd floor, Takoto questions how they will handle the next wave. Believing the boy is out of mana, he assumes running is their only option and offers to cover the retreat. Even if Hiroto has an escape plan, Takoto refuses to sit out because he wants to be the star. He needs to spin the story that they rescued the boy, aiming to manipulate the media later. But pay attention here, because our hero calmly admits his mana is drained, yet he still has an even stronger move ready for the next floor. That is exactly why he has countermeasures to clear the floor. Takoto's mind races, desperately wondering who this kid actually is. Unable to believe he still intends to do this completely on his own. Suddenly, our hero charges forward. As multiple enemy clones spawn, he targets the largest one and almost obliterates it. Activating a draconic skill, he unleashes War Dragon energy to wipe them all out, leaving Takoto absolutely stunned by his martial arts mastery. As another clone prepares to strike, the hero explains there is no need to fight them one by one. Only half have real physical substance, while the rest are just weak illusions. Essentially, they are nothing but weaker copies of copies. Naturally, without knowing this secret, they are a nightmare to deal with. Hiroto admits that if he had not figured it out earlier, he would be worried too. Back on Earth, the sudden broadcast of the Nagatacho dungeon raid immediately took over television screens, capturing the attention of households all across Japan and the globe. With viewership hitting an insane 90% across all streaming platforms, the entire world just met the legendary hunter, Hiroto Ijima. Once again, Takoto is left completely speechless, while Oyama curiously asks how our hero handles ghostly, intangible enemies. Hiroto explains that bandit-class hunters possess a highly sensitive danger radar, which he has unlocked thanks to his extreme agility stats. Once he identifies the real bodies from the illusions, he can easily spot them. Murakami totally gets it, but Oyama still thinks it is absolutely crazy. He is not a bandit class and cannot comprehend Hiroto's absurd level of talent. The kid has insane skills not just in close combat, but his long-range attacks and support buffs are on a whole different level. Now, you and I both know Murakami made the right call, trusting him. Meanwhile, Takedo suddenly remembers Hiroto is the survivor of the tragic Artemis Academy disaster, alongside the top hunter, Enko Kujo. Her original family name was Ayajima, and rumors claimed her younger brother had been kidnapped years ago. Connecting the dots, Takedo now has absolutely zero doubts. Hiroto did not just survive the Academy disaster, he conquered the Death Pursuer trial, unlocking mind-blowing power that leaves all those cheap copies in the dust. Takedo recalls hearing about a legendary item called the Yin-Yang Scroll held by the Kujo family. It is also known as the Demon King App, a cosmic power embodying humanity's raw will to survive. With the clock ticking, our hero warns everyone to stay on high alert. While Oyama wonders if the kid is right, a panicked Takedo screams out, demanding to know what is coming next. His question is answered when a devastating beam of energy strikes, causing massive destruction. As the smoke clears, a terrifying beast stands revealed, the third-floor boss, Demon Dragon King Vritra. Takedo is completely baffled as to why a third-floor boss has appeared on the second floor. Oyama struggles to stay calm, realizing Hiroto was right all along. Essentially, once the second-floor monsters are wiped out, the boss of the third floor crashes the stage. Hiroto admits he was terrified during their first encounter, barely scraping by with a dirty trick. Facing a true Demon King species explains the name of the mysterious app. Oyata knows this dragon is a nightmare, and even Murakami points out that the West has not cleared a third floor in years. The beasts they face are easily on par with America's highest-tier disasters. In other words, things are about to get insanely brutal. Without hesitation, Hiroto charges at the monster like a rocket. Remembering his first deadly clash with Vritra, he knows one slip-up means death. The dragon inhales deeply, unleashing a massive torrent of fire, but our hero swiftly dodges it like a pro. Reacting quickly, he activates his defensive skills, calling upon the blessing of the Spirit Kings. This ultimate move summons a barrier that easily tanks the heavy fire. Without missing a single beat, he bursts straight through the flames. Determined to win, he unleashes a massive hurricane slash that extinguishes the fire and strikes the dragon directly, nearly bringing it down. With the dragon's neck heavily damaged, our hero prepares his next blow. Back in the day, he could not do anything against this beast. But now, armed with broken stats and high-tier skills, Hiroto is confident he can conquer a Demon King. He strikes again, forcing the massive monster into the skies. Coating his blade in frost, the hero unleashes his ultimate Morning Star Strike. The attack pierces the dragon's core directly, freezing its entire body from the inside out until it crashes to the ground, completely defeated. Back on Earth, the live broadcast cuts to breaking news about this mysterious new hunter. A reporter reveals that Hiroto grew up in a local orphanage and survived the infamous Artemis School disaster. To top it off, he has just been officially registered as in rank as Hunter. Across Japan, viewers are absolutely buzzing with shock and curiosity, though some still remember his original, low-tier F-rank status. In a world where birth talent defines your entire life, climbing to rank S is unheard of. For the public, it makes no sense how a low-tier nobody could completely outshine the top rankers. But seeing his incredible victories makes his rise even more legendary, proving that raw, relentless hard work can truly overcome any lack of background. Recruited for the dangerous Nagatacho raid, his supreme power is now undeniable. The host quickly turns to their expert commentator to get his live reaction to this insane footage. The expert admits that even with all his years of analyzing hunters, he is completely speechless. Still, he confidently declares that the world just witnessed the birth of a true hero. Meanwhile, on the city streets, Yuzuki walks past a massive public broadcast screen. Watching the crowd stare in awe, she feels a heavy pang of realization that Hiroto is now completely out of her league. In the Prime Minister's office, officials are grinning over the association's secret weapon. With a beast like Hiroto on their side, Japan is ready to go toe-to-toe with America in dungeon domination. The rare resources and tech harvested from these raids are pure gold, giving this former powerhouse nation a real shot at reclaiming the global top spot. With the younger generation backed by the elite Kujo family and the old guard placing their bets on Hiroto, an official asks the Prime Minister for his next move. Meanwhile, in a luxury high-rise in Washington, top American hunters watch the screen in disbelief. Trust me, you and I are about to see a wild clash. to find out who the strongest truly is. Alright, you and I are about to see a world where even the god of destruction's power punch cannot guarantee a victory. This fighter is dying to clash with Hiroto, but his buddy reminds him that Hiroto is a master swordsman. He remembers the last fool who tried to challenge Shakyamuni. The fighter admits mages and tricksters give him a hard time, but hey, that is why they brought the twins along. To the silver-haired guy, Hiroto is just a lone wolf, much like Mikhail. Naturally, the kid wants to know who is actually stronger between the two of them. The American hunter crew did everything to recruit Enko Kujo from Japan, but she just keeps quiet with a mysterious grin. Meanwhile, the news is blowing up with a huge announcement about Hiroto. The association officially crowned him the top hunter, planning a massive ceremony for matching America's epic achievements. Even veterans admit they have never seen anyone like him. From this moment on, Japan will lead the dungeon raids thanks to their new hero. Word is the Prime Minister himself is presenting the award, and massive corporations are already begging to sponsor Hiroto with deals that completely dwarf what Takoto gets. The potential sponsor money is insane, and it looks like brands might completely abandon Takoto. Knowing he is about to lose his spotlight makes the guy incredibly salty. But then, two girls recognize him on the street despite his mask, giving his bruised ego a quick boost. Takoto actually considers giving them autographs to reward their great taste. He plans to tell them to keep it quiet so they do not cause a scene. But right as he prepares to speak, they walk straight past him. Turns out, they did not care about him at all. Watch closely here, they were actually rushing toward Hiroto, who was standing right there. Suddenly, an entire mob swarms him, proving he cannot even walk down the street anymore. So, he activates his optical camouflage, making everyone gasp as he literally vanishes into thin air. They are completely stunned by his incredible technique. Even after he escapes, the crowd keeps cheering, leaving Takoto completely bitter. Meanwhile, over at the Kujo family mansion, Mirano lies unconscious on a magical floor symbol. The family elders thank the heavens for the successful revival ritual, but worry she is still incomplete. The leader claims their only option is to upgrade her soul using Yuzuki, since Murano is their ultimate guardian. But he warns that another disaster like the one in Fuchu could happen. If Yuzuki does not end up dead, they must protect her at all costs. One girl points out that Enko left Japan as a safety measure, but another thinks it is fine. The Lord gets curious about this Enko person, who apparently joined the Americans for some legendary dungeon raids. Everything is running smoothly for them, and the Island King is ready. But the chief warns that if Hinamoto loses her mind, it is completely game over. Discussing Enko like this proves how terrifyingly strong the Lord truly is. Now, meet Overlich, a human with an insanely high level who guards humanity. Anyone looking at his status window would be absolutely blown away. He is just a small pawn, totally blind to the grand scheme. Yet being human makes him unique. With his monstrous appearance, high level, and the name Overlich, his title of humanity's guardian makes zero sense. Far away, two moons glow in the night sky. At the end of a dark road stands a massive, ominous castle. Inside, Hinamoto complains about how fast chaos is spreading. But the real shocker is her conversation partner, the Demon King himself. The Demon King stays silent because Hinamoto rules this territory now. Still, hearing praise from an original multiverse god feels incredibly sarcastic to her. Either way, she admits this world is completely ruined. Meanwhile, the other side is arming themselves with legendary divine artifacts, which feels like cheating to her. The true king explains that since the human world lacks magic, they need those items to balance things out. Hinamoto agrees, calling humans primitive creatures with zero magical abilities. The king tells her not to complain, but in her eyes, after defeating him and entering this world, the war is basically over. The king just snaps back, telling her to whine to someone else. Let's pause here. She actually trusts her ally to win this. But things are getting crazy as the gates of the original dungeon are finally about to burst open. Once they attack through the gates, they can push the chaos back. But the king warns it will not be easy, though he does have a special gift for her. Naturally, she is thrilled. Even with her new divine power, she cannot fight this battle alone. She hopes Hiroto can avenge her and crush the traitors, since her spirit form is currently powerless. Finally, she asks if playing God is fun. The king replies that he is just one of many, though power-hungry people might enjoy it. Back on Earth, Takoto roams the city in disguise, acting like the famous, handsome hunter he is. He is both a powerful fighter and a massive celebrity with ties to the Kujo clan. If he stays with the association, he could easily become prime minister. Stepping into an elevator, he presses the buttons to reach a rumored secret basement floor hidden beneath the regular garage. When the doors slide open, it is literally a wild party. It has total nightclub vibes. When Takoto approaches, everyone recognizes him instantly. He quickly warns his old acquaintances that he has no interest in hanging out with criminals. When asked why he is there, Takoto admits he is seeking personal revenge. He is willing to pay any price because these criminals are plotting to murder top hunters by poisoning their food and setting hotels on fire. No matter how strong a hunter is, if you cut off their oxygen supply, they are toast. There is always a way to take down even the strongest monsters. Even Hiroto has weaknesses. Cut to the hunter's headquarters, where everyone is buzzing about Hiroto's massive debut tomorrow. But plot twist, our main character is completely zoned out. He quickly apologizes, snaps back to reality, and leaves, promising to return by 9. While reporters find his behavior bizarre, Murakami tells everyone to chill out because of the massive pressure. Since the recent chaos, new hunters have vanished while veterans return. Hiroto's phone is ringing off the hook, and he is stressing over the Americans reaching the 5th floor. Even for Japan's rising star, this dungeon is terrifying. Knowing the US team conquered the brutal 4th floor makes Hiroto seriously doubt his own power. He knows Enko only lost her spot to veterans. She was not weak, she just faced bad luck. Hiroto feels like he is staring at an insurmountable mountain, until a sudden stranger snaps him out of his thoughts and hands him a mysterious note. The stranger smiles, calling it an honor to meet him. Shockingly, the note is from the Vice President of the United States Hunters Association, who also has deep ties to the Pentagon. Hiroto is completely baffled. The Vice President wants Hiroto to realize his global value, emphasizing just how insane and legendary his skill set truly is. To put it simply, the Vice President wants to recruit him. For conquering the 3rd floor, the Americans are ready to drop a mind-blowing 2 trillion yen, or $13 billion. Hiroto just laughs it off, calling it a classic American joke. But the official is dead serious, begging for just 5 minutes to prove they genuinely value him that much. Intrigued, Hiroto agrees to listen. The American explains that this massive bonus is actually just 5% of their future shares, pointing out that tech giants are worth hundreds of trillions today. They're changing the world with revolutionary systems and advertising networks, securing their spot as global leaders who are ready to dictate the future. He is talking about the primordial dungeon loot analyzed by MIT, and trust me, you and I need to see what's next. All right, you and I are about to jump into a world where they found a cancer-curing drug, bulletproof metal, and a smart homunculus. But the real prize? An immortality cure. These legendary items are literally pushing humanity to a whole new level. And there is even more insane stuff waiting to be found. But there are so few elite hunters capable of exploring these zones, you can count them on one hand. So the Vice President asks Hiroto if he finally gets that their offer is serious. Miss Enko, the former number 1, signed up immediately after vanishing from Nagatacho. Hiroto figured out where she ran off to, but he has no clue she completely abandoned the powerful Kujo family. Ultimately, Hiroto thinks over the massive offer, but leaves them hanging. He already made a solid promise to Murakami's guild, and that is a done deal. The Vice President insists no other guild can match their pay, and they can renegotiate any contract, but our hero just brushes it off. Murakami and Oyama treat him like royalty, and that alone is more than enough to keep him loyal. Besides, he does not even care about the money because he is already filthy rich. That is why our main character is taking his sweet time. The Vice President has heard how Japanese people value keeping their word above all else. Coming from a world ruled by cold logic, this loyalty is hard to grasp. But instead of getting angry, the Vice President is actually super impressed by the kid. Hiroto's chill attitude only makes him more sought after. Meanwhile, his big decision is sparking a massive rivalry between Japan and America. With no other nation able to match their power, the rights to major dungeons are up for grabs between them. The Vice President admits that failing to recruit Hiroto is his biggest regret. This makes our hero look back to the dark days when everyone treated him like trash. Even as the top hunter, he is still figuring out his true purpose. The Vice President, hailing from the United Kingdom, wants a clean, fair competition, which Hiroto respects. So despite declining, our hero is genuinely grateful for the massive recognition. Now pay attention here, because things are about to get wild. Contact with the Supreme Force is confirmed, and Hiroto's Demon King app is reaching its limit. A final mission appears, demanding he conquer Nagatacho and defeat the living god Overlick. Back at his hotel, our hero ponders the American side. He rejected Charles's offer solely out of loyalty to Murakami and deep respect for Oyama. But as the former top ranker linked to the Kujo clan, Enko remains a massive threat. Severing those deep ties is incredibly hard without a solid reason. Still, Hiroto doesn't believe Charles had bad intentions, but Oyama needs to look into it just in case. Suddenly, a notification flashes before our hero. Out of nowhere, the main mission scenario unlocks. The final condition? Uncovering the absolute truth behind that mysterious Demon King app. If he clears this impossible quest, he might finally reach Murano. Later, inside a dusty old building, Hiroto's upcoming public debut is all anyone can talk about. An association member informs Takoto that he is expected at the stadium tomorrow. Suddenly, a text from Megumi grabs his attention. For some bizarre reason, his girlfriend just dumped him over text for the 10th time. Takoto is furious, torn between absolute rage and the sting of rejection, so he smashes a glass to vent. His buddy walks in, sees the shattered mess, and Takoto bitterly explains he just got dumped for the 10th time. The friend says, "Man, you could date 40 other girls if you wanted." But this treatment eats away at Takoto. Without that #1 spot, he is no longer a celebrity. Brands are dropping him left and right, and he blames Hiroto for his entire downfall. Changing the subject, his ally asks what Takoto plans to do after defeating our hero, since his reputation won't recover instantly. Takoto calmly announces he is defecting to the Southern Kingdom, completely shocking his ally. Sure, he made a fortune as an elite hunter and has massive savings, but money alone won't bring back the screaming fangirls he desperately craves as a star. Blessed with god-tier looks and S-rank hunter skills, he truly believed it was his divine destiny to stand at the absolute top. Because of this, Takoto wants to transcend being a mere hunter and become a legendary icon. Using the entertainment industry as his launch pad, he dreams of becoming prime minister or launching a global mega corporation. Eventually, Takoto plans to rule as the defense minister of his new home. All of this, just for the sweet taste of fame. But first, he has to end Hiroto's era. While our hero rests, we learn that active hunters possess an invisible protective shield that only another hunter's core can pierce. I know what you were thinking. Why don't these overpowered hunters just start a massive revolution or take over the entire world? Well, for one, they are already living the high life. Why ruin a sweet deal? But here is the wild part. When they fall asleep, their defensive shields shut down completely. At that moment, even an ordinary person could assassinate a top-tier hunter. So if they have enemies, even the strongest hunters get paranoid during nap time. And right now, Hiroto has this sneaky C-rank assassin closing in on him. This guy is way more dangerous than any average civilian. The assassin hurls his deadly daggers at our sleeping hero, piercing straight through the blanket. Spotting the fresh blood splatters, the killer starts celebrating in his head. He confidently walks over to collect proof, feeling absolutely victorious. But plot twist, it is just a decoy log under the covers, not Hiroto. Standing in the shadows, Hiroto taunts him, noting that high-tech stealth suit is way too advanced for a C rank. He jokes they should have done their research. Ever since going independent, he is constantly prepared for ambush attempts. Hiroto casually points out that if the assassin actually knew who he was dealing with, he would not be about to die right now. Realizing he is outmatched, the killer bolts. But it is already too late. Hiroto has sealed his fate. Escape is utterly impossible, and our hero has absolutely zero mercy to spare tonight. Moments after taking down the intruder, a massive magic circle traps the entire building. Boom! Chaos erupts as fire and smoke consume the room. Nearby, the wicked mastermind grins at his destructive work. The assassin's strategy is clever. Lock down the floor with a barrier, then ignite a fire to burn up all the oxygen. Normally, the air has 21% oxygen. Drop that to 16%, and headaches begin. At 10%, you faint, and at 6%, game over. But below 17%, fire dies out, and hunters easily resist carbon monoxide. So, they try a new trick, electrifying the air to create ozone and choke out the remaining oxygen. The assassins wait for the smoke to clear, unaware that Yuzuki is already in position to ambush them. But Hiroto steps in, wanting to handle this personally. Since they dared to burn down his place, they are far too dangerous to leave alive. Hiroto is genuinely impressed by Yuzuki's rapid response, while she is amazed by his perfect predictions. Our hero reveals that these dungeon crimes are directly linked to the new hunter faction. With that clue, he easily traced their connections to rogue hunters. Still, using the Hunter Association to monitor Takoto's finances was a brilliant move. It turns out Takoto's accounts were quietly emptied into offshore funds. 8% went to shady Swiss bank accounts, while the rest was packed into suitcases, ready to move. Hiroto is taking action, and Yuzuki completely trusts his sharp instincts. Hiroto points out they do not need the official association's help since tracking money is a breeze for him. Yuzuki, as a member of the dungeon police, feels slightly useless. Regardless, Hiroto tells her they must keep pressing forward. This assassination attempt will definitely hit the news, and the Kujo family is going to take a major reputation hit. Hiroto asks Yuzuki if she is fine with that. She agrees. Spotting 2 more enemies nearby, they move to eliminate them together. Back at the hideout, Takoto is screaming into his phone, declaring that he is working completely alone now. His partner asks if he notified the Kujo family and if he is absolutely sure about this reckless choice. But since Takoto plans to completely disappear, he no longer cares. Then, he receives another shocking text. The entire assassin squad has been wiped out. Sweat drips down Takoto's face as he realizes his hidden location is not safe at all. His partner, staying perfectly calm, reassures him they are safe since they keep changing hideouts constantly. Every single place they hide is surrounded by decoy residents. As long as the target does not identify the mastermind, they can never trace it back to them. Takoto finally starts to relax, but only for a split second, because suddenly, an ominous purple light flashes right outside their window. This blinding light keeps expanding until it dwarfs the entire building. Unlucky for them, you and I are about to witness Hiroto unleashing his legendary skill, Divine Annihilation, at absolute maximum power. Moments earlier, Hiroto and Yuzuki were tracking his exact coordinates. Following Takoto's desperate movements, all signs pointed to this very hideout. And sure enough, the entire perimeter was heavily guarded by elite, high-tier hunters. All right, you and I are diving into an absolute slaughter. These ANS rank hunters from Oyama and Murakami planned a trap inside the building. But our main guy? He draws his sword with a deadlier trap in mind. Using his god-slaying mortal series, he unleashes a maximum power divine annihilation right at the abandoned building, triggering a mind-blowing explosion that tears the sky apart. Because honestly, when it comes to clearing out pests, Hiroto thinks nothing beats a massive fireball. Inside the burning wreckage, Takoto is completely frozen in fear, while his allies panic about the association's involvement. With this level of destruction, they assume it must be a missile strike. Their elite hunters are barely surviving. But Takoto realizes this isn't modern weaponry, it's pure, devastating magic. Takoto has never witnessed power like this, save for Enko, who is currently in America. But then a terrifying memory hits him. Someone showed this exact same force days ago. Pure panic to escape sets in, but the entire perimeter is crawling with hunters. With no exit strategy, Takoto's mind goes into absolute overdrive. If they run now, they will be branded as criminals forever. Their partner tries to salvage the situation, but his mind goes completely blank as his plans crumble. Step by step, Takoto's worst nightmare is walking straight toward him. Suddenly, Hiroto appears, calmly asking if they understand why he's here. With no room for negotiation, the hero draws his blade, telling them to die with some dignity. Instantly, Takoto's survival instincts kick in, and he leaps through the window into the dark forest. Now pay attention here, Takoto knew his own strength as the second rank. He frantically dashes straight toward the hunters, circling the perimeter, using his speed to blur right past them. The guy is absolutely not ready to die today. In no time, Takoto is flying down the road, just steps away from escaping the city by the southern sea. But suddenly, the bloody remains of his partner are tossed right in front of him. Before he can even process the shock, the executioner himself steps out of the shadows. Takoto collapses as Hiroto looms over him. The cold blade points directly at him, and Hiroto's expression does not even flinch. Panicking, Takoto scrambles backward, desperately trying to find any weapon on the ground to defend himself. But looking at his opponent, his will to fight completely vanishes, leaving nothing but bitter regret. A man who had everything to become a legend, supposedly blessed by God, is now running like a dog from someone blessed by a demon. Just as God once blessed him, this demonic force is now stripping everything away with a cold betrayal. Takoto screams for him to wait, desperately offering all his money to buy his life. When that fails, he promises to leave forever, even offering women. But the cold hero has zero interest and slowly raises his sword high. Hiroto coldly states he hates repeating himself. Finally, Takoto realizes that the monster standing before him cannot be bought. His only hope now is a flat-out miracle. Right then, an innocent girl jogs onto the street. Spotting them, she asks what is happening. Seizing his one desperate lifeline, Takoto does not hesitate to grab her as a human shield. He thinks the hero cannot possibly ignore an innocent life, but Hiroto simply utters a word, snaps his fingers, and boom, the girl vanishes. It is a seamless teleportation trick, swapping places in the blink of an eye. While the girl hits the ground, guess who is suddenly in front of Takoto's blade? Yep, Hiroto, who disarms him instantly. Honestly, you and I are probably wondering the same thing: who is this guy? Staring death in the face, Takoto completely loses his mind, and let's just say his pants did not stay dry. But Hiroto feels absolutely nothing, finishing him off with zero hesitation. And just like that, the new generation pests are wiped out. The next day, news of Takoto's instant defeat leaves Oyama completely rattled, while Murakami complains about kids always showing off for clout. Murakami calls yesterday's battle a total waste, finally realizing how weak the new generation is. But Yuzuki steps in, warning that things are actually far worse. Normally, they would never gather this many hunters due to extreme commission rates, but this time, everyone is volunteering for free just to be part of this dream event. Yuzuki explains what it truly means to be the strongest hunter possessing godlike skills that make you completely extraordinary. Now, every single hunter has eyes on Hiroto, who is already the country's ultimate legend. Even the guild, president, and Murakami are close to him. The president asks if he'll join them, but as the absolute number one, Hiroto has to prepare for a massive press announcement. He isn't thrilled about letting the public in, but the tickets are already completely sold out. Hiroto is so incredibly popular that the entire internet is buzzing, as Murakami happily shows him. Either way, our hero promises to show up tonight after settling some hotel arrangements. Once he arrives, he just crashes on the couch, checking his phone and admitting he gets no joy from killing. Honestly, he was not sure how he would clear the final quest of defeating 3 S-rank hunters, but that's completed. Next up, the final floor in Nagatacho. The next morning, the stadium is absolutely packed. Inside the VIP suite, Yuzuki notes how different our hero is. Every major guild leader and top-tier hunter is present, something that did not even happen when Enko received his award. It feels like he has climbed to a realm far beyond her, leaving her lonely, though she admits that sounds selfish. Hiroto tries to comfort her, also shocked by his own rapid growth. But she shakes her head. Her expression says she just wants to remain by his side. Suddenly, the guild president interrupts, asking for a moment of his time. He announces that a major political figure has made a shocking decision to attend. The Prime Minister, Ichiro Tokunaga, steps into the room. He completely defied the powerful Kujo family's pressure just to attend this ceremony, which is a massive deal. Given the insane recruitment offers he received from overseas, Hiroto expected some attention, but not this. Since they share common enemies, the Prime Minister shakes his hand, promising the entire nation has his back. He assures Hiroto that everyone here supports him. Then, Ichiro apologizes, admitting he speaks a bit too casually around the younger generation. Ichiro explains that Japan is facing a massive crisis, barely surviving the dungeons and the Kujo family's influence. In a desperate move to break free, the Prime Minister bows to our hero to save Japan. You ready for this?